ABC News with Mary McDonald. Good afternoon. The Victorian government has fallen short on its promise of an extra 40,000 elective surgeries each year by 2024. The recent state budget has revealed that it's now expected 207,000 planned surgeries will be performed by the end of this financial year, well below the initial goal of 240,000 a year. Premier Jacinta Allen says there is continued pressure on health services following the pandemic.
What we need to do is continue to work with our hospitals, work in how we delivering elective surgery that recognises those workforce constraints, but also too the way people are accessing care differently to what they were before the pandemic.
The Federal Treasurer says the government's budget will provide short-term cost of living relief while also investing in the future. Monty Boville reports.
Ahead of the release of his third budget, Jim Chalmers says he's confident the government can help people with the rising cost of living without fueling inflation. He says bringing down inflation is the primary focus of the budget.
We've designed our cost of living help to be part of the solution to these inflationary pressures rather than part of the problem.
Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor says the government needs to ensure the economy is growing faster than spending.
And that's the exact opposite of what we've seen in the last 2 years. We have seen a government that loves to spend.
The budget will be handed down on Tuesday.
Police say they're treating fires at 2 tobacco stores in Melbourne's north and northwest overnight as targeted attacks. Fraser Fife reports.
A tobacco store on East Street in Hadfield was targeted first at about 5 o'clock this morning. Less than 1 hour later, a second tobacco store at a shopping centre on Gladstone Park Drive in Gladstone Park was struck. Police say the fires are being treated as suspicious, and vision from both locations show vehicles had smashed through the front of the shops. Both stores were closed at the time and have sustained significant damage. Arson and explosive squad detectives are investigating whether the incidents are related to recent fires linked to the ongoing tobacco war. Police are keen to speak to anyone who witnessed the fires or has CCTV or dashcam footage.
Israel says it's pressing ahead with plans to destroy what it claims are Hamas's last remaining units in Gaza. The head of the European Council, Charles Michel, has condemned Israeli evacuation orders issued to Palestinian citizens of Rafah in southern Gaza. Israel says about 300,000 Palestinians have left Rafah since Monday. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari says the military operation must continue.
So far, we've eliminated dozens of terrorists in the eastern part of Rafah. We've repeated the temporary evacuation of the population in several other parts of eastern Rafah, which are close to the area of combat.
Switzerland's contender Nemo has won this year's Eurovision Song Contest in Sweden with the song The Code, amid protests over Israel's participation in the event and its war in Gaza. The BBC's Charlotte Gallagher reports from Malmo.
Welcome to the show, let everybody know I'm done playing the game.
After one of the most chaotic and political Eurovisions ever, the Swiss entry Nemo has been crowned this year's winner. Their operatic and athletic performance wowed fans and the international juries. Israel's Eden Galan was booed by some in the arena, as was the presenter who delivered the Israeli jury vote. Competitors have also complained about the tense atmosphere backstage. This hasn't been the eccentric celebration of music it usually is. The European Broadcasting Union, who planned the event, may just be glad it's over.
An Australian Eurovision fan says protesters at the event have been respectful. Police estimate around 8,000 protesters attended rallies in the host city of Malmo. Alfie Tu is in Malmo and says he hasn't witnessed any trouble.
I would say that the protesters were respectful. There was a huge police presence. I certainly didn't see any violence, and I certainly understand that the protesters are angry about Israel being a participant in this contest.
To sport, and in the AFL, West Coast has made the trip east to take on Collingwood at Docklands Stadium this afternoon. Joe Richards will make his Magpies debut as the home side has been forced to make several changes, with Reef McInnes, Finn McRae and Jack Bartell coming into the side. In today's other game, Brisbane will take on the Crows at Adelaide Oval. To the weather now. For the state, partly cloudy with isolated showers in the east, easing during the day. Dry and mostly sunny elsewhere. For Melbourne, partly cloudy with a top today of 19 degrees. Tomorrow, partly cloudy and 20. Right now in Melbourne, it's 17 degrees. ABC News.
Naomi Steins here, and if you're looking for life advice, let me suggest the ABC Listen app.
Try Ladies, We Need to Talk.
What if it's a choice between I'm staying or I'm living out of my car with my kids?
You might also like Parental as Anything, Teens.
We all need to face the fact that teens are sending and receiving nude pics.
Or Life Matters.
Let's begin at your 60th birthday party.
Load up a podcast and level up your life with the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
This is AFL Sunday with Matt Clinch and Cameron Lee.
AFL Sunday.
On radio.
ABC Sport Digital Radio.
And take us with you on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
The Bulldogs with an emphatic response following a week in the headlines, but how much did we learn against the depleted Tigers who gave up well before the final siren?
In comes Darcy, 48 out, strikes it nicely. Sam Darcy's getting in on the act as well. He joins Aaron Morton with 4 goals this evening.
The Gold Coast Suns continued their perfect record in the top end with a thumping of the winless Roos.
And the Gold Coast Suns are building a top-end fortress. It's a 68-point shellacking of North Melbourne.
The Hawks made it 2 wins on the trot despite managing only 2 goals in the second half, but St Kilda's season is slowly slipping away following a loss in Launceston.
Mitchell settles now. He kicks it inside 50 deep. Bruce takes the mark, and immediately that move is paying dividends. Round the corner, goal umpire just watches it float over his hat. Bruce gets his first.
How about those Bombers? You don't have to wander too far to find an Essendon fan as they've surged to 3rd on the ladder, their biggest scalp of the season, and spoiled the Callum Ward celebrations.
But things are looking up for Essendon. Brad Scott's Bombers leapfrog the Giants. They make a significant statement. The Bombers from 22 down to win by 20.
Hello and welcome to AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. I'm Matt Clinch. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there. Just the 2 games of AFL footy today. We start at Docklands with Collingwood and the West Coast Eagles, and then Adelaide and the Brisbane Lions from the Adelaide Oval to complete round 9 of the AFL. Each Sunday, I'm fortunate to be joined by one of the best analysts in the game, triple premiership player, Geelong premiership captain, Cameron Ling. Welcome to you, Lingy.
Thanks, Clinchy. Great to be with you again, as we always get to be on a Sunday afternoon. A good round of footy, an interesting round of footy. Maybe last night's games didn't quite hit the heights we were hoping that they would, but 2 important wins for the Suns and the Dogs. We love to start off Sunday, Clinchy, with a bit of a highlight that each of us have had throughout the weekend. We just got to go all Bombers with these highlights, don't we? I know we're going to talk a lot about the Bombers. I know we're going to chat with Taylor Duray in a second about last night's game, but Bombers, Clinchy. And, I mean, Zach Merritt deserves lots of pump-ups, and Andy McGrath was a number 1 draft pick and all of that. So they deserve all the kudos you can give them. But I want to go a little deeper down and go Jai Caldwell and Durham and Kyle Langford, superb again. Nick Martin, the way he came into this club and into this team. Mason Redman. Players who Essendon fans are starting to just love, and I think fans from opposition teams in some of those cases actually don't know that much about them, and they're starting to understand just how good they are. I still can't believe they knocked off the Giants. I've been a doubter. I've been thinking this might be a little bit of fool's gold, but to knock off the Giants when the Giants appeared to have the game a little bit in control, that is a brilliant win. 3rd on the ladder, Bombers fans, start getting up and about. Could you imagine if they'd beaten Collingwood in the Anzac Day game instead of a draw? The lid would be blown off sky high.
We wouldn't be able to hear each other, but yes, it does feel real. They're up to 3rd on the ladder. They last played in a final in 2021. They last won a final in 2004. You don't have to remind Essendon fans too much of that one, but it does feel like Brad Scott is getting the most out of this group, and it is setting them up nicely. But I've got a couple of questions about the Giants I want to pose to you shortly. For me, I could have gone anywhere, to be honest, across the weekend. There were a number of highlights. The question I was wondering, as I watched Hawthorn record a victory over St Kilda, the Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, was in the song. Now, we know he's a South Sydney Rabbitohs fan. He knew a few of the Hawthorn theme song words. Got me sort of thinking, as Geelong captain, would you be happy for someone else to come and join your theme song? It was a little bizarre in my eyes.
I missed that, Clinchy. I didn't even realise he'd done that.
So in the circle, had a Hawthorn scarf around his neck.
I tell you what, It would be a brave captain to send the Prime Minister out of the circle.
That's a fair point.
I'm not saying I would have actually had the guts to do it. I'd want to have known. This is the only thing I'll say. I would want to have known that particular person or leader had been a long-time supporter of the club. It was deep within his roots as a young person, and he absolutely cherished the club. And then, of course, yep, that's fun, that's nice, that's one of the perks of the job that he has. If you just come in for a little moment and you're not really a team supporter, I might have tried to politely point out to maybe got someone else, maybe ask the media manager, oi, get him out of the side.
Well, there was no James Sicily, so Dylan Moore was the acting captain yesterday, but I think there's a couple of questions there for the Hawks. On the SMS, 0437 774 774, we'd love to hear from you. Fran from Melbourne's already been in touch. Hi, Ling, you were great, by the way, last night. Don't go for the Tigers. But as a watcher of the game, I found it really emotional watching. I do hope Adam gets the side going. It didn't lose my attention that you were in the Bulldogs rooms post-game, just taking over the hosting responsibilities. Nicely done by Channel 7 there. But what was sort of your takeaway from the Bulldogs win? Did it relieve a bit of pressure around Luke Beveridge? Did you get the answers in which you were searching for?
A win always relieves pressure, no doubt about that. We can be a very fickle industry where a win or a loss can dictate the entire narrative of the week. So the Bulldogs did what they had to do, and they found their spark of the way of playing, but they weren't tested much. I mean, Richmond were really ordinary. Now, they're ordinary partly because of personnel and the key injuries. It's not just injuries, they are key injuries deep into their midfield. Taranto and Jacob Hopper, Tom Lynch up forward, just crucial players missing, Clinchy. So that's going to be difficult. So did I get the answers from the Bulldogs? No, not entirely, but they did what they had to do. They did it with a ruthless efficiency. They did it early too. It wasn't a battle for the whole game and then they ran over the top of them for an easy win because they were just a little bit better and a little bit deeper. They destroyed them from the start, and I think that's a good sign. But I still, if I'm going to start really falling for the Bulldogs and seeing them elevate to the next level, and I'm sure we'll talk to Taylor about it shortly, is how can they go to the next level against really, really good opposition? Now, they didn't have the opportunity to answer that last night because Richmond are so undermanned, but that's what I want to see from the Dogs.
On the SMS, 0437 774 774. I should have known this would be coming. Why didn't we see a politician in the middle of the team song in Geelong, given some of the money they've received over the years? That's a topic for another day. We don't want to go too far down the political side of things. But a fourth win for the season for the Western Bulldogs. It is a confidence boost after a tough couple of weeks, and they do get a valuable 12 percentage points, which no doubt will give Luke Beveridge at least something to try and build on. I guess we'll learn over the next 5 weeks as to how much the side has improved. But they do have some levers, don't they? Their forward line with Sam Darcy in there alongside Aaron Norton, Jamari Ugle-Hagan and James Harms, the new dog. They've certainly got some areas in which, if they can get rolling, they could be a threat.
Yeah, I agree with you, Clinchy. I think a couple of things I did learn from last night. As I said, not against the greatest opposition, but some of the learnings. That forward line is almost, in a strange way, better suited to the MCG, where there's just that little bit more width, little bit more space, and the players, those forwards could work in isolation and using their advantage, their height. You know, Aaron Norton, it's athleticism and ability to jump at the ball. Sam Darcy's, it's that extra reach and a really good understanding of where the ball's going to drop. Jamari Ugle-Hagan's got both elements to his game, in the air and also at ground level. But they weren't working on top of each other. They were working in isolation, which was really important. The other big learning for me, Ed Richards could be the star difference in the midfield that they have been craving. Now, he's a completely different player to Tom Liberatore, so don't go comparing that sort of thing. But Ed has the ability to win the ball inside and also get it to the outside. And his dynamic run early on in that game, when the game was still there, I'm talking the first half, Ed Richards was the best player on the ground. He was just breaking the lines. His kicking's superb. We spoke to him in the post-match and he said he loves playing off half-back, but he's also loved the challenge of going to the middle of the ground. I almost wanted to say to him, mate, you're going to have to say goodbye to the half-back line. You're too good as a midfielder and too important, I think, to the balance to complement some of those other Bulldogs mids.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. We spoke to Liam Jones on radio post-game. He was once more back to his best, his intercept marking.
Yeah.
Alice Keith in alongside him as one of the key pillars, and it did feel like the Bulldogs got more than just the 4 points. Taylor Duray is part of the Western Bulldogs leadership group. He can join you on ABC Sport. Taylor, thanks so much for your time. Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling with you. What impressed you the most about last night's win?
Just the even spread. Just great contribution from a lot of guys. Some guys in new positions. Just heard you there talking about Ed Richards. He just continues to grow and can, you start to see him bring his strengths to the game just more often, the more comfortably he gets with his midfield time. So, but yeah, overall, just a great contribution of effort.
Heading into last night's match, how's the leaders sort of tried to handle what's been a pretty challenging week with a lot of the spotlight focused on Luke Beveridge? Obviously, the turnovers were costly against the Hawks. What was sort of the key statement you were looking to make last night?
Yeah, I think, one thing we want to get back to is, and, every team's the same, it's just that pressure game. And when we've won, we're ranked 1. And when we have lost, we've been sort of, 10th or 12th. And that's not the game in its entirety, but that's a big thing for us in the way we can help set up the game and play a forward half game. And the Hawks, we turned the ball over, and that was a bit of an anomaly for us. We've been really strong with our ball use, particularly from our back end. So we just parked that and put it in the rear view mirror and just went on with this game, knowing that is a strength of ours and we can hurt teams with our ball use.
Taylor, well done on the performance last night. It was a complete performance by the entire group. You touched on this a little bit with your pressure stuff you were just talking about there, and perhaps the fluctuation between when you're right on and maybe not so much. You've been inside premiership teams. You know what it looks like. You know what the day-to-day and during the week looks like. What do you feel this group needs to do to elevate themselves to a whole new level against the very best opposition every single time they take the field?
Well, yeah, being in a team or an environment that is successful, I think it's just the consistency of it. It's not that we can't achieve anything that Hawthorn achieved or, Geelong has achieved or whatever it is. It's just that those teams were able to do it more consistently. So I think our best is there, but the discipline is being able to do what might seem like the boring thing or the things that aren't getting recognised, continually doing those things and having surety in your role and knowing that your role is actually good enough and playing your role is good enough. And guys want to impact the game as much as they can. We get that. But the things that are going to hold us in good stead are the things that are required that, aren't going to be rewarded, as I said. So it does take discipline week to week to be able to just go front up to the boring stuff, but that's what makes good teams.
It seemed like James Harmes possibly epitomised that the best last night. I mean, I'm only guessing, thinking he comes across the Dogs maybe looking for an opportunity more in the midfield, but he was asked to play forward, he was asked to play in the midfield, to go to a centre bounce, maybe move to the outside for a little bit, and just embraced whatever was thrown at him.
Yeah, we love that about Harmesy, and it's one thing, he's come from Melbourne, which are quite a disciplined side, and he just knows the importance of his role, and he's able to swing around for us. He's an experienced player. He's got a cool head, so we trust him in all kinds of positions, and he's willing to do that.
Western Bulldogs defender Taylor Duray is with you on ABC Sport. Taylor, he had a lot of inside 50s last night, 77. When you look at that forward line with Sam Darcy, Jamari Ugle-Hagan, Aaron Norton, I guess it's the envy of a lot of other teams. How do you try and capitalise on that chemistry inside 50?
Well, that's probably been a little bit of an issue for us, among other things. But, they're inexperienced as a trio together. Sam's only played, not even 20 games. I think what they'll learn to do more is work in spaces away from each other, complement each other by trying to create as many 1v1s as possible. And I think that's how we're going to get the best out of those guys. And, if defences want to go extra tall, we know we've got great capability at ground level. And if they don't want to match the height, then there's an advantage there. So it's just more the chemistry of that front six. Losing Cody is a big hit for us. And having Westy out last week, I think, was also a massive hit. So to have as much as our best starting six in that front end available most weeks is going to be important for us just to get that continuity of playing together, really.
And during the off-season, there was obviously a review around the coaching structure. There was a few changes around Luke Beveridge. Matthew Egan's come to the club. I'm interested, as a senior player at the Western Bulldogs, what has he brought? What point of difference has he tried to implement to this playing group?
I've absolutely loved Ego. He's just a level head. He looks at the program in totality. He's trying to put in things that he thinks will benefit the players, and he's a very player-first sort of manager. He's just looking to improve the program any way he can, and he has. He's I think lightened the load on Bevo. He's brought in good people. He's enhanced our footy department immensely, and he's just someone that the boys absolutely love. They respect him as a person and him as a professional too. So he's been fantastic for us.
I'll back that summation up very much so about Matty Egan, a high-quality football person. Just before we let you go, Taylor, you're 4-5 now, looking to square the ledger at 5-5. What better team to do it against than the Giants? That rivalry, have you sensed that since you've been at the Dogs, that's a particular one that, both sides probably don't particularly love each other?
No. In my first year, there was a final where Bont got roughed up a little bit, and there was a bit of haste in that game, and I've definitely felt it ever since. And look, there's lots of players that have gone on from both teams from that final in 2016, which is probably the catalyst for the rivalry, but it still lives on, and they're always pretty hotly contested games and super physical, and they've come off a couple of losses and they're going to be highly motivated. Teams are every week, but it's going to add a little bit more to this the contest this weekend as well.
Taylor, is there any update on Tom Liberatore? Do you think he might be a chance for next week?
No, I think there's definitely going to be a conservative approach with Tom. No timeline as such, but certainly not next week. Just be one to monitor and to see how he comes on. But given there's been a number of concussions, or just this year alone, I think the club wants to, be a little cautious with this, given the seriousness of concussions and the long-term effects of it. So we're just supporting Tom, we'll give him as much time as possible.
And finally, a milestone for you next week, a 200th game. You obviously played in premierships with the Hawks in your second and third year. What does it mean to get to that individual milestone at a club which you're hoping will be pushing for the pointy end of the season and competing in finals and premierships once more?
Yeah, I think this is my greatest achievement for sure. I've experienced team success, and part of that is being in the right place at the right time. I know you have to earn your spot and contribute to the team, but from someone who didn't debut till their fourth year, probably missed 70 to 80 games through injury, never thought I was going to make 200 games. So I'm super proud of myself to be able to make it to this milestone, and hoping, we can put on a good performance and get a win on this weekend. That'll make it even more special.
Absolutely. Taylor, thanks so much for your time. Good luck next week against GWS.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Taylor DeRay joining us from the Western Bulldogs following their big win over the Tigers last night. He was the assistant of the Western Bulldogs coach, Luke Beveridge.
I was asked about before the game, what might be perceived as a week within the football club where the cauldron's pretty hot, and how do you get through it? We knew exactly what we left out there the week before, and we faced a determined Hawthorn side that got us in the end. But everyone kept their heads and really composed. We saw some great signs of leadership from some of the players, and they worked away. Our coaches did a terrific job in preparing the players, as did our medical and high performance crew. So it's just everyone working together, just to prepare for playing Richmond on a Saturday night.
The thoughts of Luke Beveridge of the Western Bulldogs, coach Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling with you on AFL Sunday on ABC Sports. In the next 5 weeks, linking GWS, Sydney, Collingwood, Brisbane, Freo. They only have one away, which is GWS away. The rest are all at Docklands, which, given your point about how they played at the MCG, does make it an intriguing challenge. Can they get a bit of consistency, a bit of fluency going against sides who'll be thereabouts fighting for top 8 spots?
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's over to them now. They did what they had to do last night. They won the game. They won it convincingly. They won it ruthlessly. Fantastic. this next month shows us where the Dogs are really going to be in season 2024. I'm looking forward to the way they handle that one. I do have this just feeling of worry and hesitation here, Clinchy, that there's so many Essendon supporters who are so angry at us right now for not just spending the first, 26 minutes talking entirely about the Bombers and the fact that they're just flying right up there and third on the ladder. Don't worry, Bombers fans, we're going to get to you.
Okay, we're coming to them right next. Just give me your thoughts on the Tigers before let's hear from Adam Uze, who was more complimentary than what I thought.
Oh, I just spoke to the players around our effort and I can't fault our effort. Like, we try, and the boys are trying almost like they're trying too hard. We're slipping over and missing tackles, and which is, I've said this over and over, that we can't fault the effort. It's just our execution and our tackle technique, and we've got some younger players getting opportunity through what we've been through with our adversity, and they're coming up against quality. The last 3 weeks we've come up against 3 quality midfield groups that have tested us in that area, but we've tore it away, and I think today we'll plus 15 at first possession, but we lose clearance by 10. So that's some technique and some method, but it's just experience as well. So we've just got to get better at it every day.
Some more injuries last night, linking with Jack Graham, a hamstring injury. Sam Banks was stretchered off the field. Maurice Rioli Jr. landing awkwardly. Throw that alongside Lynch, Hopper, Taranto, Baker, Gibcus out for the season. So there's some challenges there for Adam Uze. I guess the interesting part as well with the announcement in the last 48 hours that Brendan Gale is going as well, the Richmond CEO, to head up the Tassie new franchise. It does put it in an interesting stage as to how do Richmond try and get a second win for the season and try and make sure that Adam Uze isn't making all these radical calls at the end of the season, that they are in full rebuild mode.
Yeah, that's a challenge for them, how they turn what has been an incredibly successful period. Those 3 premierships, the membership, just the quality club that they've turned themselves into sustained success. And that doesn't mean they're going to be winning the premiership every year. They're not going to be top 4 every year. They're going to have a year like this where the depth is going to be tested. They've got to get games into young players, and unfortunately injuries are compounding that as well. So how they then build out of this is the really important thing. So what's the leadership going to look like? Jake Nile will join us soon for a chat, and I'm sure he might have a couple of thoughts on the successor to Brendan Gale as the CEO at Richmond. But how does Adam Uze still build continue to uphold that really strong playing group culture and the standards that they demand, while probably deep down knowing this year's probably only going to get worse for a little while with the extra injuries that they've got and the fact that their depth isn't there at all. And Tim Taranto and Jacob Hopper and Tom Lynch and Shea Bolton and these types of players, they're not up for a total rebuild, tear it down and start entirely from the foundations. They're in their prime, so they want to see a path to next year and the year after that has them back competing. Draft well, but also maybe target 1 or 2 other players through free agency or trades where they can get a pretty quick bounce back up the ladder. This year can be, I think it already is, the year from hell. That's okay. A one-off year from hell is understandable and acceptable when you've had that incredible run of success. What they don't want to let it slip to be is multiple years from hell and really stay down the bottom for a long period of time. So that's the challenge for them, and they're going to have to fight through a really tough patch now.
Yeah, so the challenge is for Adam Uze to try and get the most out of his experienced players, with some still coming to the end of their career, maybe in the next few years, if not before that. Matt Clinch and Cameron Ling with you on AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. Righto, Lingy, time to get to Brad's Bombers. Here was Brad Scott after Essendon's big win over GWS yesterday.
People talk about the outside noise when you're losing. You know, the outside noise when you're winning is just as important to stay focused on what you need to do. But what I thought tonight was, because I think these two things are separate, but it's a record crowd for Essendon against GWS. That electric feeling, and I'm in an air-conditioned, climate-controlled, soundproof coach's box, but I could hear the Essendon fans just. It sounded like to me that they had real pride in their team, and that's I said to the players, that's as good a reward as you can get.
Brad Scott after the Bombers' 20-point win over GWS. The writing was on the wall early. The Giants burst out of the blocks, kicking 4-1. They led by 22 points in the second quarter. It looked like Cal Ward was going to have a memorable 300th game. And then all of a sudden it swung in the second half, 8-3 after the main break. What impressed you the most about the Bombers, who are now up to third on the AFL ladder?
Well, exactly that, Clinchy. That's what impressed me the most. If they'd come out and everything was just working for them and the bounce of the ball, and sometimes you have these magnificent days, everyone's all on the same page and you go from start to finish and you play this great game and, wow, that was fantastic. We knocked off a contender. Great. That deserves huge praise as well. But the fact that they were down, and I thought, watching it, I was at the MCG getting prepared for the night game. I was watching it on the TV. I thought, no, Giants have got this. That's pretty comfortable. They'll just keep building on their lead, and they'll end up winning this by 5 or 6 goals, the Giants, over the course of the whole game. It just had that rhythm, had that momentum, had almost that inevitability. So for Essendon to be able to reverse that, Clinchy, and then so efficiently execute when they took control back of the game and completely flipped the game and the flow of the game. That's the most impressive thing. That's a great sign. You can do that to a really quality opposition who are controlling the game. As I said, I am forced to start really deeply analysing. Was I just too harsh on Essendon? Am I living too much in the last few years and multiple years of, they're teasing again and then they'll just drop off? Do we all have to just push that aside and say, hang on, this is a new team who have some character and real strength to fight back from a game that was slipping away from them and win it, and then win it convincingly. And the players that stood up, Kyle Langford just continues to, I think, blow everyone away with his almost hybrid key forward, medium forward, at times almost small forward when he needs to be type of playing. It is super impressive, Clinchy, and I'm glad Brad Scott spoke about the outside noise of the enjoyment, because it is rocking at the moment, Windy Hill. The Bombers fans are just up and about, and that's important that this group somehow blocks that out and just continues to lock in on playing great footy and let that outside noise and that party continue around them, but don't let it affect them too much.
Yeah, Kyle Langford, 51 goals last year, 4 goals yesterday. So he's only 3 goals behind Charlie Curnow in the race for the Coleman medal. It was surprising he missed that shot on Anzac Day, given how reliable he's been from the pockets. He's a pretty good shot on goal. And Ben Mackay, obviously they might have paid a little bit overs in terms of trying to get a key position defender, but he started on Jesse Hogan. I think he had 5 intercept marks, 10 intercept possessions throughout the match. It feels like they're starting to get a few of their key pillars right. Andy McGrath, the long-term contract, and Sammy Durham alongside Archie Perkins looks like a pretty good midfield. For the Giants, well, Adam Kingsley's got a few questions.
I just don't think we're playing our best footy, and we've been beaten by 3 pretty good teams. So each of those teams you'd expect are finishing in the top 4 to top 6, I would imagine. And so what the feedback to us has been is that we're not quite at that level right at this moment, and that's okay. But we do need to sharpen up our game and make sure that by the end of the season we're playing our best footy. Okay, and our challenge between now and then is to be able to generate enough wins to actually qualify for finals. That's our first objective, and based on our last month of footy, we're going to fail to do that.
So give me your best 45 seconds on the Giants, who recorded their lowest score of the season yesterday.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head a little bit on them, Clinchy, because I rate them extremely highly. They just got broken down. I think they've got important role players who can play high quality football, but they still rely on some of their A+ graders to really fire. And Toby's just a little bit off at the moment. I mean, he still kicks a couple of goals and he's still a threat. I'm not bagging him or anything like that, but he's just not quite at his peak. Whitfield was a little quiet. So just maybe it's a little lull in their season. I'm still a big believer in them, though. I'm not putting a line through them at all. I think they'll be firing come later in the year.
No, having won their first 5, though, they've now lost 3 of their last 4, and it does set up an interesting clash against the Western Bulldogs next week for the Giants, who are just teetering in the middle stages of the season. Great to have your company on AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. Don't forget you can get in touch with us on the SMS 0437 774 774. We'll add a few thoughts to yours to ours after Jake Knoll is about to join us.
So, Jane has a complicated love life.
Hey, what's wrong with back hair?
Daddy, hibernation is over.
In a new ABC rom-com.
That is a lot of white meat.
No. They all just happen to be...
Of the Caucasian persuasion.
Oh,
Kind of Korean, eh?
Korean.
Can she fix the mess?
There is something seriously wrong with you.
Brand new comedy, White Fever.
All right, keep it in your pants.
Wednesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
This is AFL Sunday with Matt Clinch, Cameron Lee and Jake Niall.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Welcome to our South Australian listeners for the first time to AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. Matt Clinch, Cameron Ling and Jake Niall with you. Only the 2 matches for Mother's Day. It's Collingwood and West Coast from Docklands, and then Adelaide and the Brisbane Lions to close out round 9 of the AFL. On the SMS 0437 774 774. Mary from South Hobart. Thank you, the Hawks and the Bombers. My footy tipping is looking great so far. Phil from Victoria said, what's going on with GWS? Does this mean the lower top 8 will bump off the top 4, or the lower sides under the 8 climbing up? Disappointed with their game yesterday. We just touched on GWS. And another question coming through from Sean in Perth. Does Cameron Ling now consider the Swans the best side of the competition and premiership favourites, with Mills, McCartan and Parker still to come in the side?
Yes, that is a fair assessment, and one I got very wrong in the pre-season leading up to it. I wasn't sure about the Swans. Could they bounce back, or sorry, not bounce back, but go further? Yes, right now they are the most complete team. They are just emphatically knocking off teams either around them in the Giants, or teams that are fighting to get into the top 8 in a little bit of form. In Fremantle, they are handling everyone. Their midfield is elite. They are just a superb team, and as they've always been, Clinchy, a brilliant football club. You think of how often they put themselves in contention with top 4s and grand finals. I know the last few grand finals haven't quite gone to plan for them, but they are always thereabouts. And right now, as we sit in this particular moment, they are the most complete team and the best team in it. Might not be come the end of the year, but right now, they certainly are.
There's no late changes at Docklands. Jack Bytel, the former Saint, making his debut for the Pies, will be the sub, and Harvey Johnston for the West Coast Eagles. Every Sunday, Jake Knoll, the chief footy writer for the Age newspaper in Melbourne, joins us. Jake, welcome to you.
Thanks, Clinchy and Lingy.
Probably the big talking point from the weekend happened on Friday night. Confirmation coming through yesterday from the Geelong media team that Jeremy Cameron has entered the AFL concussion protocol in the 4th quarter. He had a collision with the ground after a marking contest. The doctor went out to him. He stayed out on the ground. But now it looks like both he and Tom Hawkins are set to miss Geelong's match in Darwin against the Gold Coast Suns. What did you make of this? Is this a challenging one for the AFL, given concussion is such a talking point at the moment?
Yeah, look, it was a really interesting incident. I think that Jeremy Cameron, flying for the ball, crashes to the ground. Now, I thought, I wasn't at the ground, but I was watching it on TV like, many people. I thought that he looked a bit stunned. The doctors come out on the ground and done the assessment of Jeremy Cameron on the ground. And I think the part of it that would probably, the glitch in the system is that the doctors assessed him on the ground. Now, you can argue the merits of that, but the AFL have ticked it off. But Jeremy Cameron appears not to want to leave the field, Lingy. And the doctor's done the assessment out there, and he's been ticked. We cannot question the judgment of the doctor. Sometime later, we find that there's been a subsequent assessment, the assessment after the game, Jeremy Cameron's okay, and then there's delayed concussion according to Geelong, which put out this yesterday, and then he's out of the game on, was it Thursday night?
Thursday night.
Yeah, so it looks messy. I don't think it's a great look, irrespective. The AFL have ticked Geelong off, so we're not going to have an Aliir situation, Lingy, of Geelong being fined, and the doctors have a hard enough job as it is. I'm not going to sit here and question the doctor's judgments. I think, though, that what seems to have fallen down is he somehow... I cannot see that it's ideal that he was assessed on the field. I don't think that's what we want to see.
So that's my question, Jake. Does the entire competition, as we're going forward from this, need a mechanism where the game stops? The doctor can come to the bench, to the interchange steward, whatever it might be, the emergency umpire, and say, I need to make that assessment of a player because we've reviewed the vision. It looks like a concussion episode, but I'm not sure. We need to review this player on the bench. Can we stop the game and basically, almost like the blood rule, ask him to leave the field? As opposed, because it's very hard to get a player who's in the heat of the moment and wanting to be in the contest late in the game to leave the field. Just as a doctor, he might say, I'm fine, let me go. Is there another mechanism we need where the game actually stops for that, or at the next stop of play, and almost, as I said, blood rule-like, leave?
Yeah, I think so. I think they could have done it, though, Lingy. I think that the ARC spotters identified that he may need assessment. And the assessment, I think what's happened, the fall down here seems to me to be, and people can debate this, that he was assessed on the field rather than off the field. Now, they can argue, Geelong, the doctor did the assessment, he can argue that he came up fine. The AFL are saying he didn't show any signs of, motor incoordination, which is what they look for, that Cameron wasn't showing those signs. Now, I don't know about you guys, I thought when he hit the ground, it was his second knock in the day, I thought he looked stunned. And it was clear that his head had hit the ground, but with some force. I would have thought that would be almost mandatory that he goes off the field. But that's not what happened. Now, the AFL have ticked it off. Geelong, and I don't want to get into the doctors have got a hard enough job, but this doesn't look great to me. And I think the AFL have got to have a think about whether they can do exactly what you were talking about, Lingy. They could be a little bit more forceful in the arc. Or are we going to get to a point where we're going to have independent head injury assessments at every game? Is that where we're headed?
Yeah, I think the cost of that might end up being too much for the AFL, but I do think we might reach a stage where the umpires stop play for a player to leave the ground to get assessed, given that's what happens, as you said, Jake, with a blood rule. I guess the other interesting talking point, Lingy, is Tom Hawkins has been noted to be rested for this match in Darwin. Would they reconsider that? I guess not when you have a player in his mid-30s.
No, they'd be reconsidering it. They'll at least discuss it, Clinchy. If in fact he's locked away to have a week off, they wouldn't want to break with their plan if that was, because each individual player has, certainly the experienced ones who you almost know are going to play AFL football each week, they would have a plan in place. The medical team, the conditioning team, the coaches, of understanding when would be optimum to give certain players management, and Geelong's been big on managing players, so they would be loath to break with their plan on Tom Hawkins, but sometimes necessity dictates that. But I know they want to play Shannon Neal and give him a really good opportunity there, so maybe they just back that in and think we can have a different look forward line, and even though the two big superstars won't be there, that's fine, and they stick to their plan. But it will be discussed at length, I would imagine, at their match committee meetings, their selection meetings. But I would guess, the way Chris Scott's been in the past, they'll always err on sticking to the plan of the management around Tom Hawkins, and he probably won't play.
Yep. Jake, the Tigers went down by 91 points last night to the Western Bulldogs, but confirmation coming through in the last 48 hours that Brendan Gale is heading to the new Tasmanian franchise when they come into the competition in 2028. So this year will be his last year at the Tigers, with the, farewell of Damien Hardwick last year, Dustin Martin potentially in his last year. It does feel like the end of an era at Punt Road. Who do you feel like would be the leading candidates for the CEO's job at Punt Road?
Well, look, the first candidate that's in the club, there's always an internal candidate, and that's Simon Matthews, who's been more or less Brendan Gale's offsider. Not so much in the commercial space, but in a variety of areas. He's certainly a contender for the job, and he'll get a good look in. And I think they'll be looking in the footy industry. One name I'd throw up, just because he has been at Richmond, that I reckon it'd be interesting if they interviewed, would be Kane Little, who was the CEO at Carlton and who worked at Richmond previously in commercial. just he's fairly familiar with the club. I wonder if they'd have a look at him. And then there's also people who are current CEOs already in the game. But Richmond, they'll run a process. This is a very rigorous club board with John O'Rourke as the chairman, and I think, and one of the vice presidents, Henrietta Rothschild, she's a very well versed in the sort of corporate headhunting area, and they'll be looking far and wide, I would imagine, but they've got someone internal as well. I think the broader question there, guys, is whether Blair Hartley stays at the club, and there's no indication to me. There's been discussion of whether he would join Brendan Gale in Tasmania as the list manager. We can still stay in Melbourne. But I think Richmond broadly have to have a think about whether they want to keep some people from that era or whether they need a complete sweep of the positions. Blair is a really good operator and he would get a job at a number of clubs. I'm sure if he wanted the Tassie job, it would probably be his from Brendan. But do they want to actually renew everything, or do you need to keep... Lingy, this is an interesting one. You've been through this at Geelong. Do you need continuity from that successful era so that there's some corporate memory for the next group?
Yeah, absolutely, Jake. You do. Not everyone. You don't just stick with the same crew right the way through. You need some fresh ideas. You need some new personalities who might connect better with players, with different staff around the group. But no, absolutely, there needs to be an element of continuity. I think of Geelong and I think of Nigel Lappin straight away. He'd been a combination of either assistant coach, development coach, heading up their entire development program, almost confidant for Chris Scott. He's straddled both eras at Geelong, of the Bomber Thompson and the Chris Scott eras. You get that sort of personality who can, as you say, pass on that IP of success and to the young players coming into the club. So that's crucial for the Tigers, I think, getting that balance of key people staying from this incredible era and then still cherry-picking the very best talent out there that can bring you some new ideas and take them into their next generation of success. Blair Hartley, that's a good one. He's had the success of putting together one of the best lists and eras in the football club's history. He, if he wanted to, should get the opportunity to put together another crew. I think of Stephen Wells at Geelong. I mean, if we tip Wellesley out after the first run of success, thinking, we need a whole bunch of fresh ideas, well, then Geelong don't get the next lot of Brad Close is picked up from Mount Gambier and Tom Atkins off a VFL list and Tommy Stewart from South Barwon, and that brilliance of those types of people who can recruit and list manage, they're like gold. You keep them at your club if you can do that.
Yeah, I think it's a really crucial time for Richmond because, look, the road ahead looks difficult. They've got, bearing in mind, Dustin Martin's going to be going soon. Tom Lynch has struggled to get on the field. He's a great player. He's 30. They've got Toby Nankervis is getting on, Vlosten. There's not going to be many of these guys left when they're rising again. It's going to take some time, and they're going to have to be patient. And the Tiger faithful are going to have to be patient. This is what happens when you have that sort of era. They haven't had some of the advantages that Geelong have had, and maybe a decision or two. The Toronto Hopper trade has put them a little bit behind, I think. So it's testing times for Richmond. They've been terribly hit by injury. And I think they're going to have to give Adam Uze a pretty long term in order to get them back up again.
Completely agree, Jake. While we're on contracts, list management, all that sort of stuff, and we're talking all things Essendon today because the Bombers fans are celebrating everything and the magnificent way the team's going. What are you hearing around Jake Stringer, his contract? Is the feeling there's going to be a slightly longer term offer offered to him? Is it a year by year type of thing to keep him hungry and sharp like he's been this year? What's your feel?
Well, I don't think Essendon will move much because in my last I spoke to Brad Scott about it pre-season, and it was clear that Brad wanted Jake Stringer to, he said he basically had him on a bit of a short leash. He was saying you get judged not simply on your output, it's also whether you're showing that you fit into the team structures, and he didn't say behaviours, but it was clear that Stringer was being, they were asking for him to do a lot professionally and to do everything right. So I don't think Essendon will be in a rush, funnily enough. I think Jake Stringer's playing pretty well and he's playing his role very well. I think that, but I don't think it serves Essendon well to rush into that deal. I think that they would be better to wait and see how the season unfolds. They're going very nicely. I would be surprised, Lingy, if they were talking about it for at least another month in any serious way. I think that it favours Essendon to delay rather than to jump.
I couldn't agree more, and unfortunately, as harsh as this might sound to Jake, because he's a terrific footballer, the runs on the board are there already, and unfortunately, Jake hasn't shown an ability to be absolutely, I'm talking pinnacle of elite in preparation and conditioning, to be to get his absolute most out of himself every single year of his playing career. So therefore, unfortunately, the consequence of that is you end up at this age, at age 30, and it probably should be year by year, 1 year at a time, and keep proving that you deserve another contract. Versus someone plucking a name, Nat Fyfe, if I was to say him, who's shown a willingness to be highly professional, elite in his preparation, doing everything he can. Yeah, he's had a horrible run of injuries. You think, okay, still want him around. We could give him a 2-year deal, no worries at all, and he will give his absolute all to getting everything out of his body. Jake hasn't quite deserved that. His football's great, but his preparation hasn't always been so. I think year by year is what he's facing, and keep proving himself.
The other possibility...
And Jake Niall with you for AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. The Magpies making their way out onto Docklands. A nice gesture with the bunches of flowers for the mothers who have made a guard of honour, and the West Coast Eagles a few moments before that. Jack Bytel, the sub for the Magpies, the former Saint, and Harvey Johnston for the West Coast Eagles. Jake, we're quickly running out of time, but just the very sad story around the death of Cameron McCarthy, the former Giant and Fremantle forward. It was emotional, the scenes in Perth on Friday night, and you could see that in the face of Nat Fyfe and Alex Pearce, and they lay their flowers in the goal squares at either end. Obviously a tragic story for the Fremantle Dockers, and a tough occasion to try and then front up 24 hours later and play a game of footy.
Yeah, you actually wonder whether even for some of the players, whether there was even a thought to not playing. I remember when John McCarthy died and the Collingwood players were playing in that preliminary final. He died over in Las Vegas and in an accident, and some of the players were quite distressed. It's Cameron McCarthy was 29, and he played with a number of these players. It's doubly sad that there's 3 Dockers players from their 2017 list: Harley Ballock, Cam McCarthy now, and Shane Yarran, who are no longer alive. So Fremantle players from that period have been through quite a bit. And, I don't know whether it affected performance, but I would say there's a good chance that it did.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And obviously Lifeline and Beyond Blue for anyone who needs to talk, 13 11 14. Jake, thanks as always. We'll chat again next Sunday.
Thanks, guys, and happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there.
Absolutely. Jake Niall, the chief footy writer for the Age newspaper in Melbourne. AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. To close our program each Sunday, we finish with Cameron Ling's last word.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have much pleasure in inviting 1963 Geelong Premiership player Doug Wade to present the Premiership Cup to Cameron Ling and the Geelong Football Club.
Dane Swan, toughest opponent.
Probably Cameron Ling.
Dan Cousins, toughest opponent.
Cameron Ling.
Thank you, Clinchy, for that introduction. Always love that one. My last word here relates to the 2 games to play here on Sunday. You just said Collingwood have run out onto the MCG. Despite the fact, Clinchy, their forward line's going to look very, very different to what we expect with Schultz, Mychek, McCreery and Elliott all out through a combination of suspension and injury. I'm still going to assume that Collingwood will win this one, Clinchy. That might be dangerous, but I'm going to assume it. No Elliott Yeo, no Jake Waterman. So if Collingwood win, and then the other game, the Adelaide Crows taking on the Brisbane Lions at the Adelaide Oval, if the Lions don't win that one, they can't play finals. They are done for season 2024 because the gap opens up to be just too big behind what will, I think Collingwood would then scrape into 8th spot with their win over West Coast. They have the draw up their sleeve. They'll be about 2.5 games clear of the Brisbane Lions. I should be checking that one even closer. 2.5 games ahead of the Brisbane Lions. too far back. The Lions simply have to find a way to win this one against the Crows. They're up against it with all those horrible injuries from last week. They're playing at the Adelaide Oval. They got to find a way. They have to win this one. If they do, it could be the sort of win that could really kickstart their season and get something special rolling. But if they drop it, like unfortunately I'm tipping them to do, that is it. The grand finalists of last year will not be playing in September in season 2024.
Cameron Ling with his last word. Yeah, a really interesting afternoon for see how Collingwood go today. Jamie Elliott, Brody Myercheck both missing. Leading goal scorers with 14 goals. Lockie Schultz with 9. So that leaves you with Bobby Hill with 10. Pat Lipinski with 8. And Nick Dacos with 6 as well. So Craig McRae said he's going to try. Jeremy Howe as a forward. That's where he thought he would be playing some of his footy when he joined Collingwood under Nathan Buckley. So they might be creating a new forward line. But no Jordan De Goey either. So I wonder whether Will Hoskin Elliott maybe spends more time forward. Maybe he gets creative, has a bit of fun with it.
Darcy Moore, Clinchy? Could
maybe.
he... Well, because I look at that
Nick
West
Dacos
Coast forward
out of the
line,
goal square. Why not? Something a bit different.
Maybe. Jack Darling's really the only kind of key forward for West Coast. They'll throw somebody else down there, but maybe Frampton takes him and Darcy. Just float forward. Try and take a couple of hangers in the forward line. Show those forwards it's not that hard. Just try something. Don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think they should still have no worries and knock off the Eagles.
And Adelaide have won 3 of their last 4. They're chasing the season after a slow start. That looks like a good afternoon on the couch with Brisbane impressive with their response against the Gold Coast Suns at home, but can they repeat it on the road? On the SMS, 0437 774 774. Jason from Geelong, Jake Stringer hasn't been elite since his 2015 All-Australian year. Some questions coming quick and fast for you from Amy in Geelong. Lee, 1. When will Toby Conway become Geelong's default ruckman? Surely Stanley's had his go before Friday night.
I think he would have played on Friday night had he not got injured in the VFL. I reckon they were ready for him. And, yeah, I think that changing of the guard's going to happen over the next few weeks.
Dot point number 2. When does Shannon Neal get a decent run in the place of Tom Hawkins, given his recent form? And if they want to keep playing Hawkins, why not put him in the right to relieve others occasionally?
Yep, fair question as well. As we said before, I would assume if they stick to the plan with Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron's out, Shannon Neal will play as the key forward, alongside maybe a Gary Rowan and an Ollie Henry up there this Thursday night in Darwin against the Gold Coast Suns, before they've got the Giants after that. So, yeah, Shannon Neal will get a good go, and they are very keen to play him. And the suggestion of him in the ruck, if Toby Conway does take over a little bit more, he'll need a chop out. So Neal might be that other player they can have as a tall forward, but also play a chunk in the ruck as well.
Now, Mick Conway on Twitter has sent me a video of a very younger Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, belting out the Hawthorn theme song. So I've got to give credit where credit's due. Maybe he has been a long-suffering Hawthorn fan. Okay. I just wasn't quite aware of that. Maybe it's just slightly behind his South Sydney Rabbitohs loyalty. And Sarge wants to know, as a long-suffering Sainter, where are we headed, Lingy?
Well, I get accused by St Kilda fans on this very show, Clinchy, of just not liking them. And I keep defending myself and saying, it's not that I don't like you. I just think at the moment you're actually no good as a list, just the depth of the group. And you've got a lot to fix up. I think they're big holes in their draft of, not in the last, say, 2 years, but in the previous 5 or 6 years, there are just giant holes. And yes, the Jack Billings instead of Christian Petrarca one will come. No, that wasn't. That was Paddy McCartan and Christian Petrarca, Jack Billings and Marcus Bontempelli. Those combinations are the sorts of ones that stick and haunt you a little bit. But some of the other picks as well, unfortunately, just haven't worked out. So that's why they don't have that real A-grade depth through the middle and right across the ground. I think you're just battling to hold on at the moment. I think the Saints overperformed last year, Clinchy, and scraped into the finals. Those early wins helped them. They almost need to continue to build through the draft and build a list over the next few years. They're well off. They're well off the top 8 teams in my eyes, but that's been that way for a while. And it's not because I don't like you. I just don't think they've quite got the players yet, Clinchy.
Yeah, apart from their 103 they scored against North Melbourne, scoring has been a big challenge for them. 53 points against the Hawks yesterday, 72 points against Port Adelaide, 64 against the Dogs back in round 6 and 79 against GWS where they lost by a point. So the challenges for Ross Lyon and for Alistair Clarkson, the North Melbourne coach, to try and find the right way to appease the supporters.
Have you got Zach Toohey on the game today?
Yes.
Clinchy.
The Irishman, the Geelong defender, Zach Toohey, is going to join Brett Delidio.
Stir him up, Clinchy, for me. He's a good man, but stir him up. Make him work.
Make sure you go and spoil your wife. Thank you, Lee. We'll chat again next Sunday.
Thanks, Clinchy. Have a great day.
The full call coming up next from Docklands. It's Collingwood and the West Coast Eagles. Stay with us as your Sunday continues on ABC Sport.
Oh, mornings.
Will Anderson, you've been targeted.
It's too early for advertising. Skip.
The adverts are in your home.
Spam on my fridge now? No. Unsubscribe.
You're being influenced.
I don't want any of this. Are you listening to me?
When the whole world's gone ad.
Oh, we're listening.
Thank goodness there's Gruen. Back Wednesday, May 15 on ABC TV and always free, always entertaining on ABC iView.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio.
ABC Sport Digital. And take us with you on the ABC Listener.
Look for the AFL button.
Harley Reid is the fastest rising star in the game, the biggest one since the last one. That was Nick Dacos, who of course is playing for Collingwood. Reid versus Dacos. It is West Coast versus Collingwood. It has all the trimmings of a Mother's Day blockbuster, albeit a West Coast team without Elliot Yeo, without Jake Waterman. They're trying to cover that today. They play Collingwood, who they've won 4 of their last 5 against. And would you believe the Pies are the only team that the Eagles own a winning record against in the last 3 years, while Collingwood are looking for bigger and better. They finally got a positive record for the first time in the young season, and today they're looking to try and win and jump into the top 8. We've got a couple of debutants. Joe Richards is on debut for Collingwood, so he's going to make his debut in jumper number 29. No relation to the famous Richards in the history of the football club. He's hoping to become the next famous Richards. And Jack Bytel makes his club debut. He's going to start as the sub. Meanwhile, for West Coast, Harvey Johnston is the sub, and Tyrell Dewar makes his debut at 20 years of age. Corbin Middlemass and Matt Clinch to call the footy. I'm very pleased to say Brett Delidio's here on the back of starring for Tongala yesterday. G'day, Lids.
Corby, good to be here, mate. Very sore and ginger, but keen to see one of Tony's finest products play live for the first time in Harley Reid.
And speaking of debuts, 276 games and counting for the Cats. Premiership defender Zach Toohey. G'day, Zach.
G'day guys, thanks for having me. This is very exciting for me to dip my toe into this world.
You'll be excellent at it, we have no doubt. Looking forward to picking your brain throughout. Jess Webster with us on the boundary. We'll touch base with Jess in a minute, but we're ready to go. There's no late change. Mother's Day footy, Collingwood and West Coast on ABC Sport. You're with Matt Clinch.
Bailey Williams and Cameron in the middle of the ground, and it's Williams who gets the clearance first for the West Coast Eagles. The half forward, but Mark off with a hand pass away to Pendlebury. Kicks out to the broadcast side, and the mark is taken by Steele Sidebottom. Sidebottom looks boundary side, goes short to Nick Dacos, who marks between wing and half forward. Tries to thread a pass to Scott Pendlebury, who marks still centre wing. Collingwood, of course, missing a lot of their forward line as Pendlebury works it forward to Cameron. He marks still 70 metres out from goal as Mason Cox heads to the goal square. Jeremy Howe starting forward for the Magpies this afternoon. He puts it in that direction. He flies and has to spoil with Witherin set in front. It's a little worse for where Alex Witherden. He gets to his feet and a boundary throw in the right forward pocket for the Pies. Jess Webster on the boundary this afternoon.
Thanks, Clinchy, and good afternoon to you all. Great to be here. It's a beautiful day outside, but we are under the roof here at Docklands. A good crowd building. The Pies fans will no doubt be full of voice this afternoon, but West Coast will take confidence in that recent record you mentioned earlier. Collingwood has lost 4 of his last 5 against West Coast in Victoria.
Pass from the stoppage, Cameron to Harrison. Hand pass away to Chris. Kicks goalward, but it's marked by McGovern. In the middle of the goal face, right on the goal line for West Coast. The Eagles in the royal blue with the gold wings. They've got the white shorts on. It's a Collingwood home game, so all in black with the white stripes as McGovern's kick comes wide to Hunt. He takes the mark at half-back. Jaden Hunt, former Demon, off the back flank. Kicks the Eagles beyond halfway. Flying for it is 2 Pies, Quaynor and Maynard. Maynard kicks in the middle of the ground. Collected by Duggan. Hand pass away to Kelly. His kick smothered.
A chance for Kelly once more. Can't gather. Harley Reid goes in there. It's Pendlebury gets the hand pass forward. Duggan was dragged off it when he didn't have the footy. No whistle. As Crisp locks the ball up with Pendlebury, and the umpire will ball it up with it locked to Tim Kelly's chest. Opening 2 minutes here at Docklands on this Mother's Day. No score as Cameron tries to take it out into the ruck against Bailey Williams. Kicks out to the wing. Tough one for both Witherden and Ondabu. It was actually Harvey Harrison who tried to slide to the front and knock it forward. Witherden gathers for the West Coast Eagles. Hand pass to Duggan. Looks inside 50. Not a bad pass as he pierces the kick inside 50. And the mark is taken out to the left in the left forward pocket, and a chance for the West Coast Eagles to strike first.
Yeah, Ryan Marrick just found himself in a great position there, Clinchy. The kick sort of half floated, Zach. I felt it wasn't pure off the boot, misread by Frampton. It just kept travelling over his head. But right spot, right time. Beautiful kick of the footy, this kid. Watched him coming through the under-18s for Gippsland. So you'll have no problem with the journey. It's all about the accuracy.
The second-year Eagle, Ryan Marriage, picked up in the mid-season draft last year. Out to the left, he'll kick from just inside 50 for the dream start for the West Coast Eagles. That's a beautiful kick off the boot. They've only touched the footy on 9 occasions, but the Eagles strike first under the roof of Docklands. 3 minutes gone on the road. West Coast 1 straight 6 to Collingwood yet to score. Brett Delidio and Zach Toohey with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, an excellent start for West Coast. It's unusual conditions here at Marvel. It always catches players out who aren't used to it, so that makes this a particularly impressive start for West Coast. The ball carries here. It's notorious for carrying here, and when it's not kicked as purely as it sometimes would be, it can actually be really hard for the defenders to read. So that's an excellent start for West Coast.
I always find that clubs that haven't played here recently and then they come here to Marvel, it takes them a little while to adjust to those conditions that you talk about. I always loved it here, though, because you knew you were going to get a beautiful dry day. It's going to be fast. Didn't have to worry about the long stops or the long sleeves.
Pies' first game here for the new season. 2024, Collingwood last playing here round 23 last year against Brisbane, a match they lost. End of the home and away season. Back in the middle, Cameron palms it down and then follows up his own foot. He kicks wide for Collingwood, and here's Bobby Hill. The boy from Northern who takes the mark, looks inside the forward 50, half volley pick up for Lipinski, gets into a bit of space and snaps the reply for the Magpies. A goal each after 4 minutes. And the Magpie Army with their first major involvement as they roar that goal through. 1 straight 6 apiece, the Pies and the Eagles, no late change coming in. Jack Vitale the sub for Collingwood, and Harvey Johnston is the sub for West Coast. Brett Delidio and Zach Toohey on ABC Sport.
Well, a good start by West Coast, as you mentioned, Zach, but I think they'd be a bit concerned about how easy that was. I just lost who that was trailing Lipinski in. We know his work rate and his ability to link up, and been hitting the scoreboard a lot this year, playing that high half forward role, really damaging player he's become. It looked a little bit too easy, that, didn't it? Just the ability to pick it up, roll through and just snap it with zero pressure on.
You did have a heap of the footy for Tongala yesterday, kicked the goal, their win.
It was a bit similar to that, bit passage of play.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I understand a fair bit of the Tongala Footy Club are here today.
They are, a lot of them here today to support Harley.
Back in the middle, Bailey Williams and Cameron. Cameron got it down, and Nick Dacos hand pass to Pendlebury, trying to find a way around Tim Kelly. Drives a kick inside 50. Howell worked his way to the front, couldn't hang on to the mark. McInnes tries to get a hand pass forward. Hot for the Eagles, spinning out of traffic. Bobby Hill lays the tackle. This might be prior opportunity. And the Collingwood fans are cheering. Holding the ball is paid. And the Magpies a chance to strike their second in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, we need to touch on Nick Dacos in traffic again. I'm not sure I've seen a player quite this clean. He gets a lot of ball on the outside. He can really hurt you on the outside. But this guy is so clean in traffic that it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of his possessions are counted as uncontested just because you can't lay a glove on him in traffic.
He's got the Ackermanis theory, has he? He's so quick that he gets in and out there before it can be contested.
Incredible.
That's what he used to tell Lee. Need more contested ball for you. Too quickly.
Jeremy Howe and Bobby Hill laid the tackle. It's Jeremy Howe in his new life as a forward, looking to make the perfect start as he kicks his first and Collingwood second. And the Magpies take the lead here at Docklands, 2 straight 12 to West Coast 1 straight 6. Of course, no Brody Myercheck, no Lockie Schultz this afternoon, no Jamie Elliott. So Jeremy Howe getting a chance up forward for the Magpies. Brett Delidio and Zach Toohey with you on ABC Sport.
And it's an interesting point, Zach, that you bring up. And what amazes me as a former player is the lack of attention that tends to go to these young superstars. You know how damaging he is. Scott Pendlebury, the same inside traffic. But why is it, from your point of view as a current day player, why do we not have any more run with players anymore?
We generally do, and a lot of teams will play the system-based defence where whoever's nearest plays on them. But honestly, some of these guys are just so good. They're getting to the point where they're almost untaggable.
Great to have Zach Tui with us. Managed this week, feeling fresh?
Yeah, very fresh.
Got a week off. Unfortunately, the Cats going down in your absence. Big trip to Darwin, of course, for Geelong coming up Thursday night. Out of the middle, Nick Dacos puts on the Jets. The preternatural. He kicks it from outside 50. The showdown of the emerging superstars, and Nick Dacos with an early win for those wearing black and white. And the Magpies up to conceding the first, bang through 3 straight in quick succession. Collingwood 3 straight 18, West Coast 1 straight 6, 7.5 minutes into the opening term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Yeah, again, we're just talking about the class and speed, the skill of Nick Dacos. He rarely misses either, does he? Like when he gets his opportunities, he really capitalises. I'm just disappointed by the lack of defensive intent to stop him getting out the front of stoppage. That's nearly your number one from centre bounce. He's done it a couple of times already.
Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. Tim Kelly alongside Nick Dacos for this bounce. Back in the middle. Bailey Williams shoves away Darcy Cameron and gets the clearance of the West Coast Eagles. Kicks inside 50. Over the head. Duar on Taboo trying to gather, and in the end he was just bumped off it at the last moment. Side bottom gathers for Collingwood. Kicks out to the wing. And a free kick going...
West Coast.
Yes, West Coast way. And Alex Witherden is going to take the free kick. A hold on half-back from the Magpies. That was Richards on Taboo who gave away the free kick.
Alex Witherden, one of 9 Victorians out there for West Coast today, so a few of the boys' chance to see their mum on Mother's Day back in Victoria as a long kick inside 50. Knocked away towards Cameron, hand pass to Pendlebury, hand pass to Sullivan, gives it to Nick Dacos, handball in the middle of the ground. McGovern wins it for West Coast, gives it to Jinby, hand pass away to Dewar. His hand pass finds Harley Reid. There's that characteristic fend off, ran into trouble, caught holding the ball. He felt like he was legged in all of that as he appeals to the umpire, and the umpire's not listening. There's a free kick for Steele, side bottom, back edge of the centre square. Collingwood 3-1. They led it by 12 points after 9 minutes.
Side bottom kicks out to half-back. Frampton takes the mark. He returns it back to side bottom. Hadn't moved a step. Has it at centre half-back. Collingwood 3 straight 18. West Coast 1 straight 6.
You've got to love Harley Reid's initial instinct is just fend off. That someone comes near him, it's not. I've got to get rid of the ball. It's you are not touching me. Good luck.
Side bottom back to Frampton, the left half back. No real option, so drives a long kick down the wing. Cameron's in the pack. Frampton as well. Big fly from Barris. Just couldn't quite hang on to the mark at the last moment. Hand pass came out from Nick Dacos, trying to get it to Cameron. Ruben Gimby slides in and lays the tackle, and the umpire will board up between wing and half forward for the Magpies. Collingwood by 12 points.
Up it goes on that City wing. And Bailey Williams flew early, spills down towards Pendlebury, jams it on the boot though for Collingwood to half forward. Hoskin Elliott hands to it, just about the only man remaining in that forward line after the heavy injury toll out of last week. West Coast win it through the hands of Kelly. Now to Petrocelli. Hand pass out wide to Chesser. He kicks down to half forward for the Eagles. Off hands, it spills out the back. Harley's onto it. He collects, gets around Frampton against the boundary line. The boy from Tongala shoots goalward. Marrick can't mark, follows up, hooks a kick to the goal square and whacked through by side bottom. And the first behind of the game, a hot start. 10.5 minutes in, Sunday footy on ABC Sport. The West Coast Eagles 1-1-7. Collingwood a 3 straight 18. No late change coming in. So the reigning champs lead it by 11 points.
Darcy Moore brings Collingwood back into play. Kicks out to Braden Maynard, who marks up the left half back. Unselfish from Harley Reid doing the right thing, centering it to Marriage one-on-one with Quaynor.
Yeah, you could probably excuse him for having a shot, but she's tough from out that pocket. You don't see too many players kicking from there.
Short to Nick Dacos, who has it at left half back. Looks around the outer wing for Collingwood. Sends in the direction of Cameron and Hoskin Elliott. Spoiled away by Rotham. A chance for the Eagles. Chesser ran into a dead end, and Sidebottom takes him over the boundary line. A throw in centre wing with Collingwood leading by 11 points. 3 straight 18 to the West Coast Eagles. 1-1-7. 11 minutes gone. Opening quarter on ABC Sport.
Have you had a look at either of these teams yet this year, Zach? I'm not sure Geelong's played either of these teams.
We haven't played them yet,
yeah.
So it's a bit of a lesson for me.
Good scouting opportunity. Zach Tui with us on ABC Sport from the boundary throwing. Cameron kicks down to half forward. Hand pass from Hoskin Elliott away towards Crisp. He's tackled dispossessed, and the Eagles win it as McGovern's short kick finds Bailey Williams. One of the fan favourites. Lion-hearted in the ruck as always. Kicks long out towards Darling, trying to get rid of Moore. Moore wins that battle. Down to Lipinski. Gives it away to side bottom. Kicks Collingwood to Noble at half back.
And pass away to Maynard, who drives a long kick towards half forward. McGuinness sets himself. He's out number 2 on 1. McGovern brings it down with Rossum's support. Charging in. A chance for Richards. His hand pass is picked off. Gathered by McGuinness. He's tackled once more. A centering ball to McRae. Not 15. Yes, it is. He takes the mark. Having received it from Richards, a centering ball. And Finn McRae trying to get his opportunity in this AFL lineup, a chance to try and kick his first goal and extend Collingwood's lead.
Well, you'd love to see Jeremy McGovern mark that ball there. He had the advantage over McInnes. It just got out the back, which invited the pressure. And the small forwards of Richards to get involved. Great little centering ball to McRae.
In his 16th game, in his 4th year as a Magpie, looking for just his 2nd goal, and Finn McRae steers it straight through the middle for Collingwood's 4th. Finally getting his opportunity at AFL level. 4 straight 24 to the West Coast Eagles, 1-1-7. And after West Coast kicked the opening goal of the match, the Magpies with the last 4. Zach Toohey and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, turnover on half-back. You see that quick transition from Maynard. Once he gets it, he clears 50, 60 metres with his kick, which immediately puts almost the entire West Coast defence out of position. And as you touched on, Brett, if that ball is not intercept marked and gets over the back, it's just a foot race, and there isn't a defence in the league that loves being in that position.
It's hard for, I think with West Coast, if they can't catch it at ground level, they're not overly tall, are they, the Pies? So it invites that fast ball movement, the ability to get onto it. Got to mark them if they can.
Joe Richards and Terrell Dewar. The 2 guys on debut today, one for either team. And of course, starting as the sub is Jack Vitale, who's making his club debut. Collingwood out by an early 17-point advantage. Ruck infringement in the middle. Mason Cox takes it by hand to Sullivan. Kicks to full forward, and there's Tommy Barris.
That's what we're talking about.
Leaps up, takes the intercept mark for West Coast. He's going to kick it out wide and finds Jaden Hunt, who marks left back pocket. The Eagles to the locket end in the opening term. They kicked the first goal, but Collingwood have kicked the last 4. Pies by 17 after 14 minutes.
Hunt goes short to McGovern, who spots up Tom Sheed. So Collingwood fans remember the 2018 Grand Final. That's a long time to have it all buried in. And Sheed kicks long towards the wing. Marriage sets himself, flies in the packet, cleared to the back. Jack Williams couldn't get a hand pass away, and now Jimby is tackled by Josh Dacos, and the ball will be thrown up. Just the 8 Eagles who featured in that 2018 Grand Final, plus, of course, Elliot Yeo, who's not there this afternoon. 7 for the Magpies were there in 2018 under Nathan Buckley without Jordan De Goey and Brodie Myercheck this afternoon. A chance for Cripps for the West Coast Eagles. Hand pass to Jingby. Kick is smothered by Nick Dacos, and it goes out of play just in front of the West Coast Eagles bench. A throw in with Collingwood leading by 17 points.
Just on Joe Richards, a former school teacher out of Wangaratta in the Ovens of Murray League. We're big O&M fans, aren't we, Lids?
We are, mate.
Yep. Went to the grand final, of course, last year. And Tyrell Dewar, he's out of the academy, so the Eagles Academy, their second NGA player, plays from Kalgoorlie Mines Rovers, actually played with Dom Sheed's old man. Now, Dom Sheed played with Dewar's old man, as there's a couple of missed tackles here from Reid. They work their way through it, hand pass to Jimby. And he kicks down the wing hurriedly. Josh Dacos takes the mark. I didn't deliver that all that well. Tyrell Dewar, his dad, played with Dom Sheed. And now Dom Sheed's playing with Dewar's son, which is Tyrell, who we're watching today. As Josh Dacos goes short to Noble.
Clear as mud.
It is, isn't it?
I reckon everyone in Kalgoorlie will be watching.
I think I painted that picture beautifully for you. Collingwood by 17 points as Noble to centre half forward. Cox the target. Barris puts his fist through it, straight down towards Crisp. Hand pass to Richards, heads inside 50, no mark. Ball hits the deck, McInnes competing out after it. And then Hunt lays a tackle on Pendlebury. Still on the half-forward line for Collingwood. Sheed weaves it through to Jimby. Hand pass to Cole on the back flank for West Coast. He puts it out on the full in front of Jess Webster on the boundary. Jess.
An early injury concern for West Coast. Jack Petricelli was having his right ankle assessed on the boundary. He's just gone down the race with the physio for further assessment. And also Tim Kelly was wearing the wrong pair of shorts, or a size too big. He had to swap a pair on the boundary, but that's all sorted now.
Thanks, Jess. The kick from Noble up towards half forward for the Pies. Flying the pack, Jack Williams. It spells out. McInnes is onto it in the right forward pocket. Screws it back to the top of the goal square. Trying to get on the end of it. Bobby Hill. Hoff's under pressure. I thought there was a whistle. No, play on's the call. Hand pass comes out to Pendlebury. He's worked off it by Sheed. A free kick, a push in the back. And Scott Pendlebury will receive the free kick. Slightly right of centre. He'll kick from just outside 50.
You ever change shorts mid-game, Zach?
I'm
wet.
Yeah, I'm sure I probably have. I change jumper at half-time every week. Not sure that's exactly the same, but that's about as exciting as my fashion gets.
Pendlebury's going to give it off. Jack Crisp has a couple of metres of space and he chips the ball over the top and he marks directly in front. He's 10 metres closer to goal. 45 metres out, directly in front.
You would have played with Eddie Betts.
I did. I had the pleasure, yeah.
He was the master of the baggy shorts, wasn't he? He was almost like the basketball shorts on.
There's a bit of rap R&B influence in that, I think.
The expert insights of Zach Toohey this afternoon as Jack Crisp is lining up for Collingwood's 5th on the trot. The ever-reliable Collingwood midfielder comes in, starts it out to the left, tries to bring it back, just doesn't do enough. And it's an 18-point lead the Magpies' way at the 18-minute mark of the opening quarter on ABC Sport.
You used to come out after half-time in a long sleeve quite regularly, didn't you?
That was
Cam
for
Guthrie, you reckon?
Yeah, the night games. Yep.
Yeah.
Used to jump ship into the long sleeve.
Any theory behind that?
For me, it's all about fashion and looking cool.
Different would have loved that.
Hacksaw Liam Duggan takes the kick out. He goes long up towards the wing. No mark. Spills down towards Quaynor. He gives it to Sullivan. Hand pass back into dispute. Sullivan goes and gets it again. Hand pass away to Harrison. He links up by hand with Noble. Kicks out to left half forward and Bobby Hill takes the mark. The Norm Smith medalist about 60 out. Big Mason Cox leading for him. He kicks it over his head a little deeper and into the path of Will Hoskin-Elliott. Stays alive. Close to the boundary line. The ump says keep going. Now it's out. And the boundary throwing about 40 out from the Collingwood goal. All their mums are here. They were down at the club yesterday. Involved in a guard of honour pre-match. Brought the match balls out. Involved at the coin toss, including Mason Cox's mum, Jeanette, who's all the way over from Dallas, Texas, to be here for the game.
I don't think they could find a Julian McCreary, though, to deliver the pre-game address as Cox wins down the tap. Pendlebury gathers at Collingwood, swings on his right, back to his left, to the top of the goal square. House out number 2 on 1. McGovern spoils it down and it rolls out in front of Duggan. And Hoskin-Elliott up against the right behind post. Collingwood deep in attack, leading by 18 points.
It's amazing that he can just walk through traffic like that. Not the quickest bloke by any stretch, but everyone keeps falling for this, hanging out on the plate. Everyone goes to where the ball is and he's going the other way.
36 years of age, Scott Pendlebury playing in his 19th season in the black and white. Thrown back in, clears Mason Cox and a quick clearing kick from Jack Williams up towards half-back, sliding in. Duar, and it's Gimby who gets the clearance. He turns it over though, a short pass looking for Darling, and it wasn't 15, so Sidebottom's locked up at centre half forward for the Magpies. Collingwood by 18.
Up it goes. Jack Williams goes leaping over the top, wins the hit out. Hunt's on the bottom of that pack, which forms around him. The ump gives him plenty of time to get it out, and Crisp does. Hand pass forward. Unkind bounce for Cole. Genby goes in there, wins it for West Coast. So strong. The second-year Eagle got it out to Duggan. Rush kick forward, but turns it over. Cameron for Collingwood. Hand pass to Noble. Short kick wide to Josh Dacos. Pokes it into the pocket. Here's Richards. And the first game of marks against the boundary line, about 25-30 out. He's right in front of the race that Collingwood are using. It's a good spot to take them from.
What I love about that, and this is what the good sides do, they don't give you a chance to set up. Darcy Cameron, quick handball off the Noble, and then a quick touch kick from Josh Dacos to the first gamer.
Mature age pickup, 24-year-old on debut. Hits the post. Most of the way up. Looks like he was going to finish from next to the fence at right half forward, not to be. And Joe Richards will have to wait a little longer up behind. His first quarter of AFL footy, he's had 5 touches already. And now a score. That's a behind. It's Collingwood by 19.
Oh! With a big kick in, and Harley Reid flying on the shoulders, making sure he's not forgotten here at Docklands. He plays on immediately. Inside 50, a driving kick towards Jack Williams with Darcy Moore in front. Gets it down to Quaynor. Hand passes around. Cripps, hand pass to Josh Dacos, who's cannoned into by Darling. A statement by the West Coast Eagles veteran forward. And a throw in at left half forward for the Eagles.
Give us a replay, Clinchy. Where is it? Oh my God, that's a good jump.
Right on the back of Jack Darling as Harley Reid sets fly.
Wow, in front of all the Tony faithful that have come down to watch him today.
And he's standing Nick Dacos at this stoppage. We wanted that match up, and we'll get it every now and then, you'd think. Across the afternoon, Nick Dacos with a signature goal, and now Harley Reid with a Big towering mark in the opening quarter. Collingwood work it forward. Joe Richards hand pass and turnover. Barris gives it away to Duggan. His kick smothered by Cox. Still sends it down to half forward. Crisp for the Magpies. Hand pass to Penderbury. Kicks in the middle of the ground. A turnover. And the intercept mark for Rotham. He goes short to Kelly for West Coast. Middle of Docklands. Collingwood by 19. 22 gone opening term.
Kelly spots Bailey Williams free at right half forward. He takes the mark, but now it's the important kick inside 50. Darling's waving his arms. He wants it more centrally. But Bailey Williams chips it short, and it's just 15 to Duggan, who juggles the mark in front of Sidebottom. Collingwood with the last 4 goals of the match after West Coast kicked the first. Duggan's pointing towards the sticks. Liam Ryan's in the goal square. He might lead in the pocket. He ignores that. Goes longer towards Bailey Williams, who sets flight. Darling's the rover. Gathers. Hand pass comes out. Edwards feeds the hand pass away to Cole. One way, then the other. Back to Edwards. Swings onto his right. Can't quite clear the goalkeeper as Frampton takes the mark on the goal line for Collingwood and goes short to Josh Dacos in the right back pocket.
A 19-point lead for Collingwood. Corbin Middlemass, Matt Clinch, Jess Webster on the boundary. Zach Tui and Brett Delidio, our call team. A short kick from Dacos finds Steele Sidebottom against the fence. Half back for Collingwood. He shares it with Quaynor, one of their 16 premiership players out there from last season. Gives it to Darcy Moore, centre half back. Long kick towards Hoskin, Elliott on the wing. No mark, but he follows up as it hits the deck. Wins it on the Logo City side. Short kick to Lipinski. Good build up this from the Magpies. Dabs it short. Away towards Markov. Markov pulls the kick and hits up Mason Cox out on the lead. Hitting up from the goal square. And he's got those salty sticks that are inbuilt for arms as he reaches out and takes the mark. And he's got it about 25 out left half forward.
Well, hopefully they show a replay here. But Oleg Markov has celebrated. He's given the one-arm salute for about 10 seconds after Mason Cox marked that. I don't know whether it's for his kick or for the hands. I think it must be for the hands. Has to be. Give him the benefit of the doubt. It was a nice kick, though. I'd like to see him go for home, to be honest.
Mason Cox, a big American, as he moves in. He's drop punt, misses out to the right. It's ordinarily a very good kick, Mason Cox, particularly for someone that grew up playing a sport that had a foot violation rule in basketball. Collingwood by 20 points. 24 gone opening term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Alex Witherden brings the West Coast Eagles back into play. Short to the back pocket for Duggan, who plays on immediately, looks up the wing. Darling's in the pack. Bailey Williams as well. Spoil made by Maynard and then slapped into the middle of the ground by Sidebottom. Risky. Rotham was tackled. And he's locked up in the middle of the ground. Sliding in, Harvey Harrison locks the ball up in the middle of the ground for Collingwood. The Magpies 4-3-27 to the West Coast Eagles 1-1-7. Cameron wins down the tap, and it's Kelly who knocks it on for the Eagles. Noble, hand pass to McRae, works off it by Cripps, hand pass to Reid, over the top. Jimby looks up, he pulls his kick looking for Darling and sliding in. Duar couldn't take the mark. It spills out Maynard's way for Collingwood. Hand pass to Crisps. Works the hand pass to Markov under pressure. Gets it away to Sidebottom. Chips it out to Lipinski. He has it at left half back.
Lipinski looks in the centre square. His Pendlebury takes the mark. Wants to move it on quickly. He goes long. He looks for Mason Cox, the tallest man on the ground. Can't mark. Hits the deck. Hill's got it. Witherden's got him. Tackled. Upsays. He's legged. Free kick. Witherden slipped in the tackle, and as Hill tried to evade him, just grabbed his leg, couldn't escape, and in the end earns a free kick for the low tackle.
I'm really enjoying the use of Steele Sidebottom across half back.
Yep.
He's been deployed there. He's obviously a beautiful user left and right. He's had, 7 kicks, 1 handball. He sets up so much attack off half back, so I've really enjoyed his placement in the back half.
Zach Tui with us on ABC Sport. 0437 774 774, the SMS. As Bobby Hill from right on the blue paint of the 50-metre arc. His drop punt won't get there. It's across the goal face. Richards marks next to the behind post. And Joe Richards, the school teacher out of Wangaratta, is going to get his second look at the sticks. Same pocket of the ground, but a little closer to goal here.
Good jump and grab, wasn't it, for a little bloke? Well done. I'm not sure who was manning him, though. That'll be the question in the replay review for Monday or Tuesday.
He's had to wait for his opportunity. The 24-year-old out to his left. He misses near side. So he's hit the post and are behind to the near side for Joe Richards. He's been busy in this opening term. He's up to 7 disposals in his first quarter of AFL footy. Sunday football on ABC Sport. Collingwood by 21.
They get the last 4 goals, Collingwood. They've also kicked the last 4 behinds as the kick from Duggan up towards halfback. Bailey Williams flying in the pack. It spills the way of Markov. He's locked up as Jack Darling lays the tackle. Collingwood by 21 points, 4-4-28 to the Eagles 1-1-7. Tossed in the air. Bailey Williams wins down the tap towards the boundary line, and Harley Reid, he can't keep it in play. And a throw in. So Scott Pendlebury leads the way with 10 disposals, 9 for Duggan. Jack Crisp has 9, and Ruben Jimby with 6 as well. But both Crisp and Jimby are yet to hit a target.
You're kidding. Okay.
So the pressure coming early in this clash at Docklands. As it's thrown back in, Cameron in front position against Bailey Williams. Knocks it down to Nick Dacos on the move. Couldn't take it cleanly. Cameron puts a slipper in there, gets it forward to Harrison. He's tackled by Jaden Hunt and holding the ball. And the Eagles wingman will win the free kick at left half back. Collingwood by 21 points.
They are different kind of players, but Reid and Dacos are spending a bit of time against each other at the stoppages.
It's great, isn't it?
It's awesome. It's as advertised. We hoped it would be the number 1 pick from last year. Probably the guy who's produced the best 55 games we've seen in the last 20 years in Nick Dacos. And obviously coming off another indelible moment last week against the Blues. Hunt gets the free kick, goes long to centre-half forward. Darling competes, no mark, hits the deck. Centre-half back, side-bottom, sweeping hand pass to Joe Richards. Possession number 8 in his first quarter of footy. Kicks wide to Cox, who takes the mark for the Magpies. Plays on, hand pass to Nick Dacos. He gets to high half forward, kicks inside 50. McInnes the target in front of him, Duggan. And the Eagles captain's got it at fullback. Collingwood by 21 late in the opening term.
Duggan out to Harley Reid, who takes the mark at left half back. Possession number 6 coming up for the number 1 draft pick. So goes short to Hunt, who turns and comes inboard to Sheed. At left half back, Collingwood by 21 points. Sheed surveys the options, decides to chip it back to McGovern. Still inside the defensive 50. He's going to go wide to Witherden. So closing in on quarter time, the Eagles perhaps happy to just put it in the books, although Harley Reid drops a comfortable mark. Richards now lays the tackle, has to knock it out. Nick Dacos gathers, swings back into the corridor. Is there one last chance? A centering ball looking for Bobby Hill. Not before the siren sounds for quarter time. Collingwood 4-4-28 to the West Coast Eagles 1-1-7. After the Eagles get the opening goal of the match through Marriage, Collingwood with the next 4 through Lipinski, Howe, Dacos and McRae. Jess Webster on the boundary.
Yeah, bad news down here on the Pies bench with Harvey Harrison going down the race with the assistance of the trainers. Couldn't put any weight on his right ankle. So no doubt that'll get looked at quarter time. And also for West Coast, Brady Hoff went down the race as well moments before quarter time with the doctors as well. So a couple of injury concerns down here for both of these teams.
No good at all for Harvey Harrison and Brady Hoff. Appreciate that, Jess. Harrison actually made his debut against the Eagles the last time these two teams met. The key matchup we're looking for, Nick Dacos, 9 disposals in that opening term and a goal. Harley Reid has had 7 touches for West Coast, 3 of them contested so far, and he's taken a couple of marks and a few inside 50s, including one spectacular mark here on the broadcast wing in front of us. So 9 for Nick Dacos, 7 for Harley Reid. And the 2 guys on debut, Tyrell Dewar for West Coast. He's been involved in a couple of little things here and there and been in and around the footy. He's had just the 1 touch in that opening quarter. And at 24 years of age, Joe Richards finally gets his opportunity. The school teacher out of Wangaratta, 8 disposals. And he's had 2 shots at goal for 2 behinds in that opening quarter. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Zach Toohey coming up. This is Sunday Footy on ABC Sport.
Hi there, Lisa Miller here. Isn't it great to get outside for a breath of fresh air? It's one of life's simple pleasures, right? Well, I can help you to keep something else simple too. Finding news you can trust. You can stay in the know with ABC News. Download the app and receive alerts to your phone. Visit the ABC News website. And for stories straight to your inbox, subscribe to one of our newsletters. It's all the latest, all verified, all the time. Stay in the know with ABC News.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Looks inside 50, not a bad pass. As he pierces the kick inside 50. And the mark is taken. Second-year Eagle, Ryan Marriage, picked up in the mid-season draft last year. Out to the left, he'll kick from just inside 50 for the dream start for the West Coast Eagles. That's a beautiful kick off the boot.
Boy from Northern who takes the mark, looks inside the forward 50. Half volley pick up for Lipinski, gets into a bit of space and snaps the reply for the Magpies. A goal each after 4 minutes.
McInnes tries to get a hand pass forward. Hot for the Eagles, spinning out of traffic. Bobby Hill lays the tackle. This might be prior opportunity. And the Collingwood fans are cheering. Holding the ball is paid. Jeremy Howe and Bobby Hill laid the tackle. It's Jeremy Howe in his new life as a forward, looking to make the perfect start as he kicks his first and Collingwood second.
Out of the middle, Nick Dacos puts on the Jets. The three to natural. He kicks it from outside 50.
Gathered by McInnes, he's tackled once more. A centering ball to McRae. Not 15. Yes, it is. He takes the mark. In his 16th game in his 4th year as a Magpie, looking for just his second goal, and Finn McRae steers it straight through the middle for Collingwood's 4.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
The Big Birds kicked the first goal of the game, but it's Collingwood who have kicked the last 4. So Collingwood leading the West Coast Eagles 4-4 to 1-1. A 21-point advantage for the Magpies at quarter time. Mother's Day doubleheader later today. It is Adelaide and Brisbane, which shapes as an early season elimination final. Big game for both teams. We'll have them both covered on ABC Sport today. The thoughts of the Richmond champ, Brett Delidio, and the current... former Geelong defender, I feel like it's almost now Geelong utility, sort of playing a little bit all over the ground. Zach Toohey with us on ABC Sport.
Yeah, it's probably about where I thought the game would be. It's been relatively free-flowing there, Zach. What's the tackles numbers there, Corby? If you can read them out quickly for me.
18 to 13, West Coast way.
Yeah, not too bad. I thought it might have been a little bit more open than that again, but you know, the ease at which Collingwood have been able to get their goals at times has probably been disappointing from a West Coast point of view. They just haven't been able to capitalise on their inside 50 work. I don't think the Eagles, they're getting enough of the ball, but most of it's centre back, and then the ability of Collingwood with Maynard Moore down there, Frampton as well, their ability just to turn it over and go back the other way. Sidebottom, who you mentioned, Zach, that you said he's giving, it just doesn't allow West Coast to set up defensively, and therefore the ease is just going, their transition has been so much better.
Yeah, and exactly the opposite happens when it lives in West Coast back half. It gives Collingwood a chance to set up defensively, and they're a great defensive side anyway. But with sides like West Coast that have been a possession type team that like to use the ball, that can become really challenging when the ball is in your back half for extended period of time, because you get Moore and you get Maynard and you get all these guys setting up really strongly behind the ball. And it just kind of snowballs, so it's threatening to turn into a Collingwood game here.
It is concerning, as you mentioned, Clinchy, Crispy and Jim B. We're on watch there for kicking efficiency with those two boys, still at 0%.
Well, I know you like to analyse these sort of things, so the players are getting a lot of disposals but don't exactly damage with them.
Yeah, and it's probably a little bit unfair, that stat at times, because you can win clearance and get it forward for your team, but it might be marked off the opposition where your forwards are caught out of position. But Zach and I were just talking off air before about how easy it is from up here on level 2 or 3, and why aren't these boys hitting their targets? And you could be asking the same thing of Jack Crisp and Ruben Jinby at the moment, but they're certainly working pretty hard for their team at the moment.
The Pies might have made their sub. We'll go down to Jess in a moment.
AFL Sunday on ABC Sport. Early concern for Harrison, and Hoff has just told us a short time ago. We'll get an update there as Nick Dacos, hand pass away towards Crisp. First clearance of the second half, put it on the chest of McInnes, couldn't trap it. Ball spills out, hand pass away towards half forward. It's taken by Bartel, who's fresh on the ground, kicks out towards Josh Dacos, can't mark. Spills down the Eagles' way as Chesser gives a hand pass to Duggan, kicks out to the wing, Ryan caught at the back. Pendlebury wins it back. Hand pass away to Sidebottom. Kicks back into the forward pocket for the Magpies. Hoskin Elliott keeps his feet, shakes McGovern, puts it to the top of the goal square. Cox is there. Punched away by Hunt. Still alive footy. Nick Dacos in the goal square. Needs to get back to his feet. He's run down and caught holding the ball. Free kick for the Eagles and Tommy Cole to get it at fullback. Jess Webster on the boundary.
It is carnage down here on both of the benches. So Collingwood has activated its sub. Jeremy Howe has come out of this game. He's got ice on his right groin. And Harvey Harrison also hasn't re-emerged from the rooms with that ankle injury. So the Pies are 2 down. Jack Bartel comes in for his club debut. Also, Jack Petrocelli for West Coast. He tried to test out his ankle late in that first quarter. And he's now off on the bench with ice on that right ankle. And he just gave a handshake to Harvey Johnson, who's come in as the sub. So lots happening down here, guys.
Jeez, Jess, a lot to try and keep across. You're doing well there. As Maynard has it for Collingwood. Kicks inside 50. Alex Witherden sudden at the high ball. And despite the late challenge of Bobby Hill, he's able to take the mark in the right back pocket Collingwood by 21 points, 4-4-28 to the West Coast Eagles 1-1-7. Did you get all that, Corby?
That Collingwood forward line is up Bermuda Triangle at the moment, so they lose Schultz through suspension, Myercheck, McCreary, Elliott last week. Howe goes forward this week and it's got a groin injury. He's out of the game in the first quarter.
Harris chips it out to the back pocket where Duggan takes the mark. So the Eagles trying to find an avenue forward. Chesser has it at left half back. Liam Ryan, the only player on the field not to have touched the footy. As Chesser kicks a high ball up towards Bailey Williams. He flies in the pack, can't come down with it. Pendlebury gathers, hand pass to Sidebottom. Just got away from the lunging Darling. Kicks inside 50, McInnes the target. McGovern almost juggled the mark for the West Coast Eagles. Richards latches onto him. McGovern tries to knock it clear. Now Chesser has to lay the tackle as Richards is on the bottom of the pack. And a ball up in the right forward pocket for the Magpies. Not a bad start from Joe Richards. 8 disposals. Had a couple of shots on goal, but looking for his first goal.
Both subs are in by Tal and Johnston. Ankle injury for Petruccelli, subbed out, groin injury for Jeremy Howe, and concern for Harrison. From the restart, Nick Dacos, first clean touch, hand pass back inboard, but picked up by Jeremy McGovern, still inside the defensive 50, kicks out wide for West Coast. Ryan, the target, slips past him and slides out of bounds. Half forward for Collingwood will have a boundary throw in. So 3 fit players on the bench at the moment for Collingwood. And both subs used early, just repeating Jack Vitale on club debut today, the former Saint. Had his jumper presented to him yesterday by one Luke Ball, member of our commentary team. Of course, another former Sainter to make good at Collingwood.
Bailey Williams wins down the tap for the Eagles. Reid gets a hand pass forward to Tom Sheed, who was taken high by Darcy Cameron. The tackle over the shoulder as he was losing his footing. Tom Sheed will take the free kick into the middle of the ground. He kicks for Jaden Hunt. Takes the mark just to the left of the centre circles. Can chip a ball over the top to Duggan. In the middle of Docklands, he turns to his right and then swings back onto his left. Drives it long towards, well, in the end, it's Jack Williams and Darling. And Jack Williams has been able to hang on to the mark. He got a little bit of contact from his own teammate, but marks pretty much 10 metres out directly in front.
It was a good catch in the end, wasn't it? Yeah, real direct play there from West Coast. They didn't muck around, just going chipping sideways. They held on to the footy, which was good. They built the ball up, but then once they got into that centre corridor, it's like, righto, let's hit the hot spot. Him and Jack Darling could have raffled it just about.
3 goals last week against the Bombers. For the third-year Eagle, looking for West Coast second. Comes in from point-blank range. The umpire shuffles a fair way to his left, but the all-clear is given. And Jack Williams gives the West Coast Eagles their second. They're 2-1-13 to Collingwood 4-4-28. Their first goal since the opening goal of the match. 4 minutes gone, second quarter on ABC Sport. You with Brett Delidio and Zach Toohey.
Yeah, I think West Coast need to have a look at that as a template going forward. So build it up to a certain point and then try and get it in quick. Try and catch some of the Collingwood defence, maybe out of position. I think from the back half they might consider maybe almost playing for stoppages up the ground. I know that sounds a bit negative, but you gain territory and you get the defence on the back foot. But that was an excellent passage of play. Got the ball inside, went deep, and once the footy goes deep, anything can happen.
Against a pretty good opponent in Darcy Moore too. Just shifted him off the line. Sticky mitts, like it.
Out of East Fremantle, Rossbourne Jr. and Jack Williams. His opportunity now in the big time in game number 18. Nice catch and a good goal. Back in the middle, here's his namesake Bailey Williams. Wins the hit out, no clean take in the middle. In the end, Crisp just sockers it to centre half forward. Richards clean, hand pass to Finn McRae. Finishes on the run, and Collingwood an immediate answer. And Joe Richards is having quite a day on debut. McRae's kicked a couple. And how about that for a bit of work for the 24-year-old in his first game? Little awkward half volley, scooped it up.
Brilliant.
Feeds it to the goal kicker on the run. Collingwood back out by 21. 5 gone in the second. 5-4-34. West Coast 2-1-13. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Well, I don't usually go to the text machine, Corby, but we got one from Andy from Wodonga, and he said that there's plenty of raw country talent like Richards up there in the Ovens and Murray. 100%, that is so true. Not just the Ovens and Murray, but the Goulburn Valley, the Murray League where I played yesterday. There's plenty of young guys out there still that can make their mark if they're willing to apply their trade. Joe Richards is just one. We saw that. We've seen the way he started. It's been brilliant.
Even 37-year-olds playing for Tongala.
Yeah, well, might be able to get down there at North, maybe.
Getting 30-plus and kicking goals.
Just for the love of the game. Back in the middle of the ground, Darcy Cameron tries to win down the tap and then follow up his ruck work. It's Bailey Williams who's over the top of the footy. Eventually it came clear to Harley Reid, but not before the umpire had blown his whistle.
I'd last as long as Jeremy Howe did today, I think.
Thrown up in the air, the two rucks tangle. Bailey Williams wins down the tap. Crisp is onto it. Reed tries to lay the tackle. Spills out to Duggan. Crisp wrestles it away from him. Hand pass away to Josh Dacos. Out at right half forward. Drives a long kick inside 50. McGuinness gave up front spot. Rocktham spoiled it down. And Barris works a hand pass out to Chesser. In the back pocket. Witherden tries to thread the needle up towards Duggan. Sidebottom makes the spoil and it goes out of play. At right half forward for the Magpies. Collingwood by 21 points. 7 minutes gone, second quarter on ABC Sport.
It's a good pickup, Zach, I reckon, with Sidebottom down off half-back. He's found his feet down there and looked really, really comfortable.
Jeremy Howe subbed out with a groin injury. Jack Petruccelli with an ankle concern, both at quarter time. And Harvey Harrison, also hurt on the Collingwood bench, hasn't returned after going down the rooms with a bit of a hitch in his giddy-up just before quarter time from the boundary throw-in. We're going to have a ball up here. Umpire Nathan Williamson looked like he was circling to play, holding the ball, but a stoppage half forward for the Magpies. Cameron grabs it out of the ruck for the Pies. A little hand pass looking for Nick Dacos, slips through to Ginbey. He extracts it, hand pass to Reed, stands up in the tackle, got it out for the Eagles, still loose footy, half back for West Coast. Cripps knocks it away towards Ginbey, hand pass away to Edwards, he gives it back to Ginbey, kicks down the wing, Darling the target, punched away by Frampton, ball hits the deck. Tyrell Jewett left it behind. Hand pass back into dispute. Noble extracts it. Hand pass to Markov. He's caught and tackled. Now Duggan. Gee, it's a tough footy at the moment. Hand pass and turnover. Sidebottom bangs it back down the wing for Collingwood.
Bouncing ball. Richard shoved out of it by Witherden. Plays on is the call. The Eagles half-back gathers. Kicks around his body. Up towards Tua, who takes the mark at left half forward. Took a step off his line and was called to play on. So he swings onto his right-hand side. Long kick inside 50. Darling tangling with Maynard, and Frampton takes the mark. Well positioned in front of those two. Braden Maynard giving a good show, given the size difference against Jack Darling. As he swings it out, and here's Bytel on club debut for Collingwood. The sub into the action, gets the hand pass away to Noble. Kicks up the broadcast wing. And Jack Crisp takes the mark. Collingwood by 21 points. 9 minutes gone, second quarter on ABC Sport.
The AFL's Iron Man as he sends it down to half forward. Barris leaps up, can't take the mark. Spills down West Coast way, fighting through the tackle as Hoff got a hand pass away, but Collingwood quickly work it forward. Here's Richards, centre half forward, hand pass to McRae, handball to Bobby Hill, tried to knock it on. Didn't quite work out. Witherden collects, he's tackled. Hand pass back to Edwards, handball to Bailey Williams. Just kicks it out of the defensive arc. Lipinski favoured by it. Had his run blocked, and he's getting a free kick. High half forward for the Magpies. Front on contact. Going against Jaden Hunt. So Lipinski, who kicked Collingwood's first goal, comes wide. 5-4-34 Collingwood to West Coast 2-1-13. 21-point lead for the Pies. And Jack Bytel marks. Tries to measure the kick into the pocket. That is superb. Hits the lead of Bobby Hill. It was a crowded forward 50. And of course, Bobby found some space. And marks left half forward, pressed up against the boundary line.
Yeah, beautifully disguised kick. He's an impossible player to defend at the best of times, but when a player can shape right and kick it left, it's just such an uncomfortable position for any defender to be, much less when you're playing on the Norm Smith medalist.
Who's your common matchup when you play Collingwood if you're in the back half?
I haven't been in the back half in a little while, but I will get somebody like Elliott or one of the more smaller types.
Zach Tui on ABC Sport. This is Bobby Hill, the Norm Smith medalist, right to the goal line, and the goalpost left rattling after Tommy Barris goes clattering into it. The ball's through for a behind. Jess Webster on the boundary.
Confirmation from the Pies that Harvey Harrison is done for the day with an ankle injury. So the Pies are playing with the player down since quarter time, with Jeremy Howe also out with a groin injury.
Thanks, Jess. It's been a busy half an hour on the bench with so much action taking place. McGovern brings the Eagles straight down the middle. Bailey Williams flies, had a good piece of it, just couldn't quite hang on to it. A chance for Frampton, spins out of the tackle from Kelly, kicks up towards half forward, no one there for Collingwood. And Witherden takes the intercepting mark for the West Coast Eagles. Short to Kelly, who marks just in front of the AFL logo on the broadcast side. Looks up towards half forward. Harley Reid sets himself. Darcy Cameron in front. And the Collingwood ruckman takes the mark. Reid having a rest at full forward. Cameron has it at left half back with Collingwood by 22. Inside the defensive 50 to Darcy Moore. Kicks out to Sidebottom in the right back pocket. He looks up and has Hoskin Elliott centre wing. Goes shorter than that. And Josh Dacos takes the mark at right half back.
Best and fairest in a premiership year, Josh Dacos. He was one of the great accolades in the game, the club's best player in a banner season. As Dacos, Josh kicks down the wing. Hoskin Elliott bounces off his chest. Duggan whacks it back in dispute. Clean Nick Dacos through traffic on a hand pass out to McRae. Lifts a handball to Sullivan. Waits for a runner alongside him. Gives it to McRae. He can handball it a little out wide to Richards. Goes back inside to Nick Dacos. On the run, his kick is across the goal face and misses. Putting in a mountain of work again, Nick Dacos. What a start he's had. He's up to 14 disposals, 1 goal, 1. And Collingwood, their lead increases by 1, up to 23 points the Magpies' way, 12 gone in the second.
If you're a young bloke here watching Nick Dacos and his work rate, that was incredible. From the wing to then put the hammer down to get there to be a shot on goal option. Unbelievable.
McGovern thread the needle through the middle of the ground. Cripps gets involved for a second time. Works it to half forward. Dewar on the run from 48. And Darling lets it go through. His first goal in AFL footy. The Kalgoorlie product. The Category B rookie who comes from the West Coast Eagles Academy kicks a crucial goal in the second quarter. Just as the Magpies were looming to extend the lead once more, it's pulled back to 17 points Collingwood's way. 5-6-36 to the Eagles, 3-1-19. 12 minutes gone, second quarter on ABC Sport. Nothing like that, Zach Tui. Your first goal in AFL footy.
Yeah, big win for the Eagles. That's a bit of a spirit lifter. I could see Darling wrestling with his inner full forward when he had to let that one drift through, but hopefully that's the pick-me-up the Eagles need to really get a bit of a run on here.
Jess Webster on the boundary.
Guys, I'm not really sure what's going on with Tim Kelly today, but he's just gone down the race and swapped his shorts again. So in the first quarter, he changed his pair of shorts because they looked to be a size or two too big, and now he's just gone and gotten into a fresh pair. So I don't know what's going on there, but sitting on the bench with a third pair of shorts on for the day.
There you go. That's highly unusual. It's been an unusual day already. Injuries galore. Harrison an ankle, Howe a groin, Petruccelli an ankle. The two debutants with some involvement already. Joe Richards had plenty of it, and now Tyrell Dewar has kicked his first goal with a more exclusive club, with his second kick in AFL footy. As Sullivan gets a hand pass away to McRae, kicks out wide to Richards. Beautiful weighted hand pass to Nick Dacos. Waxes with big brother Josh. Gives it back to Nick. 70 out at half forward. Kicks him board to McRae. And they're queuing up here, the Pies. McRae's got it 49 metres out. And he's already kicked 2. And he's just going to lay it up to the top of the goal square. Leaping up, Barris can't complete the mark. Hand pass to Alex Witherden. His hand pass away towards McGovern and now to Duggan. Long kick over to the wing, but picked off by Maynard. Takes the intercept mark for Collingwood. Pies by 17. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. 14 gone in the second term.
Right, Maynard veers out to the left, drives a long kick as far as he can into the direction of McGuinness. The Eagles are well set. McGovern can't take the mark. Cole trying to break through the tackle of Richards. Umpire will ball it up in the right forward pocket for Collingwood. Mason Cox makes his way down to do the ruck work against Jack Williams. Flicks it over the back. Trying to link up with Sullivan as he lays the tackle on Reid. And holding the ball, he couldn't get away with it in the nick of time. And Lockie Sullivan will be rewarded for his tackle in the right forward pocket. Had a great debut last week against the Blues. Fancy that playing in front of just under 90,000.
It's always going to be that fine balance with Harley, isn't it? That ability to break and shrug tackles versus giving it off the quick hands, the sharp hands. I think he'll learn that balance with time and experience. But early on, I mean, you've got to test that boundary, don't you?
Having toiled away at the VFL, here he is on the big stage. As Sullivan comes in from the right forward pocket, and he has a second goal in as many games. Collingwood back out to a 23-point advantage. 6-6-42 to the West Coast Eagles, 3-1-19. 16 minutes gone in the second term on ABC Sport. You were Brett Delidio and Zach Tui.
It speaks volumes for the Collingwood program. I think their ability to bring in guys and have them play a role. Now, I get it that it's a softer target today in West Coast and where they're at, so it allows guys like Sullivan and Joe Richards to play well against some lesser opponents, I think, without being disrespectful to West Coast. But they've come in and really shown us their class and what they're able to offer. But I love the story of toiling for so many years and then getting your opportunity. You know, I think that's just great perseverance and something that I really admire for a young bloke in Lockie Sullivan.
26-year-old in his second game, and you got Joe Richards, who's a 24-year-old in his first game. Both in this same team today for Collingwood. Back in the middle, 23-point lead for the Pies. Cox wins it down. Crisp is held without it.
50. Can't pick it up, Timmy Kelly, and drop it.
Tim Kelly collected, as Brett said, the loose footy. didn't return that. It is amazing how many of these we've seen in the competition in recent weeks.
Yeah.
It's almost like a rule that the collective playing group's just forgotten, Zach, in recent weeks.
Yeah, a bit of mental fatigue setting in with the physical fatigue, I think. New shorts.
Margaret off the SMS too from Melbourne. Great to hear Zach Tui in the comms box. Best Tash in the competition. Had a bit of a showdown from Oleg Markov for a while, but you've original on the best.
It's not how I viewed it. Yeah, I thought it was clear, but
Jack Crisp, the AFL's Iron Man, drives through a goal. And Collingwood are out to a new game high. The Pies by 29 points. 17 gone in the second term. 7-6-48. West Coast 3-1-19. Pies by 29 points. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Well, it was the original and the best, and it's held true as Markov has come and gone.
yeah, it is. I've been more consistent, and it's clearly the most exciting and defining characteristic of my personality, so it's not going anywhere.
Don't undersell yourself, Zach.
Nah. I'll tell you what I have enjoyed is the turnaround in form from Jack Crisp after he was made the sub a couple of weeks ago against the Lions. Had maybe a down game 3 or 4 ago, but since then he's been injected into the midfield and been a real bull in there for them. What's he had? 15 today already, 1 goal, 1. Kicking efficiency slowly creeping up there, Clinchy.
That'll help.
That'll help.
Yes. 3 goals to 2, Collingwood's way in this second quarter. Mason Cox wins down the tap to Crisp. He's tackled as he got a hand pass. A little kick forward to McRae. Hand pass comes out to Pendlebury. Kicks inside 50. Darcy Cameron gathers. Hand pass to McRae to Richards. Swings onto his right. This time, Joe puts it through. From Wangaratta to the big time. And every Collingwood player comes from him to celebrate with Joe Richards, a 24-year-old mature age recruit. And the Black and White Army enjoyed that. Collingwood with the last 3 goals in quick succession to blow it out to a 35-point advantage. 8-6-54 to the West Coast Eagles, 3-1-19. He had 2 shots in the opening quarter from the pocket. This time on the run, threaded the needle.
Incredibly happy for young Joey Richards. No one happier than Stevie Johnson here in the box next to us. He lives up in Wangaratta. He was pumping his fist. But how clean have the Collingwood boys been at ground level? Their ability to pick it up off their bootlaces, flick it off to a runner going past. Even big Darcy Cameron there just grabbing one out of the air. Really sharp hands to the runners. Finn McRae involved again. Well done, young fella. Good to get on the scoreboard. Love it.
Former school teacher, there'll be kids in Wangaratta thinking, oh, there's Mr. Richards on the TV and he's rolling in, kicking goals on AFL debut. What an afternoon it's been for him already. 35 points, Collingwood's lead. Bailey Williams gets the clearance for West Coast, kicks out to half forward. Quain Orr competes there with Johnston. Ball hits the deck and side bottom cleans it up to his fellow veteran Pendlebury. Hand pass to Crisp. That is a bullet. Kicks a dart onto the chest of Hoskin Elliott. Hand pass to Finn McRae. Looks into the pocket. Bobby Hill the target. The Eagles with the numbers and they work it out as McGovern gives a hand pass away to Hoff. Shakes a tackle. Hand pass back to McGovern. Against the boundary line, sends the big birds down the wing. Quain Orr leaps up, hands on it, spills to Johnston. He's tackled, dispossessed. Kelly working his way through traffic, got it to Darling. Handball to Hunt, dangerous hand pass inside. Pendlebury's got it, Jimby's got him. The ball up on the wing. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Pies by 35 points as we tick into time on in the second quarter.
Tossed up in the air. Mason Cox in a tangle with Bailey Williams. Cox comfortably wins it down, but a free kick over the shoulder going against Bailey Williams. He's making his case that Heath had caught one into the face as well. But the American will take it with the white glove on the right hand. Trademark goggles now, and the black socks up. The Texan, he wanted to, on first impression, give the hand pass around the back to Quain Orr, but Johnston was away to that. So Cox is going to have to kick up towards Darcy Cameron at half forward. McGovern flies, can't come down with a mark. Crisp at a best, trying to knock it forward for Collingwood. Jimby was surely tackled in of the footy. It spills out to Hoskin Elliott. Hand pass out to Richards. Hard against the boundary. A centering ball looking for a target. Sullivan brought it down. A chance still for Bobby Hill. With it and lace. The tackle, it's over the shoulder. And Bobby Hill will get the free kick in the left forward pocket. As the West Coast Eagles player, Joe McGovern, down behind the play as well. And all of a sudden, Collingwood starting to get on top in this second quarter. A chance for Bobby Hill to make it 5 goals to 2 in this second quarter.
It's been carnage today. That was a contest with Darcy Cameron and another Albany lad. Shout out to everyone down there. It looks like he's going to be okay. Jeremy McGovern back on his feet.
As Joe Richards comes from the field. A round of applause from the Collingwood fans at Docklands. Bobby Hill, the Norm Smith medalist, looking to get on the action. Hill comes in, pokes it through from 25 metres out. In his usual celebration, Bobby Hill and Collingwood stretch it as wide as it's been. A 41-point lead, 9-6-60 to the West Coast Eagles, 3-1-19. 21 minutes gone, second quarter on ABC Sport. Brett Delidio and Zach Tui are with you.
You mentioned it already, Brett. I'm super impressed with just how clean the Collingwood players have been. Quick hands, they're hitting their targets by hand, they're picking up half volleys on the ground. Stoppages, they're hitting the footy at pace and taking it really cleanly. And right now, amongst quite a few things, I guess, but that to me is what's standing out most.
Yep.
And when you are that clean, it can actually cover up a lot of cracks in terms of your skill use. They've also been excellent in terms of their skill use, but the ones that haven't hit, they're just finding a way to make it work. It's devastating the West Coast defence at the minute.
That's 4 goals in 6 minutes for Collingwood.
The Governor's hit the bench now. He's pretty sore after that landing. We'll get Jess to keep an eye on him. Back in the middle, Harley Reid knocks it to his own advantage, then tackles Cox. Ball comes out. Jimby's hand pass swatted down by Nick Dacos. Collingwood win it back edge of the square to Crisp. The 1-2 with Noble, and Crisp with pace through the middle of Docklands. Kicks for Hoskin. Elliott leaps up. He's got the juggled mark. First hands on it. Shook Rotham. Completes the mark. And Hoskin Elliott can try and poke through another. This would be 5 unanswered for Collingwood.
Yeah, again, just to highlight what Zach was just talking about, Nick Dacos knocks the ball down, picks it up off his toes, handball to Chris coming through, 1-2. Just opens up the field so much. Very little that a defender can do.
Had 11 goal kickers last week. The spread good again today as Hoskin Elliott misses near side. So kicked 9 goals. They've had 8 different goal kickers. And we're only 23 minutes into the second term. The Magpies 9-7-61, West Coast 3-1-19. 42-point lead for Collingwood.
That's one way to solve your problems when you're missing a couple of key contributors in the forward 50. Witherden's long kick out of defence for the Eagles. Darling and Cox fly. Mason brings it down to the ground level. Nick Dacos' hand pass back. This is by Tell, and it goes out of play in front of him and Dom Sheed.
Teams love that stuff, don't they? Spread of goal kickers and everyone gets a lick of the ice cream. And
hard to defend.
Yeah.
Collingwood by 42 points. Liam Ryan in his third game back, yet to touch the footy. 23 minutes gone in this second quarter. Thrown back in. Cox in front position against Bailey Williams. It clears both. Noble onto it for Collingwood. Hand pass to side bottom centre wing. Swings onto his left-hand side. Looks inside 50. McGuinness the target. Coming in from the side. Hoskin Elliott knocked it away from Witherden. Gathered by Cameron. Hand pass to Nick Dacos. Hand pass intercepted. Rotham shovels out a hand pass. It comes out Witherden's way. Under pressure. Hoff trying to bring it back into play, but Collingwood regather. Hoskin Elliott drives it long. McGuinness is underneath it, and he'll take the mark. Despite the late lunging of Rotham, Reece McGuinness marks directly in front. He's no more than 10 metres out.
Yeah, it's just great continual pressure, isn't it? And then it becomes the perceived pressure, the inability for West Coast just to calm themselves and find that target to take the heat out of it. Collingwood just sniffing every opportunity, and McInnes gets the easy one out the back.
In his 16th AFL game, looking to join the growing list of goal kickers, and Reece McGuinness has his first. 9 individual goal kickers for the Magpies in their 10 goals. 10-7-67 to the West Coast Eagles, 3-1-19. 25 minutes gone in this second quarter. The Pies have put on 6 goals to 2. Brett Delidio and Zach Tui with you on ABC Sport.
It's always going to be a concern if you're a West Coast supporter, player or coaching member when you see names like Nick Dacos, Pendlebury, Sidebottom all at the top of the stat sheet. All beautiful users, all position themselves expertly around stoppages. Sidebottom is sitting right behind the stoppage in that free half-back role, and he's just carving them up at the minute. But this is it's impressive to watch.
I've also been impressed with Finn McRae. You can add that to the list in this quarter in particular. He's had the 9 touches. Just his clean hands have been first class. Up there with Nick Dacos, Jack Crisp at the moment in this quarter.
4 ends from last week. McRae, McInnes, Bytel, Richards. They've all had a bit to do, and McInnes on the board now. As Clinchy said, becoming their 9th individual goal kicker. Jimby spun around in the middle. Hand pass goes to Nick Dacos again. First Collingwood touch in the centre square. To Cameron, to Pendlebury by hand. Pendlebury kicks out to Richards. He's got it 70 out. Great kick inside 50. And McRae marks. Left half forward, about 45 out.
How class was that? I mean, one for Pendlebury to be able to step out of traffic in the middle of the ground. But Joe Richards, that ability to go left and right just makes you so much more of a creative player. You're not just limited to banging it on your boot and getting it down into the pocket. Opens up the whole field. Finn Macrae found himself in a heap of space.
Finn Macrae trained the house down in the pre-season, struggled for opportunities. He gets a look today and he's kicked 3. And we're not even halfway through. A goal assist for Joe Richards, who's having a day on debut in Collingwood. It's party time already. They're 9 goals in front. 11-7-73. The West Coast Eagles 3-1-19. 27 minutes into the second term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Corbin Middlemass and Matt Clinch calling the action. Zach Toohey and Brett Delidio in the experts chair. And Jess Webster is on the boundary. Jess.
Jeremy McGovern has returned to the field for the Eagles, so he just appeared a bit winded in that marking contest a few moments ago, and they did check out his ribs as well, but no damage there, and he's back out onto the field, which is good news for the Eagles.
Well, that is good for the Eagles. They need all the defensive stocks they can get. So we've had a bit of a dirty weekend in terms of scores, haven't we? And this one doesn't look like it's getting any better.
So that's 6 goals in about 12 minutes for Collingwood as they've fully taken control here at Docklands. Tap came down the way of Nick Dacos, trying to get a clearance. He's now the tackler on Chester. Bailey Williams is dragged down, turns it over. Pendlebury kicks inside 50. McInnes on the lead. He marks in the left forward pocket. Not much the West Coast Eagles defence can do when it's streaming out of the centre like that.
You're probably a good person to ask, Zach. You look at these guys that come in and they got them all from different areas, mature age pickups, guys signed over the off-season. How much of it is shrewd recruiting that you've got to identify the talent, and how much of it is you're just part of such a good system that the guys come in and immediately their development skyrockets? I'll come back to you after this kick.
Reef McInnes has one already in this second quarter. Getting his opportunity in this round 9 fixture. Comes in from 48 metres out and just drags it left. A minor score. Collingwood by 55. Zach?
It's a bit of both. It's always a bit of both. It's always a great reflection on the coaching staff when you can turn players from different codes into, really talented AFL players. But shrewd recruiting and excellent coaching can turn even players as average as me into career AFL players.
McGovern goes wide to Rotham. Rotham goes long down the wing. Off hands, it spills through to Frampton to the Pies. Hand pass inboard to Sullivan. Little spin move from Lipinski. Turns into further trouble. Duggan's got him holding the ball. Maxwell Liam Duggan will get the free kick at halfback for West Coast.
What about the experienced players and having some of the best players there to learn off? I think that's huge, and that's something where I think we're lacking that at North Melbourne at the moment. That must play a huge part as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, younger players have time to develop. There's sometimes a rush to get them into the side, but the senior guys teach you how to win.
Duggan to Rotham, kicks down the wing, spills through to Cripps, hand pass away to Ryan, one of their premiership Eagles, runs out of room.
That was his first touch, and it got taken off him.
Yeah, still on the donut so far, unfortunately, for Liam Ryan.
If that was me, I would have been flicking that straight away just to make sure I'm...
That's experience.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right.
Boundary throw in between wing and half forward. Third game back, Liam Ryan. Nice to see him back, but a little rusty since his return as we tick towards half-time. Collingwood by 35 points. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
To be fair, they've kicked 2 goals from their 4 inside 50s in this quarter at West Coast. Collingwood have had 21 for their 7 goals. Scott Pendlebury combines with Nick Dacos once more. They're having some fun. Hand pass to Cameron, back to Nick Dacos, to Macrae, ridden into the turf in the back. And a free kick against Liam Duggan. Collingwood will take it centre wing on the broadcast side. The Magpies by 55 points, 11-8-74 to the Eagles 3-1-19. Having led by 21 points at quarter time. Macrae goes short to Sidebottom, looks up inside 50, floating across McGovern, takes the mark. Got good support from Duggan. Jeremy McGovern, having seen off that heavy contact a few moments ago, takes the kick at right half back. Looks up towards Liam Ryan, who sets himself. Can't clear over the top of Cameron. Has to spoil it down. Spills out the way of Jack Williams. Gets a hand pass to Hunt around the boundary line. Hand pass to Cripps. Works it forward to Duggan. Had Hunt back inboard, trying to get a hand pass back to him. Bounces off him. Darcy Moore lays the tackle. And Liam Duggan wasn't sliding past him. The Collingwood captain with a statement tackle. And locks the ball up at right half forward for the West Coast Eagles. Collingwood by 55.
Keep the last 6 goals to the game, the Magpies. Half forward for West Coast. Bailey Williams wins the hit out, but down to Lipinski. Sweeps a hand pass back into traffic. Harley Reid gets his arms free. Hand pass away towards Duggan. His kick smothered and turned over. As Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos rather, receives the footy from Sullivan, and hand pass goes out of bounds. Boundary throw in here. Same spot. Still at half forward, Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Zach Toohey and Brett Delidio, our experts. Jess Webster on the boundary. Corbin Middlemas and Matt Clinch calling the footy. A heap of injuries in the first half. We'll update you on those in just a moment. From the throw-in, Cameron wins the hit out down towards Hunt. Hurried kick inside the forward 50. Clean bowled a couple. And Frampton ends up with it full-back for Collingwood. Hand pass to Maynard at half-back, to Lipinski, to Nick Dacos. Almost run down by Reid. Pendlebury doesn't bend down. The old man just sockers it forward to Joe Richards, who collects. And he's bumped by McGovern right on the bell. And in the end, he went over his teammate in McRae, who was standing behind him. Almost like the schoolyard trick, only that one wasn't intended. And Richards hits the deck hard, and McGovern gets a little bit of push and shove for his troubles, just making sure Richards earned that right on the stroke of half-time. Collingwood 11-8-74, West Coast 3-1-19.
It's a bit of remonstration, but what else do you want him to do? He's a bigger bloke, and Joe Richards, only little, was right on the siren.
Yeah, I don't think it was late, was it?
Nah, please.
All okay? Would have been play on if it was.
Yeah, exactly right.
A huge round of applause, as you'd expect, for the Magpie Army. What a quarter of footy. They're playing for a spot in the top 8 for the first time in their premiership defence. And they've completely burnt off the West Coast Eagles in the back end of that quarter. They ended up kicking 6 goals in the space of 13 minutes. So from the 16-minute mark to the 27-minute mark, the Magpies went from 17 in front to 55 on top. Half-time at Docklands, Collingwood 11-8-74. The Big Birds from the West Coast 3-1-19. 9 different goal kickers. Finlay McRae has 3. He kicked only 1 goal in his previous 15 games. He's got 3.5 of footy. And then singles down the page for Lipinski, Hill, Crisp, McInnes, Richards, Sullivan, Nick Dacos and Jeremy Howe. Meanwhile, for the West Coast Eagles, 1 each for Jack Williams, Ryan Marrick and Tyrell Dewar, who is on debut today, the 20-year-old out of Kalgoorlie. The injury front was carnage either side of quarter time. So Jack Petrocelli subbed out with an ankle complaint. Harvey Johnston in for West Coast. For Collingwood, Jeremy Howe subbed out with a groin injury. Jack Bartel in on club debut for the Magpies, the former Saint. And at the same time, Harvey Harrison, his day was over early at quarter time with an ankle complaint. So the Magpies down to 3 fit bodies on the bench, and West Coast losing Petrocelli in that opening quarter. All right, half-time at Docklands, Collingwood by 55 points. The thoughts of our ABC Sport experts, the Richmond champ Brett Delidio and the Geelong footballer Zach Toohey, good enough to join us. Having a little spell this week, been managed, freshened up, ready to go for your trip to Darwin later in the week. Here are their thoughts on that first half.
Yeah, it's all been a little bit downhill, Zach, hasn't it? Collingwood have just controlled every facet of the game. Their ability to win it at stoppage, clearance numbers. What does that say? It is there 24-11 in terms of their clearances, and the inside 50s at the moment. What does that say? 36-13? Is that what that's
right?
36-13. That's a smashing.
They had 4 in that second quarter. West Coast maybe one late. 5-22 in that second quarter.
Wow. Yeah, and it makes it so hard for, the West Coast forwards to get involved, but the West Coast defenders are just out on their feet because there's little to no pressure coming from the West Coast midfield, which makes it really hard on them to either set up aggressive or to get any sort of control on the game. Now, I get that you want to try and get as many minutes into your young players. You know, we're talking about Jimby and Reid going through the midfield. You know, the lot falls back onto Tim Kelly being in there as well. Dom Sheed a little bit as well. But, geez, you just think if we're getting smashed 24-11 in terms of clearances, maybe we just need to go back shoulder here and just try and keep it in tight and make a bit more of a scrap. But Collingwood have just been so clean, so sharp with their hands that they're getting out the front of stoppage and then it's just open slather.
Yeah, it looks exactly like Collingwood would have wanted this to look coming into the game. Their key and prime movers are getting their hands on the footy. They're getting it out into space and they just look so skillful and so clean. But you're right, West Coast, I mean, look, it's hard to arrest the problem right now, but you would have to go to maybe trying to make a little bit more of a dogfight inside, maybe stick an extra number around the ball and try and just make it a bit of a territory game. Like, it doesn't have to be pretty, but try and gain territory and play it a little bit more in your front half. And with some of the personnel that have gone out of the game, you would like to think maybe Collingwood might start to fatigue later in the game, but the problem is probably too significant at this point for that to really factor in.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. It's not like they're not trying, because we've seen numbers like this before, Cor, where a smashing in the disposals. I think Collingwood's plus 67. but then they've been out-tackled as well. That's not the case. West Coast have had 32 to Collingwood's 27. You make a case for Collingwood not having that many because they just got the footy. You know, you can't tackle yourself. I used to tell Dimmer that a little bit too when I had zeros after a game. It didn't really go down too well. But
would have been a regular conversation, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's right. Not in front of all the young boys. But look, it's a hard one because they're just lacking experience right across each line. I think the Eagles, and they're in a development phase, whereas Collingwood, they're sitting pretty. Yes, they've got some debutants and some young players playing, but they're a well-oiled machine that we expect to be right there when the whips are cracking at the pointy end.
One of the conversations Adam Simpson might have is around the goals Collingwood have scored from centre bounce clearances, which, Zach, has become a common occurrence in 2024 footy with a 6.66, but it's when you have some of your most senior players. Obviously, Harley Reid is a first-year player, but Collingwood have really exploited that.
Yeah, they have, but that is the area of the game that is kind of most vulnerable. When one team is on top in the middle, you can't stick an extra, you can't roll a forward up and play an extra inside in the stoppage. You can't squeeze your forwards up and your backs on either side of the stoppage to try and congest it. So when a team is on top, that can be the most difficult part to stop. And right now, the way Collingwood are getting out, with guys like Pendlebury shrugging tackles, finding space, Dacos on the outside, it's just so hard for the West Coast defence to stop those ones. I would be maybe looking more at the stoppages in play around the ground and trying to figure out what you might be able to do with those.
Nick Dacos in that half, 22 disposals, kicked a goal. We talked a lot about him and Harley Reid. It feels like there's been so much hype around Harley and what an amazing start as there should be to his career, and everyone's saying, is it the best 7-8 games of footy since when, and throwing out names like Judd and all these guys from 20 years ago. And I'm sure Nick Dacos will be sitting there thinking, hang on, I've just put together 55 games. I was the best player in the comp last year until I got injured. Stars in a premiership team. And has 22 here in the first half, so making sure he's getting his today. Harley Reid with 9 disposals in that half. He did take a beautiful mark in the first half. Half-time at Docklands, a 55-point lead for Collingwood over the West Coast Eagles. We'll talk to you about how the Cats are going in just a moment, Zach, and get your thoughts on the start of the season. But match up with Brett Delidio, did you two ever get the chance to play on each other head-to-head?
I'm sure we played against each other. I'm not sure at that stage of my career I was putting my hand up to play on prime Brett Delidio, but I'm sure our paths must have crossed at some stage.
It would have been very much, you go your way, I'll go my way.
Handshake at the start of the game.
And I'll see at the end. We're playing on the wings or with half forward, half back. He'd allow me to roll up to the back of stoppage, get my hands on it. I'd kick it straight back to where he was. He'd get it. Probably one of those,
What did you say earlier when I said, have you ever played against Zach?
What did I say?
Yeah.
I don't know. What did I say?
He said, we would have. Mutual respect.
So. No, exactly right. No, it was because, mate, you respect people that have played well in excess of 200, 250 games. Like, it's you don't do that if you're a spud, do you? So
powering towards 300.
Oh, exactly.
A little round the corner, 276 and counting for our man Zach Tui. Great to have him with us on ABC Sport. Collingwood by 55 points. Second half action not far away, and we'll chat to Zach about the Cats as well. But first, let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
ABC News, I'm Ali Crew. The federal government will pledge to open another 29 urgent care clinics across the country in this week's budget, but GPs say the money should be spent elsewhere. Here's political reporter Monty Boville.
There are already 58 of the clinics across the country, and an extra $227 million will be spent to take that number to 87. But the Royal Australian College of GPs says it's a misguided investment, arguing the government should be boosting investment in general practice care. Federal Health Minister Mark Butler says he respectfully disagrees, saying the clinics are integral to taking pressure off hospital emergency departments.
I've never really been very clear why they are opposed to this really important program.
The locations of the new clinics will be announced in coming weeks.
The federal Greens have welcomed the government's decision to ban live sheep exports, but say the end date is too far away. Federal Agriculture Minister Murray Watt announced yesterday the live sheep export industry will officially end on the 1st of May 2028. Greens Senator Maureen Faruqi says the ban is a win for whistleblowers, animal welfare organisations and the Greens. However, she also says the 2028 end date means sheep will continue to suffer and die for another 4 years, and she wants the federal government to bring the ban forward. Israel says it's pressing ahead with plans to destroy what it claims are Hamas's last remaining units in Gaza. The head of the European Council, Charles Michel, has condemned Israel evacuation orders issued to Palestinian citizens of Rafah in southern Gaza. Israel says about 300,000 Palestinians have left Rafah since Monday. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari says the military operation must continue.
So far, we've eliminated dozens of terrorists in the eastern part of Rafah. We've repeated the temporary evacuation of the population in several other parts of eastern Rafah, which are close to the area of combat.
Dozens of students at a university in the US state of Virginia have walked out of their graduation ceremony, partly over a speaker's response to campus protests about the war in Gaza. Social media posts show Virginia Commonwealth University students in caps and gowns leaving as Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin speaks. Many student protesters in the US are demanding their universities financially cut ties from Israel over the war. More than 2,000 have been arrested since the protests began in mid-April. The United Nations World Food Programme says at least 300 people have been killed in flash floods in northern Afghanistan. The BBC's Charles Haviland reports.
Friday's downpours sent rivers of water and mud crashing through villages and across farmland. Saturday saw survivors picking through muddy streets and damaged buildings. Some areas are cut off, and one aid group is speaking of a major humanitarian emergency. Parts of northern, northeastern and western Afghanistan have all been affected. Funerals have been held for victims whose homes were swept away in the torrent. The World Health Organization says many people have been left homeless and water supplies are severely disrupted.
Canadian authorities have issued an evacuation alert in an area of British Columbia which is under threat from a wildfire. The blaze began in Fort Nelson on Friday and has been described by officials as exhibiting extreme fire behaviour. The Canadian government has warned the country faces a catastrophic wildfire season with higher than normal spring and summer temperatures forecast across much of the country. An Australian Eurovision fan says protesters at the event in Sweden have been respectful. Switzerland's Nemo won with the song The Code, with Croatia's Baby Lasagna winning second place, and Ukraine, France and Israel also making the top 5. Police estimate around 8,000 protesters attended rallies in the host city Malmo over Israel's participation in the event and its war in Gaza. Alfie Tew is in Malmo and says he hasn't witnessed any trouble.
I would say that the protesters were respectful. There was a huge police presence. I certainly didn't see any violence, and I certainly understand that the protesters are angry about Israel being a participant in this contest.
To sport, reigning NRL premiers Penrith have been dealt a major blow with star Nathan Cleary ruled out for 2 months with a hamstring injury. The muscle has been troubling the halfback for most of the season. He is now unlikely to feature for New South Wales in the upcoming State of Origin series. And you're now up to date with the latest from ABC News. For more, download the ABC Listen app.
It's the most magical time of the year, right? Footy season. This season you can get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. Unbelievable. AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered. Every goal, try, mark and tackle, called by ABC Sports expert commentary team.
A wonderful goal! Game, set, bingo!
100% pure footy, live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Both subs are in by Talon Johnston. Ankle injury for Petruccelli, subbed out, groin injury for Jeremy Howe, concern for Harrison. Centre-half forward, Richards clean, hand pass to Finn McRae, finishes on the run, and Collingwood, an immediate answer. And Joe Richards is having quite a day on debut.
Confirmation from the Pies that Harvey Harrison is done for the day with an ankle injury, so the Pies are playing with the player down since quarter time, with Jeremy Howe also out with a groin injury.
Cripps gets involved for a second time, works at the half forward. Dewar on the run from 48, and Darling lets it go through. His first goal in AFL footy. Hand pass to McRae to Richards, swings onto his right. This time, Joe puts it through from Wangarun into the big time. And every Collingwood player come to celebrate with Joe Richards, a 24-year-old mature age recruit. A chance still for Bobby Hill. With it and lays the tackle. It's over the shoulder. Bobby Hill, the Norm Smith medalist, looking to get on the action. Hill comes in, pokes it through from 25 metres out.
He's got it 70 out. Great kick inside 50. And McRae marks. Left half forward, about 45 out. Turned the house down in the pre-season, struggled for opportunities. He gets a look today and he's kicked 3. And we're not even halfway through.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
They've kicked the last half dozen in the game. The reigning premiers, it is Collingwood by 55 points at half-time. The Magpies 11-8-74. And West Coast Eagles 3-1-19. Corbin Middlemass alongside Matt Clinch, Jess Webster on the boundary. Zach Toohey from the Cats and the Richmond champ Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. Your thoughts off the SMS 0437 774 774. Hi guys, listening from a tiny town called Cardona in northern Spain. Go the Pies from Cheryl. Thanks Cheryl, nice to hear from you. I think it's from Darren. Enjoying Zach Toohey's comments on the craft of footy and his wit as well. Markov's Tash has got the drop on him though. Go the Pies.
Nonsense. I was enjoying that comment until the last bit.
Stan from the Man Cave in Victoria. G'day boys. Quietly confident, however not pumping the air until the fat lady sings. Enjoy the call. Pendles is the black and white fog just floats through. So appreciate that, Stan. He's had plenty of it again today from Fran in Melbourne. Hi team, enjoying the call. Go those Pies, get the percentage points. Happy Mother's Day. Absolutely. We extend our best wishes to all the mums out there. Happy Mother's Day wherever you may be tuned in to us across the network here on ABC Sport. First of 2 games today, it's Adelaide and Brisbane to follow. We'll have them both covered here on ABC Sport. Given we have you with us, Zach, it was an unbelievable start to the season for the Cats, 7-0. Now you've dropped a couple in succession. You were watching on Friday night. Have you got all back together since that defeat yet? And I guess what was the post-mortem on it all?
No, we haven't had a review or anything like that yet. It's a pretty short turnaround into our Darwin trip, but I would say it's still a pretty positive start to the year. And look, it was a frustrating watch, certainly early in the Port Adelaide game, but they're a quality side as well. And while there are things we would have liked to have done better, it hasn't really changed my outlook on the season. I would think it probably hasn't changed the outlook of many of our supporters. But it's a win-loss sort of game, and I'm sure some people are starting to question, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, you've been managed, I think, twice already in the first...
3 times.
3 times?
Just how old I am, yeah.
Is there any further concerns we should be worried about, or are you all okay fitness-wise?
No, I'm fine fitness-wise. I'm feeling pretty good. I am recovering slightly slower than maybe I used to, but Geelong have done this really well for a long period of time, and the longer I hang around, the more frequently I'm going to be asked to kind of rest, and a little bit most of it is with an eye towards the end of the season, but a lot of it is that we have 30 plus guys that we are genuinely happy for any of them to play, and that's a really good position to be in, and being so positive on the ledger maybe means you can be a little bit more cautious with some senior players.
So how much of that is your decision and how much of that is with the medical staff and the coach?
I can tell you none of it is my decision. I don't think Scotty would mind me saying that. Absolutely none of it is my decision, but no, look, I've warmed to the idea. It's not. I've prided myself for a long time on just kind of rolling up and playing every week, and I've been pretty good with injuries. I haven't missed too many games, but no, the truth is it does aid me a lot in terms of how good I feel when I come back. So I've just had to toe the company line here and do as I'm told.
And we'll see you on Thursday?
You'll see me on Thursday.
Beautiful.
What can you tell us about Tom Hawkins, given that he joined Joel Selwood with that milestone that we don't know, or some of our listeners might not know?
He's an exceptional golfer. I think that's fairly well documented. He's gotten very close to scratch before. I'm not sure exactly what he's at the minute, but he's a club legend. He's a generational talent. He's one of the all-time great guys. Anybody who's dealt with him will tell you he's just kind of a good country kid. But I've had the pleasure of playing with some real top guys, Selwood, Dangerfield, Judd. He's right at the top of that list. He's even better than I think people realise he is, and I think everybody realises he's pretty good.
I heard the angriest he's ever been on the field is when an opposition player once called him a hobby farmer.
Well, he is. Him and Stanley, 2 fake farmers. Yeah, but that cuts them real deep.
And have you got a little academy of Irish players coming down to Geelong? Are you getting a cut for... Lids might have to talk to you post-game about this, about trying to recruit more talented footballers from the Gaelic game into our game?
We've got a few girls and a few guys for both our team and the W team, which is great to see. We're like mice. If you see one of us, you can be sure there's two more under the couch.
Gee,
He might work you out of a gig, Lids. He's got some good humour.
O'Shea Mullen was excellent the other night.
He's going to be something really special. He's a superstar back home, and he's starting to turn into something really special here.
I was about to say, they tell me he was like the Nick Dacos of Gaelic footy.
That was taken out of context. That was one of my quotes. That was absolutely taken out of context, but he's very, very good back home.
Well, looks much better with a haircut, though.
You reckon?
Give him that feedback.
Looks like a Fabio, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Doesn't look like him.
He's a rooster.
He is exceptional.
He lives with Ollie Henry, or does he not live with Ollie anymore?
I think he might have moved out. His partner's moved over.
Zach Tui, we're very lucky to have him with us on ABC Sport alongside Brett Delidio. Corbin Middlemass and Matt Clinch calling the footy. Jess Webster on the boundary. It's Sunday footy on ABC Sport. The Pies lead the Eagles by 55. Here's Matt Clinch.
Cameron and Bailey Williams. Cameron wins down the tap for Collingwood over the back to Josh Dacos. Hand pass out to Sullivan. Between wing and half forward. Looks up inside 50. Lipinski chose not to fly in the end. And Alex Witherden takes the mark for the West Coast Eagles in the right back pocket. Collingwood by 55 points. After booting 7 goals to 2 in the second quarter. Now on Tim Kelly watch as well. He's had some challenges with his shorts, as Jesh told us. Just the 4 disposals to half-time. There's a chance for Harley Reid, trying to link up with Chesser across the boundary line, and a throw in at left half forward for the Magpies.
Tough sledding for the Eagles today. No Elliot Yeo, who of course is their leading contested possession player, twice at best and fairest, once in a premiership year, and Jake Waterman also missing. Man, they've been calling Plugger Waterman. He's kicked 24 goals already this year, but not there today, unfortunately, for West Coast. From the boundary throw-in, Tim Kelly, their reigning BNF winner. Hand pass out towards Hunt. He kicks too wide out on the full. Collingwood will get it back. The first goal of the game, West Coast. They've kicked only 2 since, and Collingwood have driven through 11 at the other end. There's the premiership skipper, Darcy Moore, between wing and half back. He kicks down the wing, City side. Barris up in front, takes a strong mark. And Tommy Barris with the footy just backward of the wing for West Coast in a black armband today for the late Cam McCarthy.
Hand pass to Widden, to Hunt, to Duggan, tackled. Surely almost holding the ball as Nick Dacos laid the tackle. Spills out to Edwards, little topo. Finn McRae fires a hand pass forward. Witherden stands in the middle. He's bumped into by Lipinski. Gets the hand pass back. One way then the other. As Rotham decides to switch it across half-back. Hoff's underneath it. Richards worked him out of it. Brings it down to ground level. Hoskinelli onto it. McInnes is out the back. He'll mark in the right forward pocket. Only about 5 metres out from goal. And the Magpies make West Coast pay from a poor turnover across half-back. A chance to put through their 12th goal of the match. McInnes just has to work the angle here. He'll step out, snap on his left and curl it through for his second goal of the match. Collingwood continue on as they finished the first half. 12-8-80 to the West Coast Eagles, 3-1-19. 2 minutes gone, third quarter on ABC Sport.
Yeah, you're right, Clinchy. They have continued on, which is a concern for Adam Simpson. They just look really unsure as to what they're going to do or what they want to do with the footy, especially around the middle of the ground. There's a couple of hesitant handballs, and then even Barras with that kick across goal, he was like, or across the ground. Wasn't sure whether he wanted to fully commit to that switch or not. That hung it up in the air. Well done by Joe Richards just to create that contest. And Hoskin Elliott spotted the free Reef McInnes out the back. Easy kick over the top, easy finish.
Umpire Nathan Williamson about to restart plays. One of 3 of the 4 umpires out there today that are doing their second game of the weekend. So big workload spread across our umpiring fraternity as West Coast get a quick break out of the middle. It's Duggan who hacks it into the forward pocket. Tyrell Jewe's out there along with Moore, and in the end Jewe the more telling touch, but it ends up out of play. And a throw in the forward pocket. By the way, Tyrell Jewe, spelled D-E-W-A-R. His nickname is Dewa. So the boys call him Dewa, which has added all sorts of confusion.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought it was.
Yeah, when it comes to his debut, and everyone's thinking, is his name Jewe or is it Dewa? And
So the boys call him Dewa, but I am reliably informed by the club it is definitely Tyrell Dewar. So that's what we're rolling with on ABC Sport from the boundary throw-in. Kelly got a hand pass away to Reid, hand pass back to Kelly. He kicks Collingwood, great work Frampton, smothers the ball. Still live for West Coast. Marek close to the boundary line. He's going to keep it alive. Got a hand pass back to Edwards. His hand pass a turnover. And there's Nick Dacos again for Collingwood.
Switching play to Bytel, who had to take a tough mark with Jimby sweating on him and putting the physical presence there. Jess Webster on the boundary.
It's not looking good for Jeremy McGovern down here on the Eagles bench, guys. He has just gone down the race with the physio. He got winded in that second quarter, went back out onto the field, but he's just gone down into the rooms with the doctor to get further assessment on those ribs.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, didn't look all that comfortable as he left the field. Jack Bytel was looking to switch plays, changed back to the broadcast side and put it out on the full. And here is Tyrell Dewar on cue, and he's out to the left. A chance to kick his second goal, but this is as hard as it gets. Dewar starting amongst the West Coast Eagles fans in the front row as he tries to open up the angle. Has a go at it. It's not a bad effort as it drifts back late. And in the end, the mark is taken on the goal line by Darcy Cameron. Jack Darling frustrated that he couldn't make any physical contact there, and we are going to have a blood rule here. This is Jack Darling coming from the field. Collingwood by 61 points.
Goalless so far today, Jack Darling. You kick the three of them. He's coming your way, Jess. Jack Darling, I don't know if you've got a look at him from where you are.
Yeah, it looks like he's either got some blood coming from his nose or maybe just under his right eye, and there's plenty of it too, all over his shorts as well and down the front of his Guernsey, so he'll get patched up and checked out down here on the bench.
I'll have to borrow a pair of Tim Kelly shorts to get back out there as Collingwood work it up with a wing. Frampton takes a nice mark, got it from Maynard, kicks to centre half forward. Reef McInnes down there, clean bowls Barris, ball hits the deck, there's a free, it's coming back. It's a West Coast free as McInnes makes illegal contact on Josh Rotham. We'll take it for West Coast at half-back. Swings his kick along the half-back line. This is Johnston. Nice little fend-off. Oh, works his way around side-bottom as well. Hand pass up towards halfway for Edwards. Handball away to Dewar. In the bright green boots as he kicks all the way back, and Tommy Cole marks on the back flank for West Coast. Collingwood by 61 points, 6 minutes into the third quarter.
Cole goes back to Barris, who marks inside the defensive 50. We'll return it back to Cole at left half-back. Collingwood by 61 points. Out to Hoff, who marks at right half-back. Spent a portion of the first quarter off the field, but he's right to come back on and return. And Cole racking up the disposals as Hoff takes the mark once more at left half-back. West Coast are no closer to goal. As Hoff is called to play on, swings out to the right-hand side, looks to drive it long towards both Bailey Williams and Jack Williams. Neither can really take the mark, and in the end, Darcy Cameron, the Collingwood ruckman, is able to hang on to it as he marks at right half-back. Surveying into the corridor, nothing really on offer, so chips at boundary side, and John Noble takes the mark. Missed out, of course, on Collingwood's finals campaign. Up towards Mason Cox, can't take the mark, spoiled down from behind. Crispers onto it, looks boundary side. McInnes on the lead, great pass, couldn't hang on to it in the end. Richards gathers, hand pass back to McInnes on the left boot, kicks to McRae, spoiled away from him. Cole did well, Sullivan has it, tackled, had to get a hand pass clear, and Duggan clears for the Eagles.
Duggan kicks to Bailey Williams and Ryan, and in the end Bailey Williams clever. This was a human shield, kept Noble out of it as Ryan takes the mark and then cuts back inboard, kicks to centre half forward. Jack Williams skids through and takes it for the Eagles, still inside the centre square. Hand pass away to Witherden. Alex Witherden kicks inside 50, low down Marek, can't trap the footy, over the top comes Maynard, spoils, and Marek a little slow to get up. Josh Dacos, hand pass to Frampton, sweeping hand pass to Quaynor, and he lays it off to Lipinski on half-back.
He looks up the wing and puts it out in front of Hoskin. Elliott chase after that. Sliding in from the side, Barris gathers and runs away from McInnes. The Eagles defender chips it up the wing where Edwards takes the mark. He looks into the middle of the crowd. Not a great kick for Kelly or Ryan. Lands in between the two. Noble's on it. Good tackle as Kelly wins holding the ball. And from 52, he bangs it long to Marriage. Can't take the mark as Sidebottom got back to make the spoil. And it bounces into the left behind post to throw in with the Eagles deep in attack. Tim Kelly probably could have almost had the shot.
You probably would have liked to see him set sail for home. I think he was a bit cooked after a couple of efforts there in a row. Just trying to find Marek free.
Forward 50 stoppage for the Eagles. Bailey Williams wins it down. Reed's in the contest, but beaten for it by Cameron. Hand pass back to Cripps. His kick forward picked off by Moore. Hand pass to Josh Dacos. Gives it to Frampton. Kicks out to half-back for Collingwood. One-on-one there with Lipinski and Cole. Cole does well to trap it for the Eagles. Trying to hand it out towards Edwards. Ball comes back to Cole and a pack forms around him. We'll have a ball up between wing and half forward for West Coast. The Eagles to the locket end in this third quarter. Collingwood by 61 points, 9 gone in the third. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Adelaide and Brisbane to come. Of course, just the 2 games on Mother's Day to finish round 9. She tries to get the clearance for West Coast. Loses it though. Cameron, hand pass to Nick Dacos. Links up with Sullivan across half-back. Looks up to half-forward. McInnes has worked his way back to the goal mouth, although Rotham's dropped the mark. Now he's under the pump as Hoskin Elliott knocks it forward for Collingwood. McInnes is after it, up against Witherden. Witherden worked him underneath it. Gathers. Tackled by Lipinski. Hand pass to Edwards. Hand pass out to right half-back. Rotham shovels a hand pass forward. Cole now trying to find an option on half-back. Kicks up the wing and a good option in the end. Finds Jack Williams.
So Jack Williams goes short to Cripps. One of our 8 premiership Eagles out there. He looks into the forward pocket at full stretch. Reed couldn't reel it in and slips off his fingertips and out of play. The Tongala Oz kickers, by the way, Lids, were out there at halftime having a run around.
Well, I did see that. I saw that on the news during the week. They'd be pumped. We saw a large number of them out there yesterday supporting another Tawny export.
Harley Reid closely guarded by Quaynor. Forward 50 stoppage for the Eagles. One down by Bailey Williams to Sheed. He's tackled, lost it, and Sullivan hurried kick out of the defensive arc. Bouncing footy, rolls out of play, and the ump says spin it in on the city wing. So Collingwood 12-8-80, West Coast 3-1-19, 61-point lead for the Pies. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Just recapping either side at quarter time. Jeremy Howe, a groin injury. Harvey Harrison, an ankle, both out of the game. And Jack Petrocelli, an ankle for West Coast. So carnage early.
From the throw-in, Kelly inside 50. Harley Reid came leading out from the goal square. Darcy Moore gathers for Collingwood. Hand pass to Frampton, to Quaynor against the boundary, to Josh Dacos, to Maynard. Good hands from Collingwood. He kicks up to the wing. It bounces in front of Hoskin Elliott. Gathers in front of Rotham. Hand pass to Lipinski. Beautiful movement from the Pies. Links up with Nick Dacos. Looks into the middle of the ground. On the bounce for Richards. Great clean pick-up. Hand pass to Sullivan. Trying to get past Kelly. Almost brought him down. Hand pass to Noble. The lunging effort from Chris. John Noble misses to the left. They ran the gauntlet, Collingwood, from half-back through the middle of the ground and almost finished with a goal. And after having 9 goals in the second quarter, just the 1 so far in this third quarter. Collingwood by 62.
How are those hands from Joe Richards? Yeah. Wow, that was clean. I know he's not the biggest bloke, but you still got to do it, don't you?
I'll be pretty happy with that. Collingwood, their depth has been exposed in the last couple of weeks. Injury list growing, and yet been able to find a couple with Joe Richards. Very impressive on debut by Talley's club debut. McInnes, a couple of goals up front. Long kick down the wing from the Eagles. In the end, it spills down towards Moore. He puts Collingwood back inside 50 and right on cue. Here is Reef McInnes. And he's got his hands around it at centre half forward for Collingwood.
Yeah, just all the West Coast players just getting forward of that contest. Well done by Darcy Moore to spoil, but then to keep it in front. He just opened space once he got out and free. Clean leading path for Reef McInnes just to work into. This will take a good kick though. Kicking about 52, 53.
Haven't got all that many Collingwood on the injury list, and yet missing 5 or 6 guys from the same area of the ground up front. As Reef McInnes for his third, as it carried the line. It's there. McInnes has got 3. And we've waited 12 minutes for it. But Collingwood have been able to add their second goal of the term. 13 minutes into the third quarter. Collingwood 3, 13-9, 87. West Coast 3-1, 19. Collingwood out by 68 points. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
That's where you know things are going really bad. When you have a long shot on goal and you haven't got your tools or your backs on the line trying to spoil it through. An old teammate of mine, Ivan Maric, was massive on this sort of stuff. We'd be filthy if a ball got through like that or a mark was taken deep on the line. Not seeing any of those big key backs there putting their hand up to say that was touch. So
fair to say that should have been stopped. But
well, you could have taken a chest mark on the line if you were there, but that's just a work rate thing, an attention to detail thing that, you know, it's what the good teams do.
And that's a bit of regression for West Coast. We've seen them much better in recent weeks, but not a good moment.
Reece McInnes had 6 goals coming into today. He has 3 so far throughout this afternoon. Free kick for the West Coast Eagles. Imby takes the advantage and works it out to the wing. Jua marks centre wing. Looks up inside the 50. Marriage has already led, so he has to go wider still. Where the mark is taken by Harvey Johnston, the sub. And Jess Webster in a moment to get an update on Jeremy McGovern, who's been off the field for a while. Tries to kick into the pocket for Cripps and off hands. It's spoiled out of play by Billy Frampton. Jess, any sign of Jeremy McGovern down there?
No, he's still down in the rooms with the doctors. Better news, though, for Jack Darling. He's back out onto the field after getting that blood nose patched up.
McGovern landed heavily in a marking contest late in the second quarter. So problems for both teams on the injury front from the boundary throw-in. Maynard jams it on the boot in the end, kicks it across the half-back line. Witherden out after it along with Lipinski. Witherden knocks it away to Marrick. Hand pass goes back to Chesser. He shoots Collingwood but misses near side. And behind for Campbell Chesser. A boy from Lavington, speaking of the O&M League. Lavington Panthers. Yeah, I think they are. Yeah. It was their home ground we were at for the grand final last year.
Right, yep.
Looking forward to
Beautiful
going back.
Deck, that one.
Looking forward to going back, Lids. 14 minutes into the third term.
Darcy Moore kicks out of defence. Mason Cox was held.
Planted that seed early, haven't he?
I was going to say, it wasn't a definitive yes, as Noble kicks up towards the wing. Cameron can't take the mark. Richard sliding in, had his legs taken out, but Rotham was there first, and he'll win the free kick. So it comes inboard to Edwards, who can switch it across half-back. As Hoff takes the mark inside the defensive 50, looks out to Chesser, who's running hard out on the far wing. He marks it right half-back. Called to play on. Hoskin Elliott's not awake to that. So Chesser turns, it comes inboard. Imby marks at half-back. Chips it back to Edwards, but they're no closer to goal. Across the half-back line, from left half-back to right half-back, back to left half-back, and Tom Cole marks. Can he find an avenue forward? Works it up to Johnston. He's got Ryan in the pocket. He chips it to him just inside the 50. Just had a couple of disposals before half-time, but relatively quiet in his third game back. Having missed most of last season since round 3. Some footy love seeing Liam Ryan back to full strength. He looks for an option, being patient, kicks out towards Marriage. Frampton made the spoil. Sullivan for Collingwood. Hand pass to Pendlebury, and the Pies out of defence through Braden Maynard.
Maynard kicks up to the wing, and Hoskin Elliott has a paddock in front of him. He takes the mark and plays on. Collingwood out ahead of the footy. Goes long to Bobby Hill, and a one-on-one punched away from him. Bobby Hill keeps his feet. Defender goes down, and now Bobby Hill's down too. Tommy Cole says, come here, and lays a big tackle. Wins it back for West Coast at centre half back. Collingwood by 67 points, 16 gone in the third term. And that is not a scenario you want to be caught in as a defender, one-on-one with Bobby Hill inside 50, but the Eagles get out of it.
There's the confidence, though, of Will Hoskin just to kick it long and on his head.
Yeah.
The guy's 5'8".
What about the mindset of Hoff? Zach, who's thinking, I don't want to have a screamer taken on me, so I'm just going to make body contact here, and he can't fly.
Very smart.
As the kick comes up the wing for the West Coast Eagles. Jack Williams takes the mark, centre wing. So the Eagles managed 2 goals in the second quarter after just 1 in the first. 16 minutes gone the third term, chasing their first in this quarter. Kicks up towards Darling, had his run impeded by Frampton. He did so legally. No, illegally, says the umpire. So the non-officiating umpire in the pocket called it was all okay, and then the umpire in the middle said no, it's a free kick. They are, of course, all mic'd up, and Jack Darling, who has the nose patched up, he'll have to have this shot from out to the right, just inside 50.
Yeah, unfortunate there probably for Frampton. He was in front, but he saw his teammate. He did put his hands up, which is what I thought you had to do, but such was the carry-on from Jack Darling and the selling of it that the umpire bought it.
The 4-time leading goal kicker for the West Coast Eagles. They'd love one here, out to the right. Jack Darling comes in, strikes it from 45, and you can hear the Bronx cheer. Out to the right for a minor score. Never look near. Collingwood by 66 points.
It's been a great year for Jake Waterman, not so for Jack Darling. This is his 9th game. He's kicked only 8 goals so far for the year. I'm no maths major, but I think that's one less than one a game. As side bottom goes over to Noble, and he kicks out the half-back, and here's Richards. Slides in, takes the mark at half-back for Collingwood. Pies by 11 goals, and Joe Richards, 24-year-old on debut, He's had an outstanding day so far. Kicks down the wing to the tallest man on it as Cox leaps up, can't take the mark. Pack forms behind him and a ball up. As Jack Crisp just tackles Jack Williams. Sean Crisp, by the way, so 223rd consecutive game. He's about to go into second position on the all-time consecutive game streak. About to overtake Adam Uze in the coming weeks. He's got it again here, Crisp, and he hits up Bobby Hill. Impossible to stop there, leading out of the goal square. Like we see Charlie Cameron do so often for Brisbane, the small forward playing deep out of the goal square, and he hits up here and marks at centre-half forward.
Not bad. Like, it didn't hit a target with his first 4 kicks. He's absolutely lasered a few after that, Zach.
Back to his best.
And Brady Hoff as his boots right on the blue paint for the 50-metre arc. Bobby Hill arcs out to the right. He's got to kick it all at 55 metres. Has he got the trip? Oh, no. Touched right on the line. Tommy Barras getting back to save the day. Collingwood have kicked the last 8 goals in the game. They lead by 67 points as we tick into time on in the third quarter. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
With it an end to Harvey Johnson. He's kicked down low for Cole. He's got enough time to gather in front of Hoskin Elliott. He's back to Witherden, trying to find an angle out of defence. Kicks to Hoff. That's a good pass at right half back. Collingwood are well set though across the half back line. Braden Maynard is a loose, and so in the end he decides to kick wide for Cripps. Can't quite take the mark. Maynard spoiled late. He gathers the Collingwood defender and hacks the kick up the wing. Hoskin Elliott and Witherden race after it. Hoskin Elliott gathers. Hand pass looking for Lipinski, and Hoff takes it out of play. A boundary throw in at left half forward for Collingwood. The Pies by 67 points. 13-10-88 to West Coast 3-3-21. 20 minutes gone, third quarter on ABC Sport.
One for you off the SMS, Zach, coming up without giving too much away. Been a long season. How do players stay fresh, especially with injuries, etc.? This is a free kick here from the boundary throw-in. It's a West Coast free for a hold. It's coming to Bailey Williams. Short kick to Duggan. Best way to stay fresh?
For me, it's golf, but time away, life balance is key, and it's something our club in particular is very good at.
How's your handicap?
6 points.
Very tidy. Very tidy. As Duggan goes short to Tom Sheed, who's copying the jeers given the fact he was a premiership hero against their Magpies back in 2018. Off hands, it spills down to Pendlebury. Hand pass looking for Quaynor. Dispossessed by Ryan. The West Coast win it back. Hand pass to Bailey Williams. Handball to Dewar. Goes out wide by hand to Liam Ryan. Tight angle. Kicks goal when he hits the post. Gee, was a good effort from out there at right half forward to behind. 13-10 to 3-4. 21 gone in the third term. Collingwood by 11 goals. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
I'll be interested to see whether it stays at 6 once you finish.
I can tell you it's going down. I'm committing to it.
As John Noble brings Collingwood back into play, Maynard takes the mark. He can return it to Noble, who can play on. Runs away from Marriage and works it up to Sullivan. He takes the mark at left half back. Kicked a goal early in the match. And he's debuted last week just in front of 90,000 against the famous rival, the Navy Blues. And he works it up to Nick Dacos. Takes the mark. Position number 27 coming up for him. As he turns and comes inboard, Noble dropped the mark. Gathered by Marriage, he kicks looking for Dewar. He takes the mark, and did he play on? No, he just pulls up. And marks in the right forward pocket. An unusual skill error from John Noble just to drop the mark. And a chance for Tyrell Dewar to kick his second goal. He's had a couple of looks.
It's a good lesson there for anyone watching, either at home or here at the ground. Never turn your back on the game. I know he wants to kick the goal and have a shot, but he had an easy little pass or a handball even to Ryan Marrick and would have walked into just about the goal line.
From the Goldfields to Subiaco, a West Coast Eagles Academy player, kicking out to the right. Dewar comes in and misses to the right-hand side. Eagles still searching for their first goal of the second half. We're through 23 minutes. Collingwood by 65 points.
Mentioned Academy, a product out of West Coast. There's only 2 of them in the short existence of it. I think it's named the Nick Natanui Academy now, but Jared Cameron was the other one way back in 2019. So well done to Tyrell Dewar on debut today as Collingwood work it in wide towards Bytel. Hand pass away to Maynard. Kicks down the wing for the Pies. Hoskin Elliott flew, no mark, and then just tries to hack it forward off the deck. Cole does very well to trap it. He's been one of the Eagles' better players. Hand pass out to Chesser. Kicks down to half forward. Crips the target. Maynard knocks it away from him. Bytel Hand pass finds Maynard again on the wing for Collingwood City side. Threads a hand pass to McRae to Nick Dacos. Hand pass in the middle of the ground to Pendlebury.
Kicks out to Josh Dacos on the wing, takes the mark. Looking for options, finds his brother Nick, takes the mark. He's just short of half forward, looks into the pocket. Bobby Hill's on the run, makes body contact, coming back. Barris offered good support to Hoff and spoils it out of play. There's encouragement for Nick Dacos that it was the right idea. Out of play in the right forward pocket for Collingwood. 13-10-88 to the Eagles, 3-5-23. Sunday afternoon footy on ABC Sport. Thrown in, Mason Cox up against Bailey Williams, knocks it down to Bobby Hill. The king is smothered. Hoff did well once more. Sheeds hand pass, didn't clear the congestion. Hill threw his head back, he was taken high. And he won't be denied on this occasion in the right forward pocket. He's only around 25 metres out.
Hi team, good call and experts. I thought you had Ty Kennelly from Sydney in the box. It is great ABC Sport have a variety of people commentating on games. From Phil in Victoria.
Yeah, we do all sound alike, so that's fairly standard feedback.
Good man. Probably on us, the play-by-play callers, just to try and back announce you a little bit more often. As Bobby Hill has one already this afternoon from his 6 disposals. A chance to try and continue to add to the pain for the West Coast Eagles fans. Hill starts his approach. Beautiful set shot as he just steers it straight over the goal line by his hat. In celebration as he puts through his second, and Collingwood lead by 71 points. The biggest lead of the match so far, with 3 goals to none so far in this third quarter. 14-10-94 to the Eagles, 3-5-23. Dr. Lydio and Zach Tui are with you on ABC Sport.
It's going to be a difficult one, this, to finish for West Coast. It might be one of those situations which I've been involved in as a player where you might have to almost start the game from now, see what you can take from this game in the next kind of quarter and a bit. See what metrics you can top, but right now it just seems like there's a bit of a gulf between these two teams and where they're at, and Collingwood are finding more and more space as the game goes on, which is slightly concerning.
You and Mark, of course, both became the second and third Irish players to win an AFL premiership after Ty Kennelly. But you did beat his Swans. Did you still get a congratulatory message at least from Ty?
Begrudgingly afterwards. I didn't get any good luck messages before, I can tell you.
Jess Webster on the boundary. Jess.
Jeremy McGovern is done for the day for West Coast with that rib injury. They're concerned about an internal injury, so he'll take no further part in this contest.
Oh, it's no good at all. So dirty day for West Coast. Gets a little worse there. The Pies have kicked the last 9. Eagles going forward here. Darling, hand pass goes back to Kelly against the boundary line. Hand pass out in front of Marrick. He keeps it alive. Hand pass back to Darling. Right half forward, kicks back to the top of the goal square. Hands on it from Quain Orr, and Moore's there to lend a hand. Scoops it up for Collingwood. Hand pass to Noble. High bomb back out towards halfback. Doesn't clear the defensive 50. Bounces. It does now. Nick Dacos. All hand pass to Bartel. He's bumped front on by Jack Darling. Free kick and advantage applied. And Bartel's a little sore to get up. Collingwood streaming away with a footy through Sullivan. Heads down to half forward. Hoskin Elliott, clever. Just punches it on in favour of Hill. Kicks to the top of the goal square. Cox goes down. It's going to bounce through. Mark it down for Bobby Hill. The Norm Smith medalist has got 3, and Collingwood have kicked 10 unanswered goals in this game. The Magpies flying high at the moment, 15-10-100. The West Coast Eagles 3-5-23. The Pies by 77 points, 27 gone third turn.
Yeah, it was just a clever little knock-on, I reckon, a spoil from Will Hoskin Elliott. They just allowed that ball to not be marked by a West Coast player. They even allowed Bobby Hill to get out the back. Could have forgiven him for just running that all the way to the goal line pretty much, Zach. I think he had that much time and space, but unselfish is the young lad that he wanted to try and hit up the big fella, Big Cox.
I reckon Mason Cox might be joking just that comment. Next time, just go yourself.
Yeah, or hit it where I don't have to change direction, because once he did that, he was all at sea.
Hang on. Was there a touch on this?
Oh,
no. We're going back. A lunging effort on the goal line is going to deny Bobby Hill his third, so scratch it out in your record. If you're playing along, Jess Webster on the boundary, the margin is back to 72.
Injury concerns keep coming down here, guys. Jack Bartel's been brought to the bench by the physios and straight down to the race after that heavy collision a few moments ago.
That's going to be have ramifications for Darling too, so he'd want to hope Jack Bartel's okay.
Yes. The Eagles out of defence. Barris takes the market. Left half back, receives it from Edwards. Collingwood by 72 points. Do you feel like the arc works better, Zach, than it has in the past?
Yeah, it's functioning.
Good answer. Kicks up towards half forward. Bailey Williams flies in the pack. Kelly gathers. Front and centre. Gets the hand pass away to Duggan. Drives a long kick looking for Marriage. Getting back Markov. Did he impede front on? Play on's the call. Marriage gets the hand pass. Markov, I should say, gets the hand pass to Sidebottom. Kicks out to Sullivan, who marks in the left back pocket. And the siren sounds for three-quarter time. So that last goal scratched out for Bobby Hill. It was 9 consecutive goals for Collingwood from early in the second quarter through to three-quarter time. And the Magpies, having led by 21 points at quarter time, 55 points at half-time, lead by 72 at three-quarter time. 14-11-95 to the West Coast Eagles, 3-5-23. The Eagles held goalless in that third quarter. For the Magpies, 3 goals to Reef McGuinness, 3 goals to Finn McRae, making the most of their opportunities without Brodie Myercheck and Lockie Schultz. Unfortunately for Jeremy Howe, he didn't last the first quarter. Individuals for Lipinski, Crisp, Richards, Sullivan, Dacos, that's Nick and Howe. Meanwhile, for the West Coast Eagles, their goals have come through Dewar, Marriage and Williams.
It feels like the only thing longer than that goal kickers list may be the injury list at the moment for both teams, so stay with us. But Jeremy Howe, groin injury, subbed out at quarter time. Around the same stage of the game, Harvey Harrison hurt his ankle. His day was done. And now Jack Bytel was on the wrong end of a bump from Jack Darling that drew a free kick. The bump is very much been eradicated from the game. Caught Bytel high, and he's being looked at by the medical staff at the moment. So that will have MRO ramifications for Darling. And as I said, he'd want to hope that Bytel's okay. For the West Coast Eagles, Jack Petrocelli hurt his ankle in the opening quarter. He was subbed out at quarter time. And Jeremy McGovern flew for a ball up against fellow Albany draftee in Darcy Cameron from the same area in the south of WA. Landed heavily, so concerns about his ribs. We haven't really seen him after half-time at all. For the latest on all of that, Jess Webster's on the boundary. She's been busy today. Jess, what have you got for us?
Yeah, certainly all happening down here. Just a quick update on Jeremy McGovern. I have intel that he's been taken to hospital with a concern for that internal injury. So he did land really heavily, and when he was on the bench, they were sort of checking out his rib area, or sort of to the side of his body, and potentially around that area. As we know, like anything kind of around the kidney area can be quite dangerous as well. So the official word from the club is that it is an internal injury that they're worried about, and reports are that he's heading to hospital for further assessment.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate that, and not a good day for West Coast. They go goalless here in the third quarter. The thoughts of Zach Tui and Brett Delidio coming up. Collingwood by 12 goals at three-quarter time. This is Sunday Footy on ABC Sport.
Here's my top footy tip for the season. You can get your games live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. I know, right? AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever footy you're after, we've got you covered. Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sport's expert commentary team. This season on the home of 100% pure footy, the ABC Listen app.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2024 AFL season. Every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Brings it down to ground level. Hoskinelli onto it. McGuinness is out in the back. He'll mark in the right forward pocket. Only about 5 metres out from goal. He'll step out, snap on his left and curl it through for his second goal of the match. Collingwood continue on as they finish the first half.
More, he puts Collingwood back inside 50 and right on cue. Here is Reef McInnes. He's got his hands around it at centre-half forward for Collingwood. As Reef McInnes for his third. Has it carried the line? It's there. McInnes has got 3. And we've waited 12 minutes for it. But Collingwood have been able to add their second goal of the term.
Sheeds hand past it, clear the congestion. Hill threw his head back. He was taken high. And he won't be denied on this occasion in the right forward pocket. He's only around 25 metres out. Hill starts his approach. Beautiful set shot as he just steers it straight over the goal umpire's hat. In celebration as he puts through his second.
Jeremy McGovern is done for the day for West Coast with that rib injury. They're concerned about an internal injury, so he'll take no further part in this contest.
The 2024 AFL Premiership season.
On your radio.
ABC Sport Digital.
And on the ABC Listen app.
Collingwood by 12 goals at three-quarter time. One game to come to bring the curtain down on round 9. It is Adelaide and Brisbane from Adelaide Oval. Aaron Bryans heading up the call as
Corby, a high-stakes matchup to conclude round 9. We've got two sides who started 2024 with so much promise, and now both are battling to recover from slow starts. They're also both fresh off victories over their crosstown rivals. So Adelaide come into this afternoon unchanged after their 30-point victory in the showdown. Brisbane, meanwhile, had a lot of carnage in the Q Clash. They did win by 34 points, but now have 3 forced changes heading into this afternoon. So Darcy Gardner and Lincoln McCarthy both out with ACLs. Noah Ainsworth out with a concussion. Calamarchi and Jackson Pryor come in, as does the debutant Shadow Brain, the Noosa product from the Lions Academy. He's one of 13 kids in the Bryan family. He's the 11th of 13 siblings and averages 17 touches in the VFL. So really excited to see what he has to offer this afternoon for the Lions, who have a 7-day break coming into this one. Meanwhile, the Crows, that 10-day one after the Thursday night showdown. So the loser of this matchup, and I heard Cameron Ling on AFL Sunday early before, right off Brisbane if they do lose this, the loser will be 3 games out of the 8, sitting at 3 and 6. So it is a long season and there's a lot to play out still, but there's a lot on the line for these two sides who are desperate to force their way back towards the 8. We'll have Rod Jamieson and Josh Franco alongside me for the call, as will be Neil Cross and Liz Walsh. Looking forward to it, Corby. It's the Crows and the Lions coming up next on ABC Sport.
Likewise, I'll tune in on the way home, but a bit of big brain energy for the Brisbane Lions.
Oh, that's crispy, Corb.
Look forward to
well done, Aaron. You've really filled up that whole 3/4 time break, so we don't have to talk about that ho-hum quarter, Zach, which was... there wasn't a lot to talk about, was there, really? It was a pretty boring quarter.
What does Nick Dacos get for the match? He's got 30 so far.
Oh, I'd be surprised if he doesn't fill his boots here in this last. Minimum, I'm going to say 36.
Harley Reid, just the 11 touches. He had 7 of those in the opening term. He's running around after Nick Dacos here, and Nick Dacos gets the centre break, kicks to centre half forward, punched away from Hoskin Elliott. On the end of it, though, is Lipinski, high half forward, pokes it back inside 50, and here's Hoskin Elliott. Involved in the original contest, was punched away by Witherden. And then the entry again back inside the forward arc, and Hoskin Elliott's again at the drop.
Oh, I'm on Nick Dacos 40 watch. That's what I'm calling for, Zach. That's going to keep me entertained in this last quarter. But Will Hoskin Elliott, what's he had for the day there, Corb?
12 disposals.
Yeah, 12 disposals. I just feel like he's been so involved as a almost quasi centre half forward, giving him great coverage across the half forward line.
Right half forward, Will Hoskin Elliott, drop punt, sails goalward. Misses. Way behind. It's a high draft pick too. Will Hoskin Elliott went pick 4 overall. Did your paths ever cross, or he's already gone by the time you got to GWS?
Well, yeah, I was like
5th in the night.
Yeah, he left because I came.
Collingwood by 73 points, 1 minute into the final term.
He has had 6 score involvements, Will Hoskin Elliott. Pat Lipinski leads away with 9 for Collingwood as Dom Sheed takes them out. The Pies fans haven't missed him tonight, getting their revenge from the 2018 winner. Up towards the wing, Darling spoils it down, Harley Reid keeps it alive, turns and comes inboard. Jimby takes the mark, right half back for the West Coast Eagles. Collingwood by 73 points, around the back to Reid, into the middle of the crowd, great pass. He finds Cripps in the middle of Dockland, swings onto his right hand side, kicks for Ryan, backpedaling, great pass. And Darcy Moore was playing 5 to 10 metres off, and there was no chance he was getting back in time.
It was a nice kick, wasn't it, inside the one from Reid initially to Jinby, and then the follow-up one again. But if you're Collingwood, you're probably not that upset. I mean, you've defended that reasonably well, and it's a shot from pretty wide, a tough shot.
5 disposals this afternoon for Liam Ryan. Just the 1 goal in his return as he comes in, deep in the right forward pocket, and that is pure class.
Sorry.
As he just steers it straight through the major opening. And after a run of 9 consecutive goals for the Magpies, the West Coast Eagles have their 4th. 4-5-29 to Collingwood, 14-12-96. The West Coast Eagles with their first goal since the 4-minute mark of the second quarter comes at the 2-minute mark of the final term. Brett Delidio and Zach Tui with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, you talk about these kind of small wins that you want to get in a game like this if you're West Coast, and Reid on the boundary shrugs a tackle. We talked about that already being one of his obvious strengths. Hits a kick, follows up. That second kick was exceptional, and I reckon he was even flirting with the idea of trying to get forward and get that handball receive again. But look, it's one of the little wins that they can kind of put in the bag and take home with them, you know, after what's been a pretty sort of dirty night.
Zach Tui on ABC Sport. Of course, round 10 starts just on Thursday night. We'll have all the coverage from up in Darwin, and Zach will be back out there on the park as the Cats take on the Gold Coast Suns, who have made that a little fortress of their own in recent times. So don't have to wait too long with the Thursday night starts. Only 3 days without footy and then straight back into it. It'll Ball up in the middle of the Docklands here. When do you get up there, Zach? Do you go any earlier to try and acclimatise?
Tuesday, I believe, we head off.
That's a bit earlier than usual, or usual?
Yeah, a day earlier.
Yep. Free kick here. It's going Collingwood's way as a hurried kick forward, and Hoskin Elliott was being held on to. Lipinski, little handball to Jack Crisp, who was able to kick it forward, and now Hoskin Elliott's getting the footy 55 out centre half forward. Doesn't have the trip in him. Tries to kick it inside 50, kicks it straight into Harley Reid. Deflects back into the middle of the ground. Noble's got it, tackled by Cripps, and we'll have a ball up in the middle of Docklands Stadium. It is Collingwood by 67 points, 4 minutes into the final term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
Toss in the air, Cameron and Bailey Williams. Cameron wins down the tap. Lipinski can't gather. Cripps knocks it on for the West Coast Eagles, trying to link up with Edwards. Harley Reid just soccers it forward. It's gathered by Quaynor though. Great pickup from the Collingwood defender. Hand pass to Lipinski, to Pendlebury, over the top looking for McRae. He can give the hand pass back to Quaynor. Instead goes to Chris. Swings onto his left. Vacant goal square. It's offline. And in the end hits the bottom of the left behind post. And it was on the full. So out on the full, a West Coast free kick. And Alex Witherden will take it. I think 2 of the 4 are heading up to Darwin Lids for Thursday night. Corby's joining Ben.
Yep.
There is a ABC Sport investigation as to how Ben Cameron has got the week up in Darwin with the warmer weather. As Cameron can't take the mark from the Witherden kick. Kelly with a hand pass to Sheed and a chance for Barras to clear it half back.
Kicks up towards halfway. Reid and Moore at it. Moore punches it away into the path of Frampton. Got a nice little bounce as he kicks inside the forward 50, and Barras floating through takes the intercept mark for West Coast.
Are you leading that investigation, Princey?
I certainly am. I'm asking as many questions as I can.
Would be the thing that would make it better would probably be if it was in July, wouldn't it? Just escaping Melbourne's winter at that particular stage as he switches play. Barras out towards Tommy Cole, marks at half back. Should kick to Ruben Jinby, the second-year Eagle. A long kick down the wing. Markov running back into Marek, punches it away from him and then wins the footy as it hits the deck. Collingwood back the other way. Gives it to Lipinski, kicks inboard to Nick Dacos, another touch. Hand pass to McRae, puts it to the top of the goal square. Barras punches it away for the Eagles. Down into the path of Rotham. He kicks wide to a one-on-one. Cole up there with Josh Dacos, and in the end spills the mark out of play. In fact, it was Harvey Johnston, so ball's out of bounds here. Left half forward for Collingwood. Coming home to the Lockett end. 6-goal and final term, Collingwood by 67 points.
You see the guy who just gave Harvey Johnson a little tap on the head. I think he's the one who Bailey Smith was into that night.
Cameron got rid of his opponent, kicks it inside 50, and Barras going back with the fly, takes the mark in front of Mason Cox. Switches to the left back pocket, Witherden takes the mark, and he can work it wider still to Chesser. He has it at left half back for the West Coast Eagles. Collingwood by 67 points. 6 minutes gone in the final term. ABC Sports coverage continues with Adelaide and the Brisbane Lions to close out the weekend. Out to Marriage, good mark. Hard against the boundary, marks in front of Lipinski.
Boy from Druin, who of course was famously working in the fried chicken shop the day before he was drafted mid-season a couple of years ago. Ryan Marrick, a long kick down towards half forward and floating through. Darcy Moore takes the intercept mark. And Moore goes all the way back. Finds side bottom. Bit of junk time here after Collingwood really burnt this game off just before half-time. They kicked the last 6 goals there. They ended up kicking 9 in a row. Josh Dacos from side bottom, then goes short to Noble. He's going to get a free kick in all of that. He was clipped high by Tom Cole. Hi guys, always a fan of Hoskin Elliott. He's a workhorse. Off the SMS, 0437 774 774. Noble short to side bottom. Handball to Josh Dacos, up over halfway now. Kicks down for Jack Crisp. Slips through his hands. Barras trying to clean it up for the Eagles. And pass to Jack Williams. Oh, comes away to Hopp. He's tackled, lost it. Nick Dacos involved again. Got a hand pass out to brother Josh. He gives it to Sullivan, who's locked up. And a ball up high half forward for the Magpies. Nick Dacos up to 33 disposals and he's kicked a goal. Harley Reid, meanwhile, for West Coast, 14 touches for the first-year Eagle.
7 clearances and 5 inside 50s for Nick Dacos. As Cameron tries to knock it clear. Kelly for the West Coast Eagles. Hand pass to Jamie Cripps. Kicks up the wing. Daly underneath it. Reid tried to fly late. He gave away a free kick. Into the back of Billy Frampton. He turns to the umpire. He tries to make his case. I think there's a little push in the back to try and get the rise. And the free kick going the way of Billy Frampton. He looks to go short to Josh Dacos. He marks centre wing in front of the 2 benches. Collingwood by 67 points as he gestures with a head long down the line towards Mason Cox and Darcy Cameron. Sends it in that direction. Cameron tries to create a path for Cox. Can't take the mark. Clears Jack Williams. Jimby trying to slide in. Crisp gets down low for Collingwood. Can't get the hand pass away. And it's locked underneath he and Jack Williams for a ball up.
Injury carnage so far today. I'm not sure if we've seen Jack Vitale again after that collision from Jack Darling, which will be a worry for Jack as well when it comes to the MRO. That's Jack Darling as well as Jack Vitale, who was a little sore after getting that front-on bump late in the third term. Hurried kick out of the stoppage from Kelly, but a turnover. And Josh Dacos takes the intercept mark. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Bit of junk time here. Collingwood by 67 points. Sends it to Pendlebury. Pendlebury goes all the way back to Darcy Moore. And Premiership skipper in the headband. One of the 3 All-Australians for the Magpies last year, along with the Dacos boys. And he goes short to Maynard, and Collingwood just peeling some seconds off the clock here in their back half. Goes across the ground to Moore. Moore now works it further afield to Josh Dacos, and the inside 50 kick is coming up. Looks to honour the lead of Darcy Cameron, who finds some space. Hands to it, can't take the mark. Jack Williams there with him, trying to knock it out for the Eagles. Hoff throws his body at it, knocks it to Jimby. Tackled front on, escapes one tackle. Caught now by Pendlebury. Spun around, holding the ball. And the Collingwood vet will get it. Left half forward, pressed up against the boundary line. He'll kick from 40 out. Jess Webster on the boundary.
Not good news for Jack Vitale. He's ruled out of the game with concussion, so that is also not good news for Jack Darling after that front-on contact. Sure to be come under scrutiny by the MRO. So Jack Vitale out with concussion, and also Harvey Harrison with an ankle and Jeremy Howe with a groin injury for the Pies today.
That is carnage on the Collingwood bench. They're down to 2 fit players on the rotation. Pendlebury's not even going to shoot. Comes inboard, goes short to Josh Dacos. Still at left half forward, but a little better angle. He's on a 45-degree angle. So last week, Schultz out with suspension, and then Myercheck, McCreary, Elliott all injured. Already without De Goey, of course, plays in the front half and through the midfield. McStay also injured from the front area of the ground. They threw Howe forward today. He's injured. And now Vitale and Harrison added to that list. Injury list mounting for the Magpies, but the goals keep coming. And Josh Dacos adds his name to that list. Goal kicker number 10. And Collingwood are back out to a 73-point advantage. 15-12, 102. They lead the West Coast Eagles 4-5-29. 11 gone, final term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Jess Webster on the boundary.
Now the Pies are down to 1 fit player on the bench because Darcy Cameron has just come to the bench. He's just got a blood nose, so it won't be for too long, but still Sidebottom's the only fit player on the bench at the moment as Darcy Cameron gets attended to.
And as we just see Bobby Hill just walk off, looking like he might have a bit of cramp or something as well. Maybe, I don't know, but they're waxing a little bit out there, the Dacos boys and Scotty Pendlebury just filling up the stat sheet. They've always been beautiful kicks of the footy, the Dacos boys. Obviously, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree in that sense, but it's been a pretty complete game, hasn't it, by Collingwood, from start to finish, apart from the first goal of the game.
Just goal number 3 for Josh Dacos for the season. He's back in the middle. Cox gets it down to Pendlebury. He's tackled by Chesser. Somehow gets a kick out to the wing. Lipinski gathers between wing and half forward. Sidesteps around Chesser. Opens up the angle. Looks inside 50. McGuinness on the lead. Can't take the mark. Hoff gathers for the West Coast Eagles. A clearing kick up to the wing. Johnston sets himself in front. Quaynor brings it down. Gathers the Collingwood defender. Hand pass back to Josh Dacos in the left forward pocket. Drives it long looking for Hoskin Elliott. It's spoiled away from him. It trickles out towards the boundary line. Racing after it, Jaden Hunt gathers for West Coast. Kicks up the line. Darley had to wait a long time. And sliding in, Darcy Moore makes the spoil. A boundary throw in front of some Collingwood fans who make their feelings known. Left half forward for the Pies. Collingwood by 73 points.
Just been the second time all year that the two WA teams lose on the same weekend. So far this year, generally at least one set of fans have been boasting around the water cooler, but a few sore and sorry supporters, I'm sure, at work on Monday or in the playground from the boundary throw-in. Kelly, hand pass away towards Cripps, kicks inboard for West Coast, finds Duggan. Swings a hand pass out towards Jamie Cripps again, pokes his pass down the line, and here's Liam Ryan. Lifts a hand pass over Frampton on the mark. Darling's free in the pocket. Cripps comes a little further inboard. Wanted Jewett, stolen. Picked off in front of him by Noble. Game number 99 for John Noble. Played 83 consecutive games before being omitted for last year's final series. And then, of course, slow to come in this year, but he's bedded down his spot now. Played 7 in a row. Long kick out towards half-back. Josh Dacos. Hand pass away to brother Nick. He kicks down the wing and is punched out of bounds by Barris. We'll have a boundary throw in on halfway. Sunday footy on ABC Sports. Still a game to come. Adelaide and Brisbane next. Your thoughts on the SMS 0437 774 774.
Toss back into play. Mason Cox wins down the tap. Although Ruben Jimby gathers for the West Coast Eagles. Drives a kick up towards Marriage at half forward. Spoiled away by Maynard of Collingwood. Spills out to Quaynor. Hand pass missed side bottom in the other direction. Chesser gathers. Side bottom gathers him. Got a hand pass away. Hand pass comes out clear. Marriage has to slide in. Tries to get it to the advantage. Duggan thought he was held when he didn't have it. Knocked out by Maynard. Only as far as Cole, who swings on his right boot. Kicks it long towards the teeth of goal. Ryan caught behind. And the mark is taken by the ever-reliable Scott Pendlebury, getting back to help the defenders. Collingwood by 73 points. Of course, the West Coast Eagles lost to the Western Bulldogs in round 4 by 76. Haven't suffered a triple-figure loss so far this season. Adam Simpson would have hoped those days are behind him, but still plenty of time. 14 minutes gone in the final term.
Moore goes back to Frampton, standing in the goal square. Paul from Dalesford off the SMS. This is sweet. Apologies to Eagles fans. I'm a Pies supporter. Doesn't forget the past with the losses, but the clean slate starts now. Of course, the Eagles have had a pretty good record against Collingwood in recent times, as Nick Dacos got it again. Possession number 35. Make that possession number 36. Retrieves his own hand pass. Kicks it inside the forward 50. Hoff underneath it, along with Cole, and in the end, Lipinski over Cole's shoulder. A free kick for the Eagles at centre half back.
We've got the minimum. Now we're looking for the 40.
Will he get there? 8.5 to go?
Oh, I think so.
There won't be too many rotations, as Nick Dacos is one of the 2 fit men on the bench for the time being. We'll have to get back out there with 3 players go down. Collingwood on the run today. As Barra shares it with Sheed. Sheed goes long down the wing, hits the deck. Bobby Hill weaves his way through traffic up around the ball. Hand pass away to Josh Dacos. Gives it to McRae. Handball out wide to Jack Crisp. He runs around Jaden Hunt. Kicks in the middle of the ground. Noble the half volley pick up. Hand pass to Pendlebury. Kicks inside 50. Gee, Bobby Hill's now inside the forward arc. Runs onto it in the forward pocket. Bobby Hill trying to turn Reid inside out. Went along the ground and trapping that is Cole. Knocks it out of play. And a boundary throw in next to the behind post for Collingwood. Gee, covers some ground, Bobby Hill.
Yeah. Impressive, wasn't it? He's dangerous around the ball, and then to follow it up in the forward half just sums up how he's travelling at the minute.
He outsmarted himself there, I think, going in the pocket. Got into a spin.
Thrown back in. Cameron wins down the tap. Collingwood deep in attack. Reed's kick is partially smothered. Spills to Josh Dacos. Swings onto his right and curls it through from behind. Just the wrong side of the right goalpost. Collingwood by 74 points. A goal apiece so far in this final term through 16 minutes on ABC Sport.
Will be in the 8 Collingwood for the first time in their premiership defence after that 0-3 start. And got the game up and going as Jimby marks the kick out, looks inboard. Touched on the way through, but still got the Chesser. Sends it down that city wing, and here's Jamie Cripps. Takes the mark. Hand pass away to Tyrell Dewar, who kicks to centre half forward, and Liam Ryan. They're all Australian small forward. Pokes it further inside 50. Good kick. Hits Edwards. And Edwards marks a little closer to goal in the corridor. Luke Edwards. Game 33, looking for just his second goal.
I was just thinking where the Dacos boys and how they play, and they enjoy playing with each other so much. I got the privilege of that yesterday, playing with my brother, and it is, speaking from experience in that sense, it is so much fun, and they make it look fun, those two boys.
Okay, Josh with 25, Nick with 36. Disposal count for the pair. Is the son of the gun. Edwards puts it through. His first goal of the year. And West Coast get a late one here, 18 minutes into the final term. They've been few and far between today. They went goalless in the third quarter. They're edging this final term at least. 5-5-35 West Coast. Collingwood 15-13, 103. 18 minutes gone. Final term, Sunday footy on ABC Sport. Corbin Middlemass and Matt Clinch calling the footy. Jess Webster on the boundary. Brett Delidio and Zach Tui.
Now, I don't think we're going to get to triple figures today, Zach, but the game's well and truly been put to bed a long time ago here. We're just sort of
filling in time.
So you fancy Collingwood to hold on from here?
Just from here, mate. Yeah, I reckon that I've got a sneaking feeling that I'll get the 4 points.
This is what we call, Zach, in the industry, sort of create your own fun at this stage of a match, in whichever direction you wish to go. As Bailey Williams wins down the tap for the Eagles, Harley Reid gets a free kick. They'll take it in the middle of the ground alongside Nick Dacos on the mark. Harley Reid turns out to the right and with a lace-out pass to Liam Ryan. What a bullet. He'd have a marking on his chest, and Ryan points to the big sticks, having received such an assist, and will shoot from just outside 50 out to the right. Gets a goal in this final term, Liam Ryan, making his return after missing so much of 2023. He's going to give it off to Cripps. It's touched by McRae. Collingwood will take it back through Jack Chris. Hand pass picked up by Cole. He turns it over. Josh Dacos for Collingwood. Hand pass away to Maynard. Left half back. Kicks up to Bobby Hill. He marks on his chest.
Hill looks inboard. Put it over the head of Sullivan. Cleaned up by Noble. Through the middle of Docklands, hand pass to Lipinski. Not much up ahead, goes laterally, looking for McInnes. Put it over his head, goes back, collects, and Barris just tackles him front on, drags him to ground, and we'll have a ball up. High half forward for Collingwood.
If that got out, they were away. Side bottom was there. There's the +1 to try and give him some support. Great tackle by Tom Barris.
Collingwood with 10 individual goal kickers. Janine from Donvale off the SMS. What is the most number of different goal kickers in one game? The equal record is 16, held by a bunch of different teams. From the restart, Duggan off his backside gets a kick forward for West Coast. Darling hitting up. He's copping the jeers after his front-on bump left by Tell, concussed late in the third term. He's headed for a stint on the sidelines. Darling, you'd suspect himself. Ball comes out, side bottom. Hurried kick forward. Jinby wants to keep it alive. Half back for the West Coast Eagles. Heads back down the city wing.
Well, the mark was dropped in the end by Edwards. A chance for Collingwood. Side bottom got out to Noble. Hand pass intercepted by Kelly. Looks up towards half forward. On a long lead, Jack Williams had it knocked away from him. Cripps tries to knock it back to him. Hand pass to Darling. Hand pass trying to link up with Chesser. At left half forward, he gathers. Hand pass boundary side. Back to Cripps. Wrong option. He's locked up by Jack Crisp of Collingwood, and a throw in, or it might be a ball up just inside the boundary at left half forward for the West Coast Eagles. Collingwood by 68 points. The one stat that has impressed me, Lids, is Collingwood, with their forward line depleted, have kicked 11 of their 15 goals from set shots.
Yeah, it's been impressive, hasn't it? Their ball movement's been great.
They've been mindful that they don't have their usual crew inside the forward 50 arc, and to try and make sure they use it well. Cameron wins down the tap for Collingwood, but straight for Edwards, kicks inside 50. Ryan, great mark. Set himself in front of a charging Jack Darling, was able to hang on to the mark in the left forward pocket. I'm sure this time he'll have the shot on goal.
Anything, Zach? That was really brave from Liam Ryan. His ability just to go back with the flight. Yeah, it was a bit of a dirty first half. Didn't really impose himself on it at all. He's come out. That beautiful set shot we saw from this commentary side of the ground. His goal earlier. Now looking to add another one.
Mark of the year, of course, back in 2019. We'd love to see him back and flying. Liam Ryan from the left forward pocket. He misses. And a behind to go with his goal earlier in the quarter. Collingwood by 67 points.
Rose from Melbourne off the SMS sounding like the coach. Hey Corbin, what about Noble and Hoskin Elliott, side bottom Bobby Hill? You reckon they're not fit? Not just the Dacos brothers, takes a whole team. From Rose, good point. They've all been good today. Rose, there's no doubt about that. And from Judy in Newborough in Victoria, love listening to your call, Go the Pies. Just wondering if you missed something regarding the stadium roof being closed at Docklands on such a beautiful day. Do they always play with the roof closed now, regardless of weather? That is correct. The roof's always shut nowadays. And one thing we know for sure, Judy, that we get a lot of texts about it being closed on a beautiful day. And if it was open, we'd get a lot of texts about people saying, oh, you can't see it on TV with the roof open and the light and everything else. So there were often complaints both ways. And in the end, the television broadcasters won out. And the roof is always shut now for Dockland Stadium games.
As a former player, that was always my preference, to close it every single time.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Why so?
Because you can't see at one end of the ground.
Because of the angle of the sun? And
yes.
Yep. There you go. What do you reckon, Zach? You play here much with the roof open?
Yeah, early in my career I did. I was more focused on trying to get a gig, so it didn't bother me a whole lot. I didn't get the footy very often.
Collingwood with the footy at half back. Hoskin Elliott sends it down towards half forward. Bailey Williams for West Coast gives it to Cole. Hand pass out to Johnston. Sweeps a hand pass inside. Trying to reel it in. Barris got his legs working and runs out after it. Hand pass to Kelly. He's tackled by Quaynor. Ball spits out. Here's Josh Dacos, kicks it along the ground towards Nick. He collects. Nick Dacos slips over. Now to play with the footy. Down to throw in 40 out from the Collingwood goal. What a day he's had. Nick Dacos, 36 disposals. Josh has had it 27 times. Harley Reid, meanwhile, for West Coast, had it 16. Collingwood by 67 points. 23 and a half minutes gone in the final term. Sunday footy on ABC Sport.
He's coming with a bullet, brother Josh. 14 disposals in the final term. As Mason Cox wins down the tap. Richards can't get a disposal away, and the ball is locked up inside the attacking 50 for Collingwood. Toss in the air. Cox and Bailey Williams. Bailey Williams wins down the tap. Witherden jams it onto the boot. Under pressure out to Ryan with the arms outstretched. Claims the mark in front of Noble. Liam Ryan looks at options out wide. Kicks to Kelly. He marks it right half back. West Coast Eagles challenges continue. They've got Melbourne next week, Adelaide and St Kilda in the weeks to come. Collingwood have got the Adelaide Crows ahead of the Fremantle Dockers, the Western Bulldogs and the Demons on King's birthday. Witherden kicks out towards half-back. Jimby takes the mark. He looks up the wing. Barris can mark it left half-back, and this is very much circle work as he works it around the outer side. Chesser takes the mark and plays on immediately. Swings onto his right-hand side. High kick inside 50, looking for Harley Reid. Can't take the mark. Spills to the back. Bailey Williams is onto it. Hand pass kept alive by Marriage to Reid. Tried to dribble it through, but it bounces off Josh Dacos and into the goalpost from behind. Harley Reid almost a chance to make something happen late. Collingwood by 66 points.
Reid up to 17 touches. He had 7 of those in the opening quarter. A lot of the Tongala community here to watch Harley back in Victoria today. The number 1 pick, of course, in last year's national draft. Long kick from Quaynor out towards half-back. Ends up with Kelly, though. Hand pass away to Sheed. He gives it to Cole. Sends it back inside 50 for the Eagles. And yet Mason Cox standing underneath it takes the intercept mark. Good day for the Magpies. 10 different goal kickers. Victory has come at some cost, though. Concussion for Bytel, groin injury for Jeremy Howe early, ankle injury early for Harrison. 2 on the bench to finish. Cox goes up to the wing. Witherden for West Coast. Hand pass away to Sheed, who's got the jeers all day from the Magpie Army. Goes short, and Hoskin Elliott takes the intercept mark for the Magpies.
Townsend retreats back to Jack Crisp, who marks for Collingwood at left half back. Position number 31 coming up for him. Just behind Nick Dacos at 36 and Witherden with 30. Back to Quaynor and now to Frampton. Switches across half-back and out to Braden Maynard, who marks it right half-back. Collingwood just happy to hold onto the footy for a few moments here. Kicks wide to Darcy Moore. We'll switch it back to Quaynor. Marks in the left back pocket and up to Noble. 26 minutes gone in the final term. Noble to Josh Dacos. He marks it left half-back and chips it back to Noble inside the defensive 50. So a few fantasy footy stats to close out the match as Noble now points long down the broadcast wing. Sends it in the path of Mason Cox, who tries to control it in front. Brings it down with Witherden on his back. Gets it to Crisp. Hand pass to Richards. Pulls his kick inboard. Looking for McGuinness. Spoils away by Cole. Barris fires a hand pass back. Gimby to Cole. Across the half-back line. Trying to work out the options as Duggan at right half-back. Drives it up the wing. Mason Cox underneath it. Bailey Williams makes the spoil. And the siren sounds. And Collingwood, after losing their opening 3 games, make it 5 of the past 6. Their makeshift forward line puts on 15 goals to defeat the West Coast Eagles by 66, and they're in the 8th.
Play the game. Side by side, they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the Americas are shouting as all Americas should. Ships a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
Collingwood led by 21 points at quarter time, by 55 points at half time, by 72 at 3/4 time. The Eagles claimed the final term with 2 goals to 1. The Magpies 15-13, 103 to the Eagles 5-7-37. In front of 37,433 fans. The Magpies finish with 10 individual goal kickers and they move inside the top 8 with 5 wins for the season.
Good old Collingwood forever. They know how to play the game. Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name.
Both sides finished missing personnel with just a couple of fit players for the Magpies, and the West Coast Eagles will have their troubles as well. For the Magpies, 3 goals to Reef McGuinness, 3 goals to Finn McRae, 2 goals to Bobby Hill, individuals to Lipinski, Josh Dacos, Chris Richards, Sullivan, Nick Dacos and Howe. Meanwhile, for the West Coast Eagles, their goals came through Dewar, Marriage, Williams and Ryan alongside Edwards. Collingwood winners by 66 points at Docklands.
Sunday footy on ABC Sport. For the first time in their premiership defence, Collingwood in the 8, trying to become the first Magpies team to go back-to-back in 88 years and make a mess of the Eagles. There was a bit of talk about Harley Reid's injection into this team and whether it was him that had lifted the Eagles or the senior players were fit and had lifted around him. Well, it's always a combination of both, and yet today, they missed Elliot Yeo, so their
100%.
two-time best and fairest winner. He wasn't there, and it was regression for the West Coast Eagles without him. The Magpies by 66 points, 5.5 wins on the season. The thoughts of Zach Toohey and Brett Delidio on ABC Sport. Collingwood home by 11 goals.
Yeah, just a dominant display by a far better side. I think today we know where the Eagles are. We're just hoping to see some signs today, I think, Zach, when we turned up here today to see what, young Ruben Jimmy could do inside without Elliot Yeo, Harley Reid inside. We saw, some other young players, Dewar, get that right, up forward, making his debut as well.
Dewar.
Yep. Dewar.
So his nickname is Dewar.
Dewar.
Yeah, but it's Dewar.
Right, got that. I'll remember that for next time. But look, I think there's some positives to be taken out there for the Eagles. They didn't roll over after half time when it could have blown out to a massive hiding for them. But Collingwood they got the job done. They'll be disappointed with the amount of injuries that they've taken away from this game. I think that's the thing where you can't control those either, Zach. We all know that, having played a lot of footy. So they'll lick their wounds and go in. I don't know whether they'll learn a hell of a lot about that game, to be honest. The pleasing thing for them will be the ability to score in different ways and not just have to bomb that one down the line or not have any real tall targets other than the resting ruck to go to. So they utilised their ball movement really well, but there was also a lack of midfield pressure as well that allows them to do that. So, yeah, a bit of a game where I thought the result would end up and we walk away knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah, there was always a chance it might play out like this. If you're West Coast, you hope that this is maybe one of those games where you really put up a good showing. And we understand they're in a development phase. And look, they're playing the reigning premiers. These guys are no joke, this Collingwood team. And while they haven't been at the absolute peak of their powers this season, they have this performance in them. And it would have been a tough one for the Eagles boys. But from Collingwood's point of view, it's been a costly win, especially in a game that they did dominate. To pick up a few injuries, I'm sure, is disappointing for them. But in terms of the performance, I don't think we could possibly expect a whole lot more from Collingwood. This was dominant, really, from start to finish. So an excellent win, although it's been a bit costly.
Thoughts of Zach Toohey and Brett Delidio full-time at Docklands. An 11-goal victory for the Magpies. The Eagles have made their way off the ground. I mentioned the toll that both teams are going to pay out of this. So first of all, for the West Coast Eagles, they lost Petruccelli with an ankle injury at quarter time. Jeremy McGovern has been taken to hospital with concerns about internal injuries after a heavy landing late in the second quarter, while Jack Darling is going to be looked at by the match review officer. He had a dirty day. He went goalless, so he's kicked just the 8 goals for the first 9 matches of the year, and he laid a bump which caught Jack Bytel high, and as a result, Bytel was concussed, and that was the end of his afternoon. To the injury front for Collingwood, an ankle for Harvey Harrison, a groin injury for Jeremy Howe. Their day was both done at quarter time, and Jack Bytel with concussion in the finish. It's been a good turnaround for the Magpies after a slow start. And, a start like that is understandable given you play a month longer than the rest of the competition, or 5 weeks as it is now with the pre-finals bye. We've never started earlier with footy at the start of March, and they dropped their first 3 games against GWS, Sydney and St Kilda, and from that point on, undefeated through their next 6 matches. They're in the 8 for the first time, and it feels like it's going to take a fair bit to try and dislodge them from here.
Yeah, it is. Well, but that'll also depend on the troops that they can get back, how quickly they can get them back, and have them all singing from the same hymn book, I think, at the right time, Zach. I think that's
the chemistry that you need to build at the end of the year is the key. You know, yes, you can fill in some gaps here and there throughout the year. They've got their game style up and going a lot more. They've also played some teams that you'd expect them to probably beat. So, look, they're going okay. Yep, absolutely. They're better than a Zip and 3 team. I think we all knew that at the start of the year, but it's just taken them a little while. I heard Steel Sidebottom talking on radio earlier and saying that, yeah, maybe we didn't train as much as as getting older. You know, when you come back, could we have maybe come back at the start of, you know, the pre-season, then had a little bit longer over Christmas and then go again, versus taking all of that Christmas time off and then coming back into the side, so into the pre-season. But I mean, they've only just won the flag. How do you know that until post? You know, it's just a constant thing that you have to reassess. If they do it again, I'm sure they'll do it differently next year.
Yeah, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. There's no doubt about it. And you see this from time to time where, you know, the premiers or teams that go deep in September do have a slower start. And if they can get to the midway part of the season or 2/3 of the way part of the season, you know, back up to where you would expect them to be, then it's all about peaking at the right time, and you try and manage your players and get them ready for September, because that's really when it matters for the teams at the top.
What did you guys learn out of last year as the hunted the whole season, and sort of you had moments of the year where it looked like you were definitely going to play finals, and then there are other moments you're on the outside looking in, and ultimately you just missed and put a bunch of guys away. But when you look at that first 8 weeks of last year, what did you learn out of that?
Not a whole lot that I didn't already know, to be truthful. The competition is incredibly hard, that if you don't have your best players on the ground, it does become incredibly challenging, and there are things we could have done better, obviously in the early part of the year. The problem with losing games early is that you're chasing your tail a bit, and then, for example, guys that you would like to maybe take out and give a rest to, you're kind of forced to play them, and that can just snowball. So, like I said, Collingwood get another few games in, another few wins. They're sitting pretty.
Jess Webster in the Magpies rooms. Collingwood by 11 goals.
Thanks, Corby. The players are making their way into the rooms now. Jack Bytel was waiting for them after being subbed out with concussion. I can spot Harvey Harrison in a moon boot as well, one of a number of injuries alongside Jeremy Howe as well today for the Pies. But they got a really great win on the board against West Coast, and they've gathered now in the circle. Plenty of the kids around, which is also really cute to see as well. So let's have a listen to the song.
Collingwood forever. We know how to play the game. Side by side we stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. Mighty. See the Americans are shouting as old barricades should. Oh, the premiership's game for the good old Collingwood.
I think all the mums behind me, Corby, really enjoyed that rendition of the song today on Mother's Day. We're hoping to get some reaction shortly.
Thanks, Jess. They say almighty.
I heard that too. I thought it was go blimey.
I thought it was call blimey as well. But that was the old expression in the middle of the song. That was the first time I'd noticed that. I don't know if they've been doing it for a long time, or so maybe the old expressions disappeared out of the lexicon over a period of time. But that was certainly something different in the Magpie song. Or maybe Jess was just standing next to somebody who got the words wrong. So there's every chance that was picked up in our mic. A huge selling point coming in was, of course, Nick Dacos. The best 56 games we've probably ever seen from someone, certainly since recent memory and modern times, whatever it is, and what he's been able to compile up against the boom youngster in Harley Reid. They stood next to each other, lids for large portions, particularly around stoppages in the first half more than anything. But what did we see? Nick Dacos ends with 36 and Harley Reid ends
not even going to compare it,
17.
Corby. Not even going to compare it, because they're completely different in where they're at in their careers. And who was it? Someone wrote in, Darren from Northcote, saying, is the expectation too much on Harley? Absolutely it is. Like, this kid's in his 7th or 8th game, and we're expecting him to lift an AFL team on his own back and take it to the reigning premiers. Please. You know, I know this kid, and I'll go in for bat for him. But I've also been in that position too, where you're, a number 1 draft pick when you're going to a battling side, and you can feel that weight. But he probably does a good job of being able to brush it. But yeah, it's good from a media point of view to build it up. But as if he can't just eradicate yourself from that. And there's no doubt that he would soak some of that in, whether he likes it or not. And it just becomes all this burden that he's got to then carry week to week. And it's like, well, just to let the kid develop, let him enjoy his footy, let him understand and play the game. But that's where it's so important for the rest of the West Coast players and Yo to be all playing. Dom Sheed be playing regularly. The other senior players, Jimby, who's in his second year, can they take more of the load to it? Just allow him to develop and play. I think it's unfair that the criticism he got, some of the talk from Kane Corns over the last little bit about his game. Oh, my God, that made me laugh. But that's okay. We all forget how ordinary we were probably as in our first 5 or 6 games, and what these boys are doing now in their first 5 is completely different to what we were all doing back when we first started.
He took a nice mark in the first quarter. Zach, how different is today's modern-day players when they come into the AFL system, having played in the under-18 competition, perhaps to what it was like when you first started your career, and the expectations weren't nearly what they are today?
Now, there's a couple of things. One is the pathways are so much better developed, that these guys are coming in with professional standards, and they've been weight training for a long time. They've been exposed to what a professional system looks like. Another aspect is the coverage. These guys are getting so much coverage at a young age that they're already expected to be the finished product, because supporters have seen them for a year or two before they've been drafted. So subconsciously you think, oh, well, I've seen this guy play for a couple of years. He should be better than he is right now, and that's just not quite how it works. But having said that, I agree with Brett. I think the guys are coming in now and they're so much more developed than even when I started playing, and what they're doing in the early part of their career. There's no real comparison, I don't think, to very many players, say 10 or 15 years ago, to what they were doing. So bars set pretty high, but they're living up to it.
Let's get back into the winners' rooms. Collingwood by 66 points full-time at Docklands. We've got another game to come, of course, Adelaide-Brisbane on the way. But back to the winners' rooms with Jess Webster.
Thanks, Corb. Here with Finn McRae after a big win by the Pies. You consider the first goal of the game, but got it back on your terms pretty quickly after that. What was the most impressive part about the performance from the boys today?
It was very impressive. I think it was a sort of makeshift forward line, having Howie in there as well, and a few injuries and shooter suspension last week, so it was a bit different. And then just the way all the boys gelled, I thought was really impressive. And like you said, that first goal and then to fight back after that.
It seems like you're really hunted today. Do you feel like you've maybe got a little bit of hunger back in this group after what was a bit of a slow start to the season?
Yeah, definitely. I think the last, especially month and a half, has been really impressive, and sort of what we did really well last year and what we relied on, we've got back and keep improving every week.
And Joe Richards, I mean, what a story, what a debut. What did you think of his performance today?
I expected exactly that. Sort of his 2 years in the VFL has been awesome, and that's what he brings every week. So, not all that surprised that he played that well today.
Great stuff. I'll send you upstairs to our experts. Brett Delidio, Zach Toohey, over to you.
Finn, Brett Delidio, well done today, mate. I'm sure you walked in at half-time and you were thinking, I'm in line for 6 here. Did that go across your mind?
No, I didn't. I reckon I've kicked about 1 goal for the whole year, including VFL, so I was happy to take 3, but I definitely wasn't expecting another 3 after that.
Mate, your hands in and around stoppage I thought were exceptional today. Is that a real focus area, not just for yourself, but your midfield group, to just back in the boys that can get out forward of the stoppage and get out to give your forwards the best opportunity?
I think every mid-group really wants to be strong inside, and having clean hands really opens the game up. So, like you said, getting dirty inside and then going from there.
You haven't been in the team a lot recently, mate. Are you starting to feel more comfortable now that you got your opportunity? You played well today. Is that, can you see yourself trying to lock down a position?
So this week was forward for me, so a little bit different, but I'm happy to play wherever, and getting a sniff of it the first few games this year was awesome. So I just want to play as much as I can and take every opportunity.
Well done, Finn. Zach Toohey from the Cats here. Really impressed with your game, so congratulations. But we were talking about some of the senior guys up here and how impressive they look. Guys like Steelside Bottom went behind the ball. Pendlebury obviously is a champion, but you must be revelling in the opportunity to work with these guys.
Yeah, very lucky to have especially those two. Jeremy Howe as well, all week he's been awesome in the forwards group. So we've got a number of older guys to learn from and play with, and very lucky too.
Finn McRae's with us from the Magpies. Finn, it's Matt Clinch. I think the stat was you kicked 11 of your 15 goals from set shots. So with a makeshift forward line, how mindful were you that you had to sort of adjust the way in which you played this afternoon?
It's funny. I feel when you have a lot of players that don't usually play forward, you play a bit more freely. And like I said, we had great use coming inside for the forwards to kick some goals. So you do sort of play a bit more freely when you probably aren't as structured.
And what's sort of been the feedback from the coaches? Obviously, you were pretty strong in the pre-season trying to get your opportunity in the AFL side as to what they want to see from you on a more consistent basis.
Just opportunities will come if you keep working hard, and that driving legs for me is really big, and working inside as well. So like I said earlier, I'll happily play anywhere. So forward this week was awesome.
Finn McRae with us on ABC Sport. Did you have your mum down at the club on Saturday, Finn?
I did. She's in the rooms as well now, but I had mum and the team meeting as well. So that was very different. We haven't done that before, but very special as well.
We saw a lot about Julie McCreary obviously last year in her pre-game pump up. Did any of the mums address the team?
They didn't. I think we'd bow out this year. It's sort of a Julie McCreary only. So no one wanted to steal her thunder.
And obviously we know a fair bit about your brother Jack, playing for the Western Bulldogs and getting plenty of it over a number of years now. Are you as into the NBA as he is?
I'll watch the finals, but he will watch, I reckon, every game just about. He's a bit of a nuffy for NBA and cricket and all sports, but he's definitely watching more than me. Yeah,
appreciate your time, Finn. Great to see you getting amongst it today. Congratulations on your role in this victory.
No worries, thank you.
Finn McRae with us, the 22-year-old from the Collingwood Football Club in just his 16th start. He has been a fan favourite, puts up sort of big numbers in the VFL, and often fans watch all the VFL footy and the highlights and see he's getting big numbers and think, gee, when's he going to get an opportunity in the team? And it's a tough crew to break into, and he took his opportunity today at least.
Yeah, that's it. And I was probably one of those guys thinking, not that he should have been getting a game, but should he stay? I thought he would have been asking for a trade last year to get his opportunity somewhere else, a struggling side that maybe he could go and add something, take his IP that he's learnt from all those players that he named, that he looks up to in the Collingwood team now. But he's stuck around and he's getting his opportunity now, which is great for him. But it's up to him to grab it with both hands and don't let anyone else take it away from you. And 3 goals and 17 playing forward mostly today was great for Finn. But that consistency is always the hardest thing in footy. I think Zach. You play a great one, you start to get ahead of yourself. You just got to keep coming back to what did I do last week and how do I keep that rolling.
And Craig McRae himself sort of put it on the record last year when he was getting consecutive games over 40 disposals that he's too good a player for VFL level, and sometimes you just got to bite your time. But when you are the reigning premiers, you're looking for that depth in your squad, and the wrestle in terms of whether you want the opportunities to play more games at another club or be a part of a successful system. And I guess the challenges now for Collingwood turn to Adelaide at the MCG next week and Freo on the road in Perth. So they'll hope to get some personnel back, but how long can they keep their momentum given they are missing so many of their key players?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. And so many from the same area of the ground. It's just a bizarre injury list, isn't it? As you touched on, their sort of makeshift forward line that they've had in this week and losing so many last week. Myercheck, McCreary, Elliott. De Goey's your mid-forward type. Obviously, McStay already on the long-term injury list. And then today they said, look, we'll put Jeremy Howe up front. That'll solve one of our issues and make him our swingman. And he gets hurt at quarter time. So
might be a poison chalice. I don't think Darcy Moore would be volunteering to go forward, or a few of the other guys.
Same guys and same injuries and same spots on the ground over and over again. Just to quickly go through the injury slate, just repeating. Ankle concern for Harvey Harrison, groin injury for Jeremy Howe, and a concussion for Jack Bytel. So 3 for Collingwood, while for West Coast, Jeremy McGovern's been hospitalised after a heavy fall. Jack Petruccelli has an ankle injury. A quick word on the Eagles before the votes. Is it as simple, Lids, when we analyse them to say, look, when they get their best crew out there, they can be competitive. When they don't, they can't.
That's it. Exactly right. They're no different to what we're seeing probably the Tigers at the moment. Can't say the same thing for North Melbourne, but the teams that are at the lower end, you haven't got your best players out there and you're just playing a bunch of kids. It makes it incredibly hard.
No late change in Adelaide. We'll take you there shortly. Luke Nankervis is the sub for Adelaide. And Shadow Brain is going to make his debut as the sub for the Brisbane Lions.
They lost the ground ball gets by 23 today, the West Coast Eagles. And you can really tell they were missing that class in the middle of the ground. And that's where Collingwood went to work. And they got so many goals from centre bounce clearances early in the match as well.
Not just class, but strength and ability to stand over the footy and not allow teams just to push you off the line of it. I think that's where that stands. But yeah, they've got some work to do, but they're a young side, and we know where they're going to be in a few years' time. They won't hang around the bottom for too long, I wouldn't imagine.
The Pies are in the 8 for the first time in 2024 in their premiership defence. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year from Brett Delidio.
I'll take this one, Zach. I won't throw you under the bus in that one, mate.
Derkos was good. I know.
Yeah. One vote, I've gone for Darcy Cameron, actually. I thought he was terrific today. 24 disposals for the big man, 18 hit-outs, 7 score involvements. Was, gave him first use, and I think that's where you see the likes of Dacos and both Dacos, Pendlebury, Crisp inside. Their ability to get on the end was because of his first work. Crisp, I gave 2 votes. Didn't kick it great early. Clinchy were on his back a little bit, but I think he worked his way back into the game. What did he finish with his kicking efficiency? 63%. He had 32, kicked 1-1, 6 tackles to go along with that. Some people might be asking, where's Josh Dacos? Well, he had 15 in the last quarter, so that's why I didn't go with him. He really filled his boots late. And there's no surprise here. 3 votes. Nick Dacos, he was in... he's so good to watch. I love coming to watch him live. His work rate, his want for the footy. Ended up with 36. I was hoping for 40, but 15 kicks, 21 handballs, and 7 tackles. He was outstanding.
He ended bang on in the end with his prediction. 36 disposals.
Yeah,
that once.
Well, I thought, you don't want to pump your own tyres too much, Clinchy. Everyone will get sick of that.
You changed your prediction.
I wanted
3 seconds into the fourth. When you got the
I said minimum 36. I wanted him to get 40. We saw a 40 yesterday from Treloar, I reckon, last night from. So I wanted him to get 40, but yeah. Anyway, he did well. 36. That's a pretty good game. You'd be happy with that.
Whisper Nick Dacos, 3 votes, 2 for Crisp, 1 for Cameron. The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. 66-point victory for Collingwood over the West Coast Eagles in front of 37,433. We're about 90 seconds away from taking you to the Adelaide Oval. Zach, you've got a flight on Tuesday up to Darwin. Ready to go back in the Cats team for Thursday night?
Yep, feeling pretty good. Don't like missing games, so I've never played in Darwin. It's going to be an interesting experience.
You're going to glove up?
Like I said, fashion is my absolute most important priority going into a game, so gloves will be on.
Gloves will be on? Have you been?
A double glove.
Have you actually been to Darwin?
No, I've never been to Darwin. No.
Awesome.
So it's going to be fun.
Not white gloves, sort of Mason's Cox style.
Well, in Gaelic football, the double glove is a common look, so I might pull out an old pair of GA gloves and see how that goes.
I like it. I think overnight minimums of 24, so it's going to be hot up in Darwin. There's no doubt about that. All the very best, Zach. Great debut in the commentary.
3 votes.
Yeah, well done. Very entertaining. So well done, Zach. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us on ABC Sport.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And don't be a stranger. I think we've got you again in a couple of weeks here in the Combox. Thanks to you, Brett Delidio.
Pleasure, mate. Always pleasure.
Starring for Tongala all in a weekend.
Yeah, I know. Happy Mother's Day to my beautiful mother and my gorgeous wife as well. The jobs they do, love them to death.
Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day to all the mums. Thanks to Cool Jules. Thanks to Matt Clench. Thanks to Akash back in the studio, to Jess Webster downstairs. I'm Corbin Middlemass. We're about to take you to Adelaide Oval. Aaron Bryant's heading up the call. The Crows and the Lions.